Good evening, everybody. If you're in the UK, morning. If you're in the US, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. Yes, it's another bonus show. It's not a game. I will explain. I've seen in chat already some people claiming that the reason why it's not a game is because every time I come and play with Titans, I just get my dick kicked in.
Yeah,
not true. Enough. Not true. I mean, part of that is true. It's just not the reason why we're not doing a game.
That's right. That's right. If you want to see that, though, you should definitely tune in tonight. We've got Liam versus Bridger over on Tabletop Titans, and it's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be great. Yeah. Is that already up? That link already up?
That is now up.
Okay,
so
the
check
link's
it out.
already up on Titans. Yep. So make sure you guys are there, ready to go for tonight's game. Me and Bridger. We played on Tuesday. It actually went down really well. People seem to love it.
It was awesome.
I'm excited for that tonight. If you're wondering what we're doing, it's part 3 of what will probably be 4-part series. And the reason why it'll be a 4-part series is I've got one more day left in the US after today. Oh, sad face. What we decided to do on Tuesday, after Adrian stitched me up with the producer so I couldn't play, is we decided to go through all the factions. Now, I naively thought 1 to 2 streams maximum. We've got through 11 so far.
Pretty good.
We've just had a look on the website. There's like 17 remaining, but I'm going to add a slight caveat. We're going to continue to go through the main parent factions.
Correct.
So we're probably not going to cover the Space Marine supplements in depth. We'll touch on them tomorrow when we touch the Adeptus Society's Codex. We'll talk a little bit about Dark Angels, Blood Angels, etc. But we're not going to go over every single stratagem and every single enhancement on those particular codexes. That means we've got to get through 5 in one day, 6 in another day, and we'll be okay.
No problem. We got this. Look, if there's one thing we love to do, it's talk.
But, well, actually, so here's an interesting point as well. I feel like I definitely have, and I was talking to you before we started the show.
Yeah.
You kind of feel the same. I actually feel like I'm learning loads from doing this myself as well.
100%. I'm really glad we were doing this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factions today that I'm excited to learn about and discuss and get everyone's opinions at home because it's just so much. And this is great. Like, when else are you going to take, what is this going to be, 12 hours to sit down and talk through every faction?
Oh, yeah. We've done 7 hours of it so far.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no way I would have done this otherwise. So this is great. I'm excited.
This is really good. So not only is this good for you guys, hopefully, in the hope that you can slowly but surely work through these series of videos and go, okay, I kind of know a little bit about every faction right now. So when I go to my first event of 10th edition or whatever it is you're doing, you've got some idea of what armies can do.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's helping. We're also, I'm loving the compare and contrast with other factions. The whole reason why we started to do this is because all the rules are out there in the public domain now. So we can sort of talk about Eldar versus Knights or Chaos Space Marines versus Law Space Marines, etc., etc., and kind of have a look at that comparison. And if we think there is big discrepancies and why they exist, whether we think that's a mistake or whatever, this has just been a lot of fun, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. If you are enjoying the content, please make sure you smash all those magical YouTube buttons for me. So like and subscribe if you haven't already. The like is super important for the algorithm, but the subscribe is super important for my own ego. So keep making sure you're smashing those buttons for me, you beautiful people. And if you want to support the channel even further, there's a number of ways you can do this. This is true of both on this channel and on Titan's channel, right? So you can become a member all by yourself, all with your own money, which is super important to us because that means you're choosing to frequently, monthly, that is, financially support us. It really, really helps. You can super chat and we will get through those questions today as best we can and try and give you some decent answers or have a bit of banter with you guys back at home. Or you can gift memberships like the incredible Nordos44. Who's always gone in there and gifted a membership.
Thank you so much.
It's amazing. If you've had gifted memberships before and you've enjoyed what we do and you enjoy the community, think about taking out your own membership. So when Nordos comes in and gifts more memberships, other people get the gifts. They then get to try it out. They then might choose to stick around. Slowly but surely, we take over the world.
Pass it forwards.
That's the plan. Yeah,
I like it.
Pass it forwards. Right, cool. Beautiful. Okay, right. Oh, Shane's in chat.
Oh, boy.
He's put, oh, well, they're still at it.
He what?
He messaged me earlier. He said, did you play Magic last night? I was like, no, without you, Shane.
Oh, he messaged the night before as well. He's like, so anyone do any magic?
It's got a problem. It's got a problem.
Jeez.
Cool, right. Let's jump straight into it because time is precious in these next 2 days.
It is.
I'm going to miss you.
I'm so sad. The end is coming. Only one more
we're starting off with a bit of a doozy here, Adrian.
Oh, boy. Here we go. This is, as you can see, the factions that we're likely to cover today. A nice mix of factions, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Let's start with one which, frankly, I'm doing the thing again where I try to click on OBS.
Yeah, literally using OBS.
This is a faction that's near and dear to my heart. I have not read a lot on it because Brian was sort of the one responsible with learning this in our 10th coverage. So I'm excited. I know it's not strong, but I'm excited to learn it and kind of see what we think.
I
love AdMech. You have an AdMech army as well. It's beautiful Fallout kind of theme. Let's take a look.
I had the similar experience with Thousand Sons of the 9th edition. Yeah. I put together an AdMech army, got Joe to paint it, wanted to play it. and then read the rules and hated it a little bit because it was so complicated and so complex.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I was really hopeful with this particular release that it would become significantly more simple and easier to run, and they would still be relatively decent on the tabletop. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Doctrina Imperatives is our army rule. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the Doctrina Imperatives below until the end of the battle round. The Doctrina Imperative is active for your army, and all units from your army that have the Doctrina Imperatives ability, that's important, because they don't all have it, then gain the relative ability shown below. So if you have the Protector Imperative active for your army, all of your ranged weapons become heavy, which means if they're stationary, they get +1 a hit. Each time a ranged attack targets this unit, if it's within your own deployment zone, worsen the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. So if you're in your own deployment zone, you get Armor of Contempt.
If you're within, which means if you have a block of rangers or something, and you're trailing out and you're touching your deployment zone, you're going to get this benefit.
Yeah, you have to have one model with a base just inside.
Yep.
And you get Armor of Contempt.
This looks on paper very interesting. Obviously, standing still and staying in your deployment zone aren't always the things you want to do, but they're at least flexible. So the second half, Conquer Imperatives, ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit have the Assault ability, so you are able to advance and shoot now with no penalty. And then also each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, if the target of that attack is within your opponent's deployment zone, improve the AP of the characteristic of attack by 1. Interesting, tougher because this one your opponent controls, but again, it's just within, right? Yep, it's just within. So if they're just barely touching, +1 AP. Cute.
Yeah, I feel like with the Protector Imperative, I feel like the second part of that ability is probably more crucial to you as an AdMech player, almost guaranteed to be in this one in turn 1, I think, because you're going to be deployed in your deployment zone.
Yeah,
the
fair.
whole army gets Armor of Contempt. With the Conquer Imperative, I feel like the Assault ability is arguably more important because it gives you that additional maneuverability.
Yep.
And like you say, the second part of that is kind of controlled by your opponent. The second you go into Conquer, he'd go, whoop, out my deployment zone.
Right, and kind of inverse to what you're saying. Like turn 1, often your opponent's just going to be hidden. They're going to be back behind, and after that they can control it. So that's a thing. You have offensive ability and the defensive capability. And of course, these are not once per game, it looks like. You can just keep switching.
Round.
Cute, like
you
it.
can go Conqueror, Protector.
I love it. Now, notably, there's no mechanicals here, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, and this is part of my problem with the army rule, okay? Because you have to have Doctrina Imperatives, and it's actually... I was kind of hoping that what they would have done then is gone army-wide abilities for AdMech. They haven't done that.
They always have this problem with AdMech, and they have since the launch. I played this army since the beginning because it's just a beautiful army that's existed in the lore forever, and they finally made it. And they've always had this split of the Scutari and then the Priesthood. And these actually, on launch, were literally 2 separate armies. And they just refused to combine them. Like, I understand from a lore perspective why they'd be separated, but at a certain point, especially in this edition, which is all about simplicity and cohesiveness, I think they should have combined it.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is the detachment ability. This is the rad cohort. Rad bombardment. This is a rad ability, Liam.
It is rad.
Absolutely rad.
Yeah, okay.
So there's something that happens in Battle Round 1, and then there's something that happens in Battle Round 2 onwards.
Yeah, so Battle Round 1, we have the bombardment.
Bombardment.
That's what happens, we say on the channel.
A bombard.
Bombardment, okay. On bombardment from Battle Round 1. At the start of the first Battle Round, for each enemy unit within your opponent's deployment zone, you roll a dice, okay?
Cool.
They choose, basically, whether they stand firm or they take cover.
Okay.
If they stand firm, you roll a d6. And on a 3+, they suffer d3 mortal wounds.
Oh,
okay.
That's
On a
cute.
3+, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. Right? If they take cover, however, they're battle shocked for the first round. So this is just Battle Round 1.
Yeah.
So Battle Round. Okay. So that's bombardment. That's what happens right at the start. Okay.
Hold those objectives that you can't score.
Yeah. And then in Battle Round 2 onwards, you have the fallout from the bombardment. So the AdMech have nuked you.
Right.
There's radiation everywhere. Battle Round 2, fallout. At the start of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th battle rounds, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within your opponent's deployment zone. And on a 3+, it suffers 1 mortal wound.
Oh my god. Literally, even if I was playing with this ability, I wouldn't want to do it because it's such a pain in the butt.
So it is a pain in the ass, right?
And it doesn't even give you anything good.
What I really hate about this detachment ability, so this detachment ability is from my personal perspective, when we first announced this detachment ability, I was kind of like, this is really good.
Yeah, a lot of people said that.
People going, this is madness. And I stopped, I took a step back and I read it all, and I read it again, and I read it again, and I was like, okay, I'm actually going to do a 180 flip now and say that I think this detachment ability is fucking trash, and I'll explain why. Battle Round 1, your opponent decides whether they're taking cover or standing firm. So I have this cool ability that I can do. But hey, opponent's over to you. Do you want to try and take mortal wounds or not? Right?
Yeah.
So if they take cover, okay, they go to OC 0. Doesn't matter for Battle Round 1, you don't score primary objectives.
Yeah.
The second thing that they have in Battle Round 1, if they do take cover, is they don't get access to stratagems. It's Battle Round 1. They've got 1 CP, maybe 2 CP max. They're not going to be using loads of stratagems.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing AdMech right now, my personal opinion is I'm predominantly going to be taking cover everywhere because it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
It makes no difference. I've just neutered your first round Battle Round ability. If, however, I choose to stand firm, you still have to roll a 3+ to do any mortal wounds. So for me personally, maybe you slightly fix this by going, you just take D3 mortal wounds if you stand firm, rather than on a 3+.
At a minimum.
But then so I roll a D3, I roll a D6. If I roll a 1 or a 2, I take no mortal wounds. The ability is still fucking pointless.
Yep.
At that point, I'm not battle shocked, so I can still use my stratagems. And if I do roll a 3+, we then do D3 mortal wounds. You roll a dice and you get a 1 or a 2. I've taken 1 mortal wound.
I mean, even at a worst case, you're taking 3 mortal wounds. Cool. Like, I really, really don't care. So
For most factions, you don't care.
You don't. It's
And some factions,
crazy.
Some factions even want this, Adrian.
Correct.
So the Sisters of Battle probably go, cool,
Yeah.
I'm going first.
Yep.
I've now lost a model in every unit.
Perfect.
Guess what? I'm +1 a hit.
You know, they got the red eyes. They're ready to go. This is a really bad ability. There's many ways to fix it. You know, you mentioned a couple things that they can do. Also, you know, compared to the Tyranids' Shadow in the Warp ability, which we actually love, which is an on-demand, it's not a guaranteed battle shock, but you can force them to take it, and it does really cute things later on. This is just all around bad. The Battle Round 2 onwards ability is just very, very bad. All around. I love the concept.
The other problem I have with this rule as well is for the Battle Round 2, well, actually both abilities, is it just kind of bogs the game down slightly.
Yep.
You have this awkward moment at the start of every Battle Round. We have to roll a 3+ for every unit in the opponent's deployment zone, and then you take a mortal wound, and it's just a ton of admin.
There's a Maelstrom card that works like this on a 6. I would just skip it most of the time, you know. And even in the new cards, I think there's one that is on an advanced roll of a 6. I don't even know if I'd even ever use it because it just slows the game down.
Yeah, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it.
Yep.
I get the narrative behind this.
Again,
the narrative is cool.
Yes.
The implementation is quite bad.
Also interesting that this is the first detachment that they would start with, is the Rad cohort.
Yeah.
You know, ooh, I like this. This art here is super dope.
I mean, something in this book's got to be
We
good.
said something positive.
Cool. So, stratagems for the Adeptus and Mechanicus. You start off with the Baleful Halo. Okay. In the fight phase, just after the enemy unit has selected its targets, you select 1 Adeptus Mechanicus unit from your army, excluding vehicles. Right. That was selected as a target of 1 or more of the attacks from the enemy units. And the effect is that until the end of the turn, each time an attack targets your unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. Solid stratagem.
This is great.
1 CP, solid.
Yeah, very strong.
Yeah. I actually do kind of appreciate and like the caveat that it doesn't attack vehicles.
Yeah.
So this is good for infantry and stuff like that.
Exactly.
This is a cool stratagem.
And it would feel bad if it was on vehicles.
Yeah.
You know, Drukari.
It's good for 1 CP.
This is amazing. Lethal dosage is a 2 CP strat. You do it in your shooting phase. And you put it on an AdMech unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot yet. Cool. So what does it do? Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a ranged attack that targets an enemy unit, excluding vehicles, add +1 to the wound roll. So this is a classic AdMech strat. This was in the Scutari veteran cohort before. Basically, it is... Oh, no. This is worse. Because it's 1 AdMech unit versus 1 of their units. Why would they do that? Why would they do that, Liam? Why would they do that?
One unit, 2 CP +1 a wound.
If this was your whole army +1 to wound against 1 unit, then it's fine. Then it's interesting. That justifies it. Genestealer cults, 2 CP, pick 2 units if they're battle line, +1 to wound.
Yeah.
This is an easy one to fix, but as it is, it's why? Why do they make it expensive?
I mean, it's usable because you do get that +1 a wound, but it's expensive for 2 CP.
And it's not even against vehicle units, which are the things you really need.
This is a 1 CP strat at best.
For sure.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. So the rule, I'm not against the rule, it's a 1 CP strat at best.
Yep.
Extinction Order.
Oh.
Use this in your command phase. It's a single CP and you target a tech priest model from your army and 1 objective marker within 24 inches of that model. Okay, you roll a d6 for each enemy unit within range of that objective marker. On a 4+, it suffers 1 mortal wound and must take a battle shock test.
I'm excited about the battle shock.
On a 4+ though.
The 4-up is the tough thing. At least make it a 3-up. Or a 2-up.
Again,
guaranteed.
Narrative, I like it.
Yeah.
It's 4+s. There are times where I can maybe understand requiring a person to roll a 4+ to to do something even after spending a command point. Typically, I'm looking at units of 10 or 20 models that can fight on death, right?
Right.
So with Old World Eaters in 9th edition, when I could spend 1 CP to fight on death with a Khorne Berserker unit, and I didn't have to roll for it, very, very, very strong. If I had to roll for that, okay, not quite so strong, probably where it should have been right from the start, where there's a unit of 10 models who can fight on death. I still don't like 4+ because it's 50-50, and I've had to spend resource to do it.
Exactly.
Again, less of a problem in 9th edition when you had more command points. More of a problem now when we've got less command points overall right from the start. So you're taking a gamble with this Extinction Order, because let's say, for example, you've got 5 enemy units in range of that particular objective marker. There is a potential, although mathematically rarer, obviously, but there is a potential. You spend 1 CP, and then you roll nothing but below a 4 for all 5 units, and you spent a CP to literally do nothing.
Yeah, and the thing is, it gets more likely, obviously, to trigger on a unit the more units you have around, but that's kind of against the whole point. Like, if you're trying to battle, like, why do you want to battle shock? You want to turn off a strat on a unit, or you want to reduce their OC to 0 so you can take it. So if there's more than one unit on the objective, like, you probably have other problems, which is why, like, I understand why this is a splash effect, and I understand that it would be maybe too powerful if it was a splash effect to cause battle shock that was guaranteed, but they should have just narrowed it, you know, like, make it, if it is going to splash, I wouldn't make it splash. I would just be like, one enemy unit has to take battle shock test, because that's not even guaranteed. They could just pass it.
One mortal wound as well. So you could do. I think you could change this on the 2+. It suffers 1 mortal wound, and it's still not that bad.
Yes.
Like, I still feel like that's still an okay stratagem rather than it being a good stratagem.
Yes.
Because the thing is, you do it in your command phase.
Yeah.
So if you need an enemy unit to fail a battle shock test in your command phase, so you can hold an objective by changing them to OC 0, and this is your method of doing it, it's not reliable.
No.
It just isn't.
No.
So another way they can make this better, you suffer 1 mortal wound and you must take a battle shock test at -1 because you've suffered the mortal wounds.
Correct.
Like, there's ways I think they can make this better. As it is, this is a mess stratagem for me personally.
Yeah.
But we've got the Ingressit Imperative as another CP stratagem for us, Adrian. In your charge phase, 1 Skitarii unit from your army that advanced this turn. Until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to declare a charge, even though it advanced this turn. The restrictions are, you can only use your stratagem if you're in the concurrent imperative, and that particular imperative active your army. I actually really like this for a CP.
This is a great strat. This is one of the strats I was sad to lose when Skitarii cohort went away. This is awesome. This makes your Rust Stalkers in particular very speedy and able to, like, stride across the dooms and curse slice your enemies. This is a great strat. I love it.
On the face of it, before we look at the data sheets, this is a great strat.
Absolutely.
On the face of it. I like the restriction that you have to be in Conquest. Good for narrative. I'm a fan of that. I like the fact that you do it in your charge phase, so you don't have to spend it at the point in which you advance. You can just spend it in your charge phase.
Yes.
That's important. So you can advance 2 or 3 units, and your opponent at this point doesn't know which one you might not drop. You might drop this stratagem on to do the advance and charge. I'm a fan of that. It's 1 CP. It's a solid stratagem on the face of it. Caveat, chat. On the face of it.
More on
it's
that
a good
later.
stratagem. Yeah.
All right, we've got Vengeful Fallout. Whoa!
Oh, too far.
Hey, ho!
You're always taking too far.
I know, I do. This is Vengeful Fallout. It is a 1 command point stratagem. You do it in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has resolved their attacks. You pick an admech unit from your army that was a target of those attacks. And what it lets you do is you may shoot back, but you can only shoot back at the enemy that shot you, and obviously only if they're eligible. Now, the interesting thing is after a unit has finished making these attacks, it is not eligible to shoot again this turn. So you couldn't do Overwatch, for example, with the same unit.
Yeah.
This is cool.
It is locked to turn, not battle round, which is important. So if you use Vengeful Fallout, it doesn't mean that you then can't shoot in your turn, which is fine, because it's this turn, it's not this battle round. So you are right, you can't use the Overwatch stratagem on this unit and use Vengeful Fallout, which I think is good.
Yeah.
But you can still shoot them in your own turn, which is good. It's 1 CP. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's
solid.
Cute.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm into it.
Bulwark Imperative for 1 CP. Okay. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after the enemy unit has selected its targets, you pick a Skitarii unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the enemy unit's attacks. Until the end of the turn, models in your unit have a 4+ invulnerable save. You can only use this stratagem if the Protector Imperative is active for your army. It's 1 CP. This is also a solid stratagem.
This is awesome. This is fantastic. This is kind of the twin of the advance and charge, right? That one lets you go fast and be aggressive. This one lets you be defensive.
Yeah.
Very, very solid. A big block of 4+ invuln is a spicy meatball.
So I think on the whole with the stratagems, I'm kind of meh. There's a couple of good ones. There's a couple of ones, and there's a couple of not very good ones at all.
Yeah,
that's exactly. Kind of saying it. Someone in the chat said, why are the stratagems different colours? It depends on when they activate. So green is in your turn. Blue is in either turn. Red is in their turn. Is it that way around? Or have I got green and blue the wrong way around there?
Red is in your...
Red's their turn.
Red is their turn.
Yeah. Blue is
Your turn? Yeah.
your turn.
And then green is either.
Green is either turn.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Exactly.
So if the stratagem's blue, you can only do it in your turn. If the stratagem's green, you can do it in yours or your opponent's turn, depending on what the when part of that stratagem states.
Yeah.
If it's red, you can only do it in your opponent's turn.
It's a cool system. Good question.
Yeah, I like that one.
All right, let's take a look at the enhancements. We have archived purge protocols.
Yeah,
Sounds
this
promising.
is wordy, this one. You want to go for it?
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Scutari Marshal model only. At the start of your battle round, you select one friendly Scutari unit within 12 inches of the bearer until the start of the next battle round. If the Protector Imperative is active for your army, the Conqueror Imperative is active for that unit instead. And if the Conqueror Imperative is active for your army, the Protector Imperative is active for that unit instead. So,
great.
what you can do here is you have your whole army in Protector, but that one unit that you want to go and advance and charge, as we've just seen for that stratagem, you can put that one unit, in the Conqueror Imperative instead, which is cool.
I like this a lot. This is.
I kind of wish it just gave you both.
It'd be cute, but I don't know if you need both. You know, this is again straight from the Scutari cohort. I'm seeing it as like you have most of your army doing the shooting, but you want to yeet one combat unit in, so you do that. Or you want to be really aggressive, but you have one shooting unit. And for me, this is going to give you the ability to unlock those two stratagems. That's what I think of this is for.
Yeah, it's 100%, and that's why I kind of like the idea that you can put them in both. Like we have seen stratagems for particular, like Dark Angels have a stratagem where you can put heavy and assault and something else on the same weapon. So I don't feel like it would have been too much for Scutari to get that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or for Admech to get that, but you know, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's solid, it's good. I can't complain about it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Master Annihilator, this goes on any Admech model. While the bearer is leading a unit, range weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. Sustained Hits, very powerful keyword. Whenever you can see it, you try to grab it. This is, again, an awesome ability that'll, of course, be contingent upon what the actual units are that we can attach it to.
Yeah, Sustained Hits is something that I think I'm always going to fish for in most codexes. If I can take Sustained Hits, I'll probably take Sustained Hits somewhere. I like it. Solid mechanic.
Definitely agree.
So we then have the Omni Sterilizer. This isn't what we do to Uncontrollable Men. This is an enhancement for Admech. Adeptus Mechanicus model only. Add 3 to the attack characteristics of the bearer's ranged weapons. Okay. But in addition, the bearer's ranged weapons have the anti-infantry 2+ and the anti-monster 4+ abilities.
Ooh.
So the 3 inches, I don't think many of us really care about that, although our wives might disagree.
No, it's 3 attacks.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, still.
Sorry for the joke.
Yeah, you ruined my joke there.
3 attacks is good.
3, I mean, yeah.
So, again, we have to see the data sheets. This is like, okay, I want a weapon that's not supposed to be more than 1 or 2 shots that I'm going to get the benefit from. Then for the anti-infantry, anti-monster, my next immediate thought is like, is there a weapon I can take on a character that has devastating wounds? And then you combo these. That's when it can get out of hand. So again, we'll take a look at the data sheets.
We will have to, yes.
Yeah. This is Excoriating Emanation. Sounds promising. Admech model only. While the bear is leading a unit, models in that unit have the stealth ability. Ooh. Again, seems very strong. Depends what we can put it on. And as we'll see, other units such as Call can give stealth in a bubble. So question is it still something you want to take, given the fact there's other ways to get stealth?
So I've had a quick glance, very, very quick glance.
Yeah.
The Omni Sterilizer actually isn't that bad. You put on a Tech Priest Dominus and you give him a Volkite Blaster. That's then 6 attacks hitting on 3, Strength 5, AP nothing, 2 damage, but has devastating wounds.
It does have devastating.
And the Infantry 2+ means on 2+s you're doing 2 more wounds to infantry.
Ooh, I like that.
That's good.
That is very good.
That's not bad. So, I mean, they're relatively solid enhancements, actually.
These are actually solid.
The enhancements are probably better than the stratagems overall in terms of where they sit.
I
think they're decent. I think there's an argument for every single enhancement.
I think it could be tough to actually pick just, which of the 3 you're going to take.
Yeah.
So that's enhancements, that's the army abilities. Data sheets are a bit tougher because, again, we're actually not super familiar, but there's a couple of things that we might want to talk about, right?
Yeah, let's go to Ruststalkers.
Ruststalkers. Why did they start with the flyers?
I don't know. No one cares about flyers
What?
in this edition.
Call is cute. Again, he can give stealth in a bubble.
Yeah. So actually, just go back up to the robots very, very quickly, Adrian. Right?
No.
Zoom in here on this page right now.
Please no.
Here's the problem, straight away, right? Come back out a little bit. You tell me where you see Doctrina Imperatives on this particular data sheet.
That's right. They don't have it.
You don't. So they have specifically separated Admech and Scutari yet again. So the army, and this is the problem I have now.
Yeah.
The army rule.
Right. Doesn't work
is specific for Scutari.
Yeah.
This is why I have a problem with the army rule. If you'd have lifted that army rule out of the army rule and you made that the detachment rule, cool, I'm into it. Because then you could make an admech detachment rule.
Yeah,
and that's what I think they should have done.
Yeah.
But what they've done is their army rule is locked to Doctrina imperative-based units, and half of your codex is Adeptus mechanicus.
Yeah.
So half of your army does not benefit from your army rule, and the detachment rule that they give everybody, as we've already discussed, is pretty trash.
It's a really weird choice. Again, why did they choose to do this rad cohort rather than this is like the combined arms detachment, which we've seen with other ones, right? Drakari have the real space raid, and that's kind of the combined of everything. The Gladius Strike Force is kind of the generic Space Marine one with doctrines. Why didn't they follow through on that design here?
Yeah,
Good
absolutely.
question.
Yeah. There's a couple of people asking about different factions inside this chat right now. I'm just going to address this very, very quickly.
Yeah.
This is part 3 of what will be a 4-part series. If we'd done every faction in one video, it would have been 20 hours long.
Totally.
In the other 2 parts of the videos, if you look at the video comments at the moment, because I haven't yet put it into the description so it properly segregates it on the video, which I will be doing. I will put the chapters in this weekend. But if you do go and look at the comment section, a kind person has very kindly put in the timestamps and the codex factions that we've done for us on that already. If you click on that faction, if you click on that comment, it will show you all the factions. If you click on the little timestamp, it will take you to that one. For reference, we've done 11 so far. We've done the first 11 that's on the website, okay?
Yep.
So if you're looking for Tau or Votan or Orcs or Eldar, they've all been covered. All the Xenos have been covered so far in the first 2, but if you go and look at the comment section, a person's already done the hard work for me, and you can jump straight to that section if you want to.
Very kind.
This is part 3, and we'll be covering probably...
this is the first 5. We went up until GSC on the first day.
Tau Orcs, Necrons, Votan, and GC Occults day 1. Drakari, Craft Worlds, Imperial Knights, Astra Militarum. We skipped Agents because no one cares. Death Watch and Adeptus Custodians day 2. We're now at Admech. We're about to jump into Grey Knights. We'll probably do Sisters. Chaos Knights, I reckon, will be a quick one. And Thousand Suns at least today. Hopefully we'll jump on Demons as well. And then we're going to do Death Guard, Chaos Space Marines, generic Space Marines, that kind of stuff for the last day, okay? Just so you guys know already. So let's keep going down and have a look at something like, because I know the reason why I want to look at this particular unit, because I know this unit does the thing that I have a problem with.
Totally.
So the data sheets themselves aren't massively impressive. Any of those, Infiltrators or Rustalkers is fine. They're not massively impressive. They're okay. They're not terrible, right? They're not great.
Yeah, they got their 2 wounds, 5 up invuln, move 8.
They have some cute abilities. They get stealth.
They have devastating.
We now see where they do get Doctrina Imperatives, but optimized gate. They're all on the right is where I want to focus on this unit. They've done this a load, right? And this is the piece that really pisses me off. Okay, add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for this unit. That's a flat ability you get all the time. That's fine. That's cool. It's not bad. The bit that annoys me is the next part of that sentence. While this unit is within 6 inches of 1 or more friendly Adeptus Mechanicus battle line units, add 2 to advance and charge rolls for models made in this unit's deck. Now, these will have been pointed and costed with these particular rules in mind. Oh, they get much better if they have battle line nearby. Okay? Apart from the fact that the movement characteristic of a Rustalker is significantly different to the movement characteristic of a Scutari Vanguard. So, your fast army is fast or super slow if you're near battle line, and you want to be near battle line to make your army really sing.
It's
weird. It's a weird
really
mechanic.
Weird. Again, I feel like they could have easily fixed it. What I would have said is, it makes sense if you're starting. Literally, the rule is called optimized gate, which literally means it's talking about how they are faster than these other units and how they're supposed to keep up. It would have been interesting, in my opinion, if the second part of this, if they wanted to keep it, gave a bonus to their move characteristic, because that would trigger when they're starting in the main line before they kind of get sent out into the forefront. That would have been at least more interesting. But here, the time in which you need the bonus is when you're either advancing or you've already gone and you're going for the charge roll. So
you're probably maximum making use of charge bonuses in battle round 2. To be honest with you, because it's going to be a bit of a struggle, I think, for Admech on the whole to make a turn 1 charge, even with an 8-inch move, and 1 stratagem, remember, for 1 unit to advance and charge if you're in the right Doctrina.
Totally.
Okay, so if you're going to be doing it for battle round 2, my gut instinct tells me that typically my Rustalkers and Infiltrators have left this battle line units behind at that point.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't seem to really work for me.
Exactly.
And this is a story that's across a lot of other units within this codex as well. They are better within range of battle line, but they are faster than battle line, and it's just kind of weird. We're talking about an army rule that affects half your army, a detachment rule that we both agree is pretty terrible at best, and probably more of a pain in the arse than it is actually useful. Some stratagems that are kind of meh. The enhancements are decent, and then data sheets that make weird choices. For me, we go back to our ranking system where we have our 1 to 5, our S, A, B, C, and F tier. These sit in F. These are a fail.
Yeah.
This index is a fail for me.
It's an absolute shame because it's an awesome army, but
Yeah.
it's just totally mismatched the entire way through.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I'm gonna try and play AdMech because I have
same.
the army, but I think we're gonna have to be cognizant of who we put them against.
Yeah.
Because if you put an AdMech army like this against Eldar or Knights, there's no game. That's not good television for you people out there.
Exactly.
Okay? At the moment, at least, anyway.
Agreed.
Now, I can't imagine for 1 minute that GW aren't aware of this, and I'm imagining they'll probably be working hard to bring some of the super powerful stuff down, and eventually they'll probably be working hard to bring the trash stuff up. That will happen, because that's what they do, right? They did it all the way through 9th edition, and I dare say this, having taken the piss repeatedly out of MetaWatch and Stu himself, they actually didn't do a terrible job in 9th edition of balancing. There was a couple of weird choices that they made and a couple of big mistakes that they made, but when they identified problems, they did try and fix. And we've already seen with things like the Death Watch stuff that they've done that they are prepared to hotfix this edition, which I'm positive about.
It's good.
Okay, right. People have in fact super chatted.
Oh, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, you're amazing people. Only one gifted membership so far. This is weird for us.
Yeah,
It's weird to be half an hour in with one new member.
it's a shame.
Normally we get like one per minute, right?
Jeez.
It's true though. Samberry, thank you very much for the 5. Curious what Sororitas data sheets have your attention as really good and or interesting, and why is one of them Archoflagellants, aka Squiggle Boys? They are.
Squiggle
So we
Boys.
were literally talking about this last night.
Yeah, we were.
Whilst you were building a Exorcist.
Yeah, exactly. We've been talking a lot about sisters, and they're a faction that's got a lot of flack, but I think we can be much more optimistic about them. There's really some cool stuff in there. We're looking at flagellants. I wish they had AP or a way to get AP, but they're still very interesting. They're very tough. They have a ton of attacks. Definitely units that are worth looking at. Exorcist, obviously. Castigator, funny enough, I've been a big critic of the Castigator, but I think it's finally interesting. Really, I'm interested in looking at multiple small units for sisters go out and score. So the Seraphim and the Zephyrim are both interesting for that. We're both Immolator curious, although they are a little expensive. That's the #1 problem with them. But the transport, the ability to combat squads, some of these squads that are bigger than they should be, like Battle Sisters, they should come in 5s now, they come in 10s. But it makes them interesting. So
the problem I have with the Immolators, for me personally, the way that the problem I have with the Immolators, I want them for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
And this is where it's difficult. I want them to be able to cut my Battle Sister squads in half.
Yep.
So I can do better MSU and better trading with Battle Sisters and generate more Miracle Dice. But the other reason why I want them is because I want to put Retributors inside the Immolators, because when you get out of... So Sisters suffer massively with strength of weapons in general. Their highest strength weapon is the Mace on the Paragon Warsuit, which is -1, requires you to be in melee. It is then strength 12, but it's not great, okay? Now, you kind of have to have more than Val in the unit to make them kind of appealing, because they get reroll hits and wounds. Otherwise, they're just right? So that's their best strength weapon outside of a one-shot hunter-killer missile, which is then strength 14. Yep. So melter guns, I feel like Sisters are still going to have to lean heavily into things like Retributors with melters overall. I do also find the Castigator quite compelling. I'm quite a fan of the battle cannon right now, although only strength 10. But you want the Retributors in the Immolator because once they disembark, you can reroll win rolls if the Immolator targets and hits the target.
Exactly.
Well, the Immolator is an auto-hitting weapon, so you're going to hit the target, so you're going to get those reroll wounds. So I have this weird situation in my head where I start an Immolator on the table with 5 Sisters inside. My first turn, I get the Sisters out, I put the Retributors in. Second turn, I drive forward. Like, it's just a bit
It is awkward
weird.
for sure. Yeah. Exactly. That's why I'm kind of in the mindset of just 1 unit of Battle Sisters. You accept they're going to be a 10 squad, and they just sit on the back, because they can also generate Miracle Dice by just existing. And you start the Retributors in. It is just scary, because I think that ends up being close to 300 points for these meltas that are gonna die after they do their thing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we were trying to be positive. We're talking about, again, that's why the Immolator is like on the verge of being very, very interesting. These other units, very compelling. Sacrosancts, I think, are interesting. We're excited to experiment with Sisters.
Yeah, you've talked about the Archoflagellants. I actually don't think they're a terrible choice.
No, they're not.
I think the Repentures still aren't a terrible choice. The problem they have now is they're going to fall over very quickly because of Overwatch. So it's very, very hard now to get your Repenture in a place where they can make a good charge. What you're going to have to almost do as a Sisters player is you're going to have to offer up a juicy target to try and tempt that Overwatch out before you then move your Repenture and get them in range. Because if the Repenture make the charge, they're not that bad.
But look, they've got full hit and wound rerolls when they charge, which is awesome. They could use 1 more attack.
They could use one more attack. You're right.
Yeah.
They could.
But they're
an interesting choice. Sisters on the. I'm going to add a caveat. Sisters on the surface is an army that looks like they're not that great. But I feel like they're an army that looks like if you master and dial them in, they could become good, not amazing, but good.
I think they have the tools to score, which is the most important thing.
Thank you so much, anyway, you hero, for the 5. Chris, thank you for the 2. Did you see more than just Custodes kept Forge World stuff? Did you see more than just Custodes kept Forge World stuff?
Yeah, there's some big questions regarding some of the points that came out today that it doesn't quite match with what we've seen before, right?
So I don't know what's been released at the moment. We haven't looked.
Yeah.
And I also know that not everything has been released quite yet. So I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. Thank you so much for the donut. I'm going to skip the question for fear of saying something that I shouldn't.
Wow, that takes a lot for you to say that.
Yeah, right. Well, something that I'm
legally
legally obliged to not say, right?
Yeah,
so we're going to, thank you so much. I don't know what they've dropped so far. I know there's problems with what they've dropped so far. We were on a call with GW this morning, and there's been changes even and this is not news story for you people. There's been changes even from the stuff that we were sent. So I don't want to comment on the off chance that I say something that I shouldn't. That hasn't actually come out. That's due to come out tomorrow or next week or the week after next or whatever it might be. Okay, so I'll have a look at that afterwards. Maybe I'll know a little bit more about it before tonight's game. Thank you, Des, for the 5. What do you think about the decision to let Space Marine have Thunderhawks in tournament play, but making it Legends for CSM? You've seen this? So the Legends of the Heresy have released today. So this I do know that I can talk about.
Okay.
Because I know this is a thing. Legends of the Heresy released today, and in Legends of the Heresy is the Chaos Space Marine Thunderhawk gunship only, not the Loyalist one. Someone put a comment on the Facebook page of Forgewell when they released this article about where's the Space Marine one, and the Games Workshop responded and said, well, that's in the normal Forgewell rules. So Space Marines get to keep Thunderhawks for competitive play, probably, depending on the points. Chaos don't. And this is a problem I have with Games Workshop right now. So I'm typically mostly positive about GW and what's going on, and I'm aware that there's a lot of hatred and noise about 10th edition right now. And I'm aware that some people have even put comments on the streams about, oh, you just brown nose in GW again. Oh, like we've just told you about how terrible fucking AdMech are, right?
However, we didn't watch the stream.
The discrepancy and the difference between how Space Marines are treated compared to how Chaos is treated is quite frankly baffling to me, and I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's going on. They've legended so many Chaos units in Legends of the Heresy, despite the fact that they're not actually Heresy units, Brass Scorpions, etc. It doesn't make sense to me as to why they've done it. And they've done it in the name of balance, despite the fact that the Space Marine datasheet index is 3 times as thick as the Chaos one.
Yeah.
If they'd have just done it with Space Marine units, I understand, because you have an index card box that's this thick. Chaos is this thick. It doesn't make sense to remove some of the options from Chaos. It specifically doesn't make sense to me to remove options that are recent plastic kits that they could be selling to everybody, and now they're not going to sell to 40k players. I think it's just a flat bad move.
Yup.
But I don't want to labour that point. I have a whole stream about it. My most lucrative stream in like the last 6 months. I ranted. I said a word that you don't like a lot.
Oh, jeez.
I was so angry for everybody else. And I was clear on that stream as well. It didn't really actually impact me. I lost the loose of a Brass Scorpion and 2 Leviathans. But some people, it's negated thousands of points of their collection. It's bad, right?
And thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars, exactly. Aaron, thank you for the 5. So Dark Angels Hellblasters for Martin, take Gladius for Bolster Discipline and Apothecary, or just take Azrael with Hellblasters. Seems Dark Angels Detachment has better strats. I think it probably does have better strats, actually.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, Azrael is probably the right way to go, I think.
Yeah, the Gladius stuff is valid, and that's what I would do if you're trying to run them in the Gladius, but Dark Angels has some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out as well, because I feel like GW needs to make some clarifications there. Disciples of Asmodai, thank you so much for the 10. He says, what's up, y'all? Thoughts on my Drakari list?
Okay,
This is a you question. Archon, Homunculus, Succubus, 2x10 Cabalite Warriors, 1x10 Racks, 5 Racks, 10 Witches, 2 Raiders, 2 Venoms, 3 Ravagers, 3x5 Scourges, 2 Talos, all units loaded for Bear. Thanks.
This is cool. I like that so the detachment really wants you to take all 3 of the different sub-detachments, and you kind of like meet that requirement without having to lean too hard into it. You know, John the other day ran 2 blocks of Witches, which I think is not the way to go. You run kind of just enough to get the value out of them and unlock those benefits. I like this list a lot. I think it's cool. I like the ability that Chronos give, which is the refunding the pain tokens, but I also know that Talos are just a good, solid unit. So
Yeah.
it depends
Talos
how
are
you
good.
want to get your value, right?
Talos are the ones that can take the Haywire as well, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I like Talos a lot. I'm a
Haywire
fan.
is, really good right now.
Haywire's incredible right
Cool
now,
list.
yeah. It's a solid list, and it's nice and well-rounded. I think you've got a lot of mobility. I assume the Ravagers and the Raiders are going to be loaded up with Dark Lances, because that's probably the way you should be running them. It's solid. It's a good list.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Ben, thank you for the 350. Why the sneaky 412 point drop, 40k blue balls? Why didn't... The sneaky point drop?
Sneaky point drop.
I-
I don't know if it was directly related to, like, there were some leaks from the app I heard
was
about.
there?
Some people may have
Right,
hacked it.
right.
So I don't know if it was a response to that. Again, like I said, we have had a busy morning, so we haven't fully connected on that.
I am conscious that you are our 40k community, and I love you all very, very dearly.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you're all amazing people. But some people in the fucking 40k community need to get a bastard life. Do you know how they found these rules? They
yeah.
data mined the app.
Yeah.
They
That's what I'm
reverse
saying.
engineered the app to go in there and find the JSON so they can work out what. Fucking hell! You've got to wait a few fucking days. Jesus Christ! Get a fucking life.
So yeah, I don't know if that's why the points came out suddenly, but I did have that thought this morning.
Honest to God.
Yeah.
People, go and get fucking laid, honestly. Oh my God. Dan, thank you for the 9. It was his first ever super chat. Clearly, he forgot to put a comment in, and the wonderful human being then did it again and put a comment. So thank you for the
Don't do that.
18. First ever super chat fail, lol. Big fan. Issue with Grey Knights is damage. No
Yes.
devastating wounds, no rerolls, no anti. Best rules, but pinball army, ping off everything at high speed.
Yeah.
Their mobility, it's sad, but their mobility is exactly what they're going to have to lean on, I think, in this edition. They
Yeah.
have some... I thought there was some side cannon devastating wound stuff in there somewhere. I thought originally, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Yeah,
I think that the
sure.
Nemesis Dread Knights are your only real source of high strength, relatively damage output.
Again.
But they do suffer
Yeah.
into something like Knights. They're just going to have to skirt them the whole time.
Yeah, they're an interesting faction because, I'll be totally honest about the fact that I was wrong about them. When we were looking at the rules and talking about them, we're like, this faction's amazing, top 3, I had my top 3.
I had them in my top 3 as well.
Yeah, and then people who know better, aka Art of War, were like, this is why they're not as great.
Yeah.
And then we're like, that's actually a valid point.
Yeah.
And we haven't really played those matchups yet, so at the time we hadn't seen the major flaw, which is that output. But yeah, they're uppy downy Marines, they're sneaky Marines, that's what they're going to have to lean on.
I will say that it was an amazing game on Saturday on the Titans channel,
yes.
which was versus Aldari, which I think is widely regarded right now as the strongest faction in 40k.
Yeah, a little bit.
We think by quite some distance. Other people have had comments on previous streams that we put out there that said they're not that bad. We'll see when you play against them. But we played Grey Knights versus Aldari on Saturday, the last game of the day. And it was actually a very interesting matchup, and they kind of held their own against the Aldari.
Yeah.
So that's a good example as to why I think they're quite good. Because holding your own against Aldari is impressive right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But, hey...
And it takes practice, Jesse has played a few games with that, not just that list, but he had to dial it in to adapt to the new edition, to adapt to things like decannon and directing out of line of sight, and it's going to take that. It's going to take having some really rough games, learning, I can't put this firepower into a knight. I have to be prepared for this kind of mortal wounds output, and then tweaking it in ways that I think he didn't expect at first.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Practice.
Let me say thank you to Brian and Nordos for the gifted membership.
Thank you.
Gifted memberships have died off today, so what we're going to do, we're going to turn on an old rule for one day and one day only.
Okay.
If we hit 100 gifted memberships in the stream, I'll give away a £100 Games Workshop voucher or equivalent.
Ooh.
In country of your choice. If you're in the US, we'll give you £100 worth in dollars. So
that's awesome.
We'll turn that on right now.
Okay.
Try and get those rookie membership numbers up for one stream only.
That's fair.
Right? Just for today, though. Okay, team? Right? There's your incentive.
Let's do it.
I'll have to go over and, I'm going to have to log into my giveaway bot. And stuff. I can work it out. It'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah, let me know.
Thank you so much, Andy, for the 5. Can GW fix the issues that have come up so far in 10th with points and data sheets, or do the core rules need tweaking? I think on the whole, the core rules don't need tweaking massively.
Not massively.
Maybe some slight clarifications rather than tweaking would be interesting for the core rules perspective. If I look at the core rules and think about things that I perhaps don't like myself, I'm not a huge fan currently of how towering works.
Yep.
And then I'm not a huge fan currently of how indirect works. That's probably my only real
That's about it.
issues.
You could maybe go after the devastating wounds, but I think these other two are the main. They're the main issues, honestly. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that people are complaining about. German GT. I don't think you need to change the lone operative. Like, just come on. This is a new edition. Stop trying to play ninth.
Yeah.
But there are core things.
That's a really interesting point, right? So if you know about this German GT that's coming up soon, they've also released a list of house rules, which I read out to you yesterday.
Yep.
I mean, they're just trying to turn it back into 9th edition.
Everything was too much. Like there are things that need tweaking. I'm definitely not saying the game's okay right now, but they just take it way too far. Where it's like, no. If you've actually played as many games as we have, there are ways to play around most of these rules.
Most, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for the 5 euro hero. Anyway, Taco Boy. Anyway, in terms of points values, you can always fix things with points values, right? That's just not something that anyone can ever argue. You can always fix things with points values.
Yeah.
The problem becomes where it's a Death Guard, right? We haven't got to Death Guard yet. We're going to get to them very, very soon.
Yeah.
But they're flat fucking toilet right now, and they're a horrible salt fest at the moment because of how bad they are.
Yeah.
Much like AdMech. Can you fix Death Guard with points? Yeah. How do you make Death Guard more durable with points? Well, you drop the points so much so that they can take tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of units, loads and loads of infantry. Which will then make them feel like this horrible, trudgy zombie horde that you need to try and get through. Problem I have is that they're elite Chaos Space Marines.
Correct.
You shouldn't have hordes of Death Guard.
Yes.
So although you solve their problems, you don't then have necessarily a narrative representation.
Exactly.
So they can fix them with points. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best solution.
And they can certainly fix them with data sheets without having to change the core game.
Yeah, absolutely. Taco Boy, thank you for the 2, and thank you for the poo.
Oh.
Yeah, it's literally just a poo.
That's cute. That rhymed.
Brennan, thank you for the 1. Dang. Skippy, thank you for the 5. John, thank you for the 1. Ben, thank you for the 1. The gifted membership train is starting.
So kind.
We have to get to 100.
Woo-hoo.
We're currently at less than that.
That's fair enough.
We're currently at 3, 4, 5, 10, 11.
11. Look, we're over 10% of the way through.
But you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, you heroes.
Love
for
it.
supporting the channel. You're incredible. Let's go back to all messages and let's look at the next faction.
Let's take a look. So that was AdMech. Next up we have, speaking of the devil, Grey Knights. This will be good because this is another one that I have heard a lot about, been told a lot about, but I have not read it through it myself.
Okay, so we just kind of talked about it a little bit.
We did, actually.
So this is a beautiful segue that was completely unintentional, right? Okay, cool. So teleport assault is their army rule. I love this rule.
This is so cool.
I really like it. Okay. So if your army faction is Grey Knights, at the end of your opponent's turn, you can select a number of Grey Knights units based on army size, essentially. So what we're going to do for the purpose of this particular stream is we'll look at Strike Force because we typically only play 2,000 points. Yep. And if it's 2,000 points, you get to pick up 3 units. Oh. You get to select, sorry, I should say at this point, 3 units at the end of your opponent's turn. Okay? End of your opponent's turn, you select 3 units. Once you've made your selections, you then remove those units from the battlefield, and in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, set each of those units up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from all enemy models. Any units that are not on the battlefield at the end of the battle count as destroyed. So, at 2,000 points, which is what we all typically play, 3 units, every battle round basically can uppy downy. So
if you've watched the first 2 videos in this series, you know that we highly rate these kinds of videos. We talked about the Gene Stealer Cult strat, and we talked about the Death Watch strat. And this is a strat that lets you do it on 2 units, which is awesome. This is an army ability that lets you do it for 3 units for free. Very strong, very fun to play, very 10th edition, because you are going to be able to adapt to the situation as it comes. And I think it's very cool.
Yeah, it's a strong ability.
And it's flavorful. Like,
we have said this, I have said this for the last 2 editions of the game, and it's still true in 10th edition. Mobility is key. Mobility is always key. This gives you incredible mobility, whilst also being interactive, because it allows your opponent the opportunity to screen you out as well.
Yeah, they get to their entire turn before, including things like charging and during combats pile in, keeping in mind that you're now setting up the screens for your opponent.
And if you know that your opponent can pull 3 units off the board and deep strike them anywhere on the table, then you can play in such a way to try and restrict where they're allowed to put them back down.
Exactly.
Which means it's quite an interactive rule, and therefore I'm really positive about it. Yeah. It's good for Grey Knights, it's good for mobility, it's good for the opponent because you can play against it. I like this rule. I think it's a really good
awesome
rule. So the detachment rule, the one rule that they get access to currently in the Grey Knight Index, the one detachment they get is Teleport Strike Force, and they get the Teleport Shunt ability. So each time a unit with that deep strike ability advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, until the end of the phase, add 6 inches to its move characteristic, and it can fly.
Whoa! I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
This is great. Another thing we talked about yesterday was, ooh, fancy. Look at this Eldar strat that lets you auto-advance 6 inches. They get to do this all the time, and they get fly. Again, what was the thing you were just saying? Oh, movement is key.
Yeah.
And this is another amazing movability that works on Most of the army?
The majority of their army can deep strike.
Yeah.
Almost everything has deep strike.
This gives you fast Terminators.
So your term, yeah. And I mean, I don't know how many of the weapons are assault weapons, or if they have access to make them assault weapons.
Yeah,
And
good
I think
question.
on the whole, a lot of your weaponry, if you are using this particular ability, won't be able to shoot. So you're going to have this is another reason why I love this rule.
Yeah.
So it's very, very good.
Yeah.
It gives you more mobility. Fly isn't so important for going over buildings, but if you're using strike marines or terminators, you don't need to care about that anyway because you're an infantry unit, so you can move through a ruin anyway.
Yep.
But you can, however, leap over enemy units, which is quite important. You can jump onto objectives where an enemy unit might be screening you out. But you have to make a choice. Do I want this extra 6-inch movement with fly, or do I want to shoot my weapons? And another reason why I love the rule, it gives you a choice, it gives you a tactical choice. Neither option is bad, but there is a positive and a minus on both.
Yeah.
As combined with the main army rule, you could potentially have 3 units that come up and come back down, and 3 other units that teleport away and move, and then a couple of units that can shoot.
Yeah.
I really like this as a combination.
This is awesome. I've never played Grey Knights, but looking at these rules, they've never been more tempting.
Yeah, I liked Grey Knights when I looked at these because
Right.
I've always liked high mobility armies.
Same.
That's why I love my Eldar. I love high mobility.
Exactly.
And why I love the Harlequins. This is a good set of rules there
It's
for an
awesome.
army.
Let's take a look at some strats now. We've got this first one, Radiant Strike, 2 command points. You use it in the fight phase. So again, this is a green strat, so you can do either player's fight phase. You select 1 Grey Knight Psyker unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in your unit with the Psychic ability have the Devastating Wounds ability. Ho 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 ho! Expensive, but Devastating Wounds is one of, if not the best keyword in the game.
Well, let's be honest, most of the models in the unit, unless they're holding a 2-handed ranged weapon, have got a psychic weapon because Grey Knight psychic weapons like strikes, the strike marines with the strike swords, whatever they're called, I can't remember what they're called, Nemesis Force swords.
Yep.
They're all psychic weapons.
All psychic.
So you basically get a whole round of Devastating Wounds melee attacks.
That's awesome.
Good for 2 CP.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Death from the Warp is another stratagem they have access to, which is in your movement space specifically. For 1 CP, you pick a Grey Knight Psychic unit from your army, which is basically all of them,
Right.
until they either advance this turn or arrive during using Deep Strike, or Teleport Strike. So they can Deep Strike, they can Teleport Strike, or they can advance. That's the 3 ways they can arrive.
Cool.
Until the end of the phase, range weapons equipped by... This is important, this one, Adrian. Remember, this is 1 CP.
Yeah.
And remember everything I've just spoken about,
Yeah.
right? Ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the assault ability, and each model in their unit makes an attack. Add 1 to the hit roll.
What?
So now you can auto advance 6 inches with fly, and you gain assault, and you gain +1 to hit. So now you don't have to make the choice. For 1 unit at least, you don't have to make the choice. So your Terminators can move 11 with fly, because they move 5 plus auto 6 inches advance with fly, and then fire their Stormbolters as assault weapons with +1 to hit.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. They're like teleporting through these little portals and like popping out. That's so awesome. It's very, very strong. Very cool ability.
I like it. I'm a big fan.
Prognosticated Arrival, 1 command point. In your movement phase, you select 1 Grey Knight's Psyker from your army that's arriving using the Deep Strike or Teleport Assault abilities this phase. You can, let's see, and what it does is the unit can be set up anywhere on the battlefield more than 3 inches horizontally away from all enemy models. And of course, if they do this, they cannot charge. Liam, you played against Gene-Stealer Cults. What do you think about this ability?
This is an incredibly strong ability. And I would argue that this is a stronger ability on Space Marines than it is on Gene-Stealer Cults, because the potential to drop a unit of Terminators within 3 inches of enemy models on an objective and take it from you and go on, take me off it.
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Exactly.
I'm 5 Terminators. How can you shift me? With Gene-Stealer Cults, toughness 3, like 5 up save.
They're there to die.
Okay, cool. They're mostly just ablative wounds.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a problem. This is really good.
It's awesome. This is really cool.
This is really good. Escapade is just Death from the Warp. You get assault and +1 to hit in the movement phase only. Scroll up for me just quickly.
Beep, beep, beep. Is it a typo?
So look at when.
Yeah, in the movement phase.
And then effect until the end of the phase.
That's adorable. I love it. I love it. Don't play it like this.
Rules as written. Escapade, you're not wrong. There is no way that's as intended. Intended is that...
You think? You're going to go on the limb and say that?
I'm going to go out there and say that should say until the end of the turn.
Yeah.
Range weapons have the assault ability.
I'd reckon.
If I was playing against someone right now, I wouldn't say, you can't use that. I would say until the end of the turn, you get assault.
And if they did say that, I'd be like, I'm not playing with you anymore.
Yeah, if I try to enforce that, wait, what do you mean I can only give my ranged weapons +1 to hit and assault in the movement phase when I can't shoot them? I'd probably just pack my shit up and leave.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there you go. But you aren't wrong. Rules is written, you aren't wrong.
You're not wrong.
They're written badly.
They need to fix that.
So haloed in Soulfire,
Ooh.
in your movement phase.
2 CP.
It is 2 CP. One Grey Knight cycle unit from your army that was arriving during using the Deep Strike or Teleport Assault abilities this phase. It's important that we differentiate the two.
Yeah,
Teleport Strike, which is the army rule, isn't Deep Strike, but does the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you arrive via either of those particular abilities until start of your next movement phase, your unit cannot be targeted by range attacks unless the attacking model is within 12 inches. You give that unit lone operative, basically.
Oh my god, this is massive. Massive, massive, massive.
For 2 CP, that's worth it for this, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Again, I go back to what I said a minute ago with the prognosticated arrival. Put this on a unit of Terminators.
Yeah.
You know, you can deep strike in Kaldor Drago and 10 Grey Knight Terminators or Paladins and spend 2 CP on that unit to not be targeted unless within 12 inches.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Very wise of them to limit it to your movement phase. So you can't rapid ingress.
Oh my god, that'd be mad.
It would be so good.
That would be mad, actually.
I love it. This is cool. This is strong. It is a bit situational, but it's pretty good.
We have typically seen in 9th edition, whenever anyone deep strikes anything, they're typically always trying to be 9 inches away from their opponent.
Yeah.
This actually makes it compelling to drop 12.1 inches away from your opponent's army and then pay this 2 CP strat and say you can't target me unless you move within range of me.
Yeah.
If you then move within range of me to be able to target me, guess what? You've closed that gap. In my next turn, I can then move back, and then the charge distance is tiny.
Yeah. This is very interesting. You know, we talked about Eldari, things like D cannons. Guess what? They only have a 24-inch range, which is not bad. So often when you're landing, they're going to be shooting you. You pop this, when you come in, they can't shoot you unless they move real close, and they probably can't. And if they do, that's a win for you because you're gonna counter-strike them back. So this is a really cool counter to the super obnoxious out of line of sight shooting that.
Yeah, there's a lot more tactical play to these kinds of stratagems than just you can't shoot me, because it's about what it forces your opponent to do then to be able to shoot you.
Exactly.
Which is essentially bringing that lamb close to the slaughter.
Yep.
You know, it's important.
Precisely.
Good stratagem. Good stratagem.
I love it. Let's take a look at the second half.
So 2 that you now do in your opponent's turn.
Okay.
We start with Mists of Demios. In your opponent's movement phase, just after an enemy unit ends a normal move, advance, or fallback move, you pick a Psycho unit that is within 9 inches. You spend 1 CP, and your unit can make a normal move of up to 6 inches as if it were your movement phase, or if it has a deep strike ability, it can be placed in strategic reserve.
My God.
Restrictions: you cannot select a unit with this strategy that's in engagement range. So good.
So good. The second half is. The first half is good because remember, Space Marines. We haven't talked about them yet, but they have basically the same ability on a D6. It only goes to a 6 if you're in the correct doctrine. This one already does that. Already great. Then you finish the sentence and it goes crazy. So again, we'll keep talking about Jesse because he's our Grey Knights player. Plays against Shane. Oath of Moment. All right, this is my Oath of Moment target. I move. Oh, Oath of Moment target, whoosh, off the table. Your whole army ability is gone. And it'll come back later on when this doesn't matter. Such a strong and flexible ability. Again, this makes the Grey Knights look very, very interesting to me, who's all about movement. This is super fun and powerful.
It's really good. I'm a big fan of this one, yeah. And then we have that last one.
We have True Silver Hammer. This is a 1 CP stratagem. You use this in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected to fight, selected as targets. The target is 1 Grey Knights unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of those attacks. Makes sense. What does it do? Well, until the end of the phase, each time an attacking unit targets your unit, worsen the AP by 1.
Armor Contempt. Armor Contempt.
We were going through this list and I was like, they don't have Armor Contempt. That's interesting. Makes sense. They have a lot of other abilities. Oh, they have it. Just kidding. Amazing. Great strat. Again, if you're looking to vect something, this is the one to go for.
This is hilarious. John says, can you Overwatch with the unit and then use Mists of Demios? No. Could you move within range, Overwatch, and then disappear off into the sky?
Yeah, they would have to move within range.
Yeah. So if they're moving within 9 inches of you, they're moving within Overwatch range. Gone. That's mad.
It's so fun.
It's so good.
Oh, I love it.
It's so good. Absolutely.
So these strats, overall, quite strong. We really like these strats.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
The strats, so far, nothing bad. Everything's good.
Nothing
Everything's
bad.
solid.
Yeah.
So look at the enhancements, see if they've got some cool tricks in here as well. Remember, you have to remember, chat, as well, right? You have to remember that the stratagems and the enhancements are all directly tied to this particular detachment.
Yeah.
So it makes sense if these stratagems or these enhancements now feed into this mobility kind of thing that we're seeing from this strike force. So first to the fray. There's a lot of wordy ones here.
It's a lot.
First to the fray, one that I definitely have seen Jesse taking, and I've seen on almost every person's list so far. Let's see what it does. A Grey Knight model with a deep strike ability only. The bearer's unit must start the battle in reserves, but neither it nor any transport it is embarked within is counted towards any limits the mission places on the number of strategic reserves units you can have. That unit then can be set up using the deep strike ability in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third movement phases, regardless of any mission rules.
I was like, when is this going to get interesting? And then it
Turn 1 deep strike.
Wow, that's very strong.
There's just nowhere this is bad.
No.
Because keeping it off the battlefield, you go first. Cool, I'm just going to bring it in straight away because I can.
Yeah.
But if I go second, this unit is entirely protected because I'm not on the battlefield, but I will still get to use it for 5 battle rounds.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
This is awesome. And this is kind of where we've seen them update these types of warlord traits from the previous edition. First to the fray was basically, if I make a charge, then I give bonuses to other people to charge. And all the abilities like that, including in like the orc books, have all been updated to be very interesting mechanics that really support the core idea of the army.
Yeah.
This does this.
Yeah, it's cool.
We then also have Sigil of Exigence, which is another famous Grey Knights artifact, obviously on a Grey Knights model only. Once per battle, in your opponent's shooting phase, when the bearer's unit is selected as the target of a ranged attack, you can remove the bearer's unit from the battlefield and then set it up again anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from all enemy models. If the bearer is no longer an eligible target, your opponent can then select new targets for any attacks that had targeted the bearer's unit. Again, very strong. This actually got stronger because you can now put this on, well, you can put it on anyone like before, and it's the entire unit. So you can put this on a block of Terminators, you can put this on your shooty purgation squads, and just pick them up, dump them away once per game. Having played against this in the previous edition, it's a pain because it's always there.
It's uppy downy when you select me to shoot at me, and I can move to a point where you just can't shoot me anymore.
Yep, exactly. And if you don't, like so what do? You don't shoot them? Eventually you might have to, and you could have to do it at a horrible, horrible time, and they're going to pop it. So you almost need to, like, you're incentivized to try to shoot them to use this crazy powerful ability before you actually want to. It's cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's good. It's 2 good enhancements. Very nice looking solid. You can see, some of you can now probably see why Adrian and I were like, this is probably a top 3, top 5 army. Again, Art of War disagree. They're definitely better at this than I am. So listen to them, not me. So Domina Liber Demonica, or that's that thing. This one, the Liber Demonica, right? Grey Knight model only. Each of the bearer makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll, and if the attack targets a demon unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack as well. So this is a cool enhancement because it's narrative.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
It's racist.
Against demons.
It is.
But I have a slight problem with it.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. There's so many enhancements that are so good at impacting a whole unit. This is just for the bearer only, and only the bearer gets +1 to wound. Now, remembering that you can put this on a Nemesis Dread Knight, which then maybe becomes compelling. A Nemesis Dread Knight with +1 to wound is no joke.
Especially given the weakness that we just talked about before.
Yeah, right? So this isn't a terrible enhancement on the whole. You give it to that Dread Knight with his sword or his hammer, and you give him a flat +1 to wound. I believe at that point he starts wounding knights on 2s, which becomes compelling. Like, it's That's not cute. Bad.
Yeah.
The problem I have is the second part, specifically the demons, is situational, and it only impacts 1 model.
Yep, exactly.
But it's not a bad enhancement.
It's actually not bad. They were at least smart enough to say the base benefit is strong. +1 to wound is a very powerful ability. So they at least knew to do that and say, you know what, if it's not demons, you at least get something.
Yeah.
So again, like you said, not as much of an auto take because it doesn't affect a model, or it affects a model, not a unit. We've seen 2 others that affect full units. So those to me are both auto takes. Let's take a look at the 4th one. This is Inescapable Wrath, Grey Knights model only. Add 1 to charge rolls made for the bearer's unit. Look, it might not be the most flashy one, but it is solid. This is an army about dropping 9 away.
Considering exactly that, right? So considering you're uppy downying everywhere, and then this gives you +1 to charge, that means you can uppy downy, be 9 inches away, and then have an 8-inch charge. Yeah. That's a big difference mathematically.
It's essential.
Yeah.
To me, these are the 3 that you take.
Typically, yes, I'm going to agree with you. I think these are the 3 that you take. I think that the first one is an absolute auto take, and I don't think you can ever argue that First in the Fray should be in every single list. I think if I was to rank them in order, Sigil of Excellence probably then comes the close second. And I can see a use case for both of those last two, but Inescapable Wrath does pip it for me over the Liber Demonica, just because it affects a unit and it really ties into what the army is trying to do with this particular detachment.
Absolutely.
So data sheets.
Ooh.
Talk about data sheets, Adrian.
What do
Let's
we
look
think?
at two data sheets. I want to first look at Strike Marines and I want to look at Nemesis Dread Knights.
Sounds fantastic.
Because they're the two mainstays in Grey Knights. One thing I will say, Drago is basically an auto take for me at the moment. You probably want a Grandmaster in there at least because you want some of these cool rules. Cassette and Crow isn't bad with Purgation squads and their psychic attacks. Not forgetting that the psychic attacks that they get aren't once per unit, it's once per model. Every model gets that particular attack, which is very cute.
Ooh, that's
it's
good.
Really good.
Right?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Not too bad at all. Look at all these cool character data sheets that they have.
A lot of stuff. It's cool.
Terminators.
Strikes.
Here we go, strikes. Have a look at these strikes. So you're talking a standard Space Marine data sheet here, but look at their armor safe.
Whoa, what?
2+ armor save.
I had no
for Strike
idea.
Marines, yep.
What
Grey
the heck?
Knights have basically got a flat 2+ armor save everywhere right now.
That's cool.
Which is really, really good.
I
love the surprise on your face, by the way.
It was like, what could it possibly be? It's like Artificer armor.
If you look at the Nemesis Force weapon, which is a psychic weapon, they get 3 attacks each at strength 6 minus 2, 10 damage with that psychic weapon that we can now give devastating wounds to because of that stratagem. Okay, we have the Incinerator that ignores cover, the Silencer for sustained hits, and the Side Cannon as a psychic weapon. There is no devastating wounds there, they are right. This is where they start to lack a little bit of damage output. They're all solid weapons, but look at it. The highest you've got is the Side Cannon at strength 8 with 3 attacks at 24 inch and 2 damage. There's nothing above 2 damage here. This is where they start to struggle.
Exactly. Then the force weapons and melee, it's kind of the same deal. This is a great profile. 3 attacks, so weapon skill 3, strength 6, AP 2 for 2. It's a great marine killer, it's a great elite killer, but it's going to struggle into big monsters and vehicles, you know?
It is, absolutely. So if we go over to their abilities, Deep Strike, Scout 6 inches. Scout 6 inches is really clutch on this one.
Yeah.
So if we then tie this in with the auto advancing 6 and fly, they're incredibly mobile. They're they're terrifyingly fast for Space Marines, quite frankly. And they have that Deep Strike ability. Basically everything in the book near enough has a Deep Strike ability. And their Ritual, which is a psychic ability if you control an objective marker at the end of your command phase, essentially it becomes sticky. So Grey Knights that are fast with sticky objectives.
This is great.
Like everything is good apart from high strength, high damage. They just don't seem to have access to it. But surely the Nemesis Dread Knights will have access to high damage, high strength. Let's have a quick look.
Don't call me Shirley.
Thanks for that.
No problem.
That was top bants right there.
Top bants.
Top bants.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a fan of it.
So many units in this book.
All right, Dread Knights. So again, we're going to toughness 8, so they aren't the toughest thing in the world, with a 2-up save and 13 wounds and an invulnerable save of 4+. That 4+ is really nice. We do like that.
That's great.
Okay.
Glad they kept that.
We've still got the Silencer, the Incinerator and the Side Cannon, and they basically keep the same rules as sustained hits, as it ignores cover, the Psychic. But if we look at the Heavy Side Cannon, it only goes to strength 10, and it only gets -1. And even then, it only pushes to 3 damage. So yes, it's better than the smaller one. I mean, you're only wounding Armigers and 4s.
Correct. Armigers, Rhinos, that kind of middle level.
You're wounding Lehman Russes on 5s. You know, it's not the greatest. So we'll look at the melee weapons, which is hopefully where they sing a little bit. And you've got the sword and the hammer. The sword is great because it gives you that sweep profile for 10 attacks. But again, the strike profile is only strength 10 and only d6 damage. So for me at the moment, I'm feeling like the hammer is the one that you want because it's strength 14. It finally gives you access to that high strength that you're going to need, but it's -3 and it's d6 plus 1 damage. And it hits on 4s.
Yeah, it's a little rough there.
It's a problem. So this is where now taking the Grandmaster in Nemesis Dreadnought armor and putting that Liber Demonica could be interesting. Strength 10 sword with +1 wound is interesting. The hammer with +1 wound is wounding knights on 2s. So, you know.
That's cool. I like that. That's feeling more and more mandatory, actually. You need a way to deal with them. I love this ability, though, here.
Yeah, so they keep Deep Strike. That's what I'm saying. Everything's got Deep Strike in this ability. So these can also auto-advance 6 inches with the detachment roll, which is important, right? And this model is eligible to shoot and declare a charge at a turn in which it advanced or fell back. That's really important with the detachment ability. So these things can move their normal move, add flat 6 inches and gain fly, and then still charge.
So fast and scary. That is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, really good.
I think it's great. This is really cool. Again, The only problem is dealing with these big, heavy targets.
Yeah,
Other than
that's
that,
the issue.
Amazing. Everything is like 100% top notch.
If these guys step up against a Knight's army, for example, they're basically going to have to rely on their movement to score the objectives.
Yeah.
They can't reliably pull down Knights too frequently. But they're not terrible. They're a good army. I think they're a really solid army. I think they're going to be a really fun army.
Super fun. I really like where they're at. I think they're going to be much more fun to play not only with, but also against. The last version of the Grey Knights book I didn't love. It kind of just felt like this weird gunline army of just millions of shots your opponent had to roll.
Yeah.
They were all okay. And can I block the +1 damage spell? Can I block the +1 wound spell? This army, much more fun. I'm excited for it. I think Grey Knight players should be overall happy.
I think they should be, yeah. And I still think that they sit lower A, upper B tier. So somewhere in that middle, but
Still solid.
upper end of the middle for me. I think it's still having listened to Art of War's concerns, gone back and looked over the data sheets, and then essentially agreed with them because they're right. I still think these are going to be a decent army. More importantly, I think for 40k players, this is a fun army to play with.
Yep.
So win-win for Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right, so we had some more stuff come through whilst we were talking. Tyler, thank you for the 5 gifted. Ben, thank you for the 1. John, thank you for the 1. I think we caught them all. Dang, Skippy, I think I covered that one for the 5 as well. Ben, thank you for the dono. Yeah, that's the one we got to. Ben, thank you for the 9 New Zealand. I hear you, Liam, but we have no idea how long we have to wait. I do agree they need to follow my example and just complain rather than hack the app. Yeah, so I get it. So I think GW, in my opinion, one of the fundamental mistakes that GW made, which would have been very easily fixed, when they started this release schedule, very, very easy. Hey, here's the roadmap. Mm-hmm. It doesn't hurt anybody to say, on this day you're going to get this, on this day you're going to get this, on this day you're going to get this. It stops all the questions, it stops all the, when am I going to get my Eldar code? It stops all that shit. I know I'm going to get it on this day.
It hurts them because everything is constantly changing.
Right.
And that almost looks worse.
I mean, that would... Okay, so what you're saying is if they get all their fucking ducks in a row in the first place, and they don't keep moving all the release dates that they've been doing with us, having a roadmap then is good.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally.
So it's all on them.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree with you. But hacking an app is fucking pure virgin material, isn't it? Thank you so much, I can never say that name. You say that name? You say that name? Martin...
Martin Netternan.
I'm glad it's just with me. Warhound Titan, 1,100 points. When are you fielding it?
Warhound!
When Joe's repaired it.
Yeah. Oh, you have one?
I have one.
Ooh.
It's
Oh, that's
George
right.
is his name.
Yeah,
and
George.
He got a bit broken because he wasn't in a great state when I grabbed him. So Joe took it home to fix it all up and hasn't touched it since. It's living in a box right now.
Wow.
Tim, thank you for the 10. What does Adrian think of a frail stern?
Yeah.
Give 3 more wound to a unit within 12 that fails battle shock test. In melee hits on 2, anti-chaos 2, and precision can deep strike.
She's great. And now that we have the points, she's great. 80 points for a lone operative character that can fight well, can shoot out mortal wounds. I think she's awesome. I think we'll see her in pretty much every Sisters list. I'm definitely going to be putting her in mine.
Yeah,
So,
she's really good. She
awesome.
is really good. Tyler, thank you for the 5. Adrian, my brother-in-law has the same banana shirt as in the thumbnail. He wore it last night during D&D. Just needed to share.
Yes.
Well, I mean...
Man of culture.
They had to sell more than one, didn't they, I guess?
Love it.
Twilight Steph, thank you for the 10. Was my understanding that teleport shun isn't an advance, as it says instead of an add to movement wouldn't have been worded like bikers or advance. This is a problem we're seeing in a few places in some of these rules where they've done a ton of work to amalgamate a load of rules into a single universal special rule so there's no confusion. Yeah. But then they seem to have also, on certain circumstances, worded things slightly differently just to add that layered confusion to us. So it is an advance movement. It is an advance. The instead of is instead of rolling the d6.
Correct.
Right, to be clear. And can I say we've had clarification? It is an advance move.
It is.
The way it's wording, I can completely understand why you could misread it and say it's just a movement. But giving them that as a flat movement plus fly and then letting you shoot normally would ramp this army right up, I think.
Yeah, it would be too much. And it's definitely not what they're intending, regardless of poor wording.
Rules as written, you're maybe not necessarily incorrect. But yeah, the intent is that you're, instead of rolling your advance, because if you read the rules for advancing, you roll that dice and add that to your movement.
Yes.
And this is doing the same thing, but just giving you that flat signature.
This was exactly the same in 9th edition. Any ability to let you auto-advance was written exactly the same way. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Connor, for the 10. Excited for my first 10th 2K game next week.
Ooh.
I saw that all the legal Forge World units points were added to the field manual today. Sad my Chaos Space Marines lost all Forge World and that my Krieg lost Engineers and Heavy Mortar squads. Please don't get me started on the Chaos one.
So
Please.
sad.
We don't have the time for it this week. I was so pissed off by it. I am also sad. And Krieg losing heavy engineers and quad mortars, I'm also sad for.
I bought my Grass Scorpion a month ago.
Did you?
Which kind of also shows we had no foreknowledge of this.
Yeah. It's, you know,
It's not even built yet, Liam.
relic now.
No, it's going to be a Lord of Skulls.
It's worth more now.
It's a Lord of Skulls.
Mr. Svenholier, thank you for the 5 gifted. You're a hero. I don't know what that puts us on, but more than 1, I guess.
Yeah.
James, thank you for the 10. Geez, who hurt the person that wrote the Grey Knight rules? These are mental. Also, can't wait to see all these Grey Knights get teleported on top of ruins for the extra AP each turn.
Suppressing fire! Oh no, it's not that. It's
Plunging fire.
I always get it
Plunging
wrong.
fire, that's the
Plunging
one.
fire, which we have found to be pretty difficult to use, honestly, and there's big drawbacks, which is good.
Yeah.
The second part. It's not good that it's hard to use, it's good that there's drawbacks.
The drawbacks are good. Grey Knights skirt some of the drawbacks, though, slightly.
Yeah. Oh, because they just won't be there?
You just teleport on there, use your plunging flyer, and you don't have to worry about the vertical movement down because you just teleport off again.
Yeah.
So they kind of get better. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it's that much of a problem.
No,
but,
I don't think it's
and
fine.
I also don't think the rules are that mental because of the reasons that we've stated, okay? So because I think they're going to struggle with high toughness tanks or lots of armour on the whole, that sort of balances Grey Knights out. If I dare say, if Grey Knights come across lots of infantry and hordes, what also balances them out is the fact that their movements are making them all do things like auto advance and therefore typically not shooting. I actually don't think they're that bad. I think they're relatively balanced.
And they're
faction.
expensive, yeah. But our first read-through was exactly the same as yours.
Austin says, thank you for the tea. Why can't CSM ally into demons? Why do GW hate us? Because of heresy. Heretics. That's why. It's your own fault for being chaos.
Yeah, they're really into the lore.
And I say that as a man who is predominantly a chaos player
Yeah.
than an imperial player.
Same.
Thank you for the 2. I don't want to be too upset about it, but when do you guys, so also thank you for the extra 2, when do you guys expect an Emperor's Children Codex proper? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see one as fast as possible. I'd like to see that be the new faction in 10th edition. We actually have no idea.
Yeah, we actually have no idea. I keep going back and forth in my head. I'm like, they have to have a new faction in 10th edition, right? But on the other hand, I'm like, we actually basically just got 2 new factions with Votan and then World Leaders right behind. So like, is that filling the quota? Like, I don't know. I feel like it could be in the next few months. It could be in several years. Obviously, I hope it's sooner because that's my favorite chapter other than Black Legion.
Emperor's Children, I'll spend so much money if that comes out.
Oh my God!
Oh
I
my
would go
God.
nuts for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be super cool. As to when, I really don't know. I would expect us to see something new in 10th edition.
Yeah.
Whether that's Emperor's Children or not, I don't know. But that rounds the set off now nicely.
Yeah.
A super incredible Angron model came out. We've got a great Mortari model, a great Magnus model, adding in Demon Primarch Fulgrim to round that set out. And they have now also brought back an Imperial Primarch as well. I feel like that would be logical that it would happen in the next couple of years, I guess.
Yeah.
The question is, do they bring in a 3rd Loyalist Primarch before they've dropped the 4th Chaos one? Do they think about bringing someone like Russ back or bring the Khan back as a Primarch in the Loyalist space so they can balance it out more? Are they happy with having 2 Loyalists, 4 Heretic? Who knows? Who knows? But I definitely think that Emperor's Children is on the cards when, no idea.
Yeah.
Brian, thank you for the 5. Chat plays with a Warhound Titan instead of with a Vindicare. Just accidentally wipe out Liam's army. Would love some Sisters Cavalry and Votan.
I mean, when I played, the first time I played, chat was calling for George.
Were they?
They were. But
What, here?
no, when I was at your place.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was broken at the time. Still broken.
I'm not really sure. Come on, Joe. Sort your life out.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's not off the table.
No.
Yeah. Sisters Cavalry would be awesome. More Votan would be awesome. Those are both super cool factions. Would love to get more love.
For me, with Sisters, I don't know if they need cavalry because a mounted unit would be nice and all, but they've got some really cool jump pack units. I don't know if they need it, and I don't think that every army needs access to every type of unit.
Also true. I don't know what I would want for Sisters. I'd just be happy with good rules for their current models.
Yeah, their current model range is stunningly good.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, cool.
Beautiful.
Next faction, Mr. the Adrian.
Let's do it. All right, that was the Grey Knights, the Knights of the Grey. Oh, speaking of which, Sisters! Yes, so we've been chatting a lot about Sisters. I have Sisters Army. You are starting a Sisters Army as part of your kind of 10th edition push. So let's take a look. Adeptus Sororitas. they have some abilities which you might quite recognize if you've seen them before. Basically, if your army is Adeptus Sororitas, each unit from your army with this ability can perform in 1 act of faith per phase. I'm not going to talk about miracle. We're not going to talk about fate dice. This is done using miracle dice. So how do you gain miracle dice now? The way this works now is each time you start a new turn, you get a miracle dice. Each time an Adeptus Sororitas unit is destroyed, you get a miracle dice. Already kind of a downgrade from the previous version. Notably, your units. So I'll say this. I'll caveat this. No, that's not even part of the detachment. It's much more about your sisters dying now than it is about killing other things, right? So you want small units to go out and die, and of course you get some at the start of the turn. Cool, that's great. What do they actually do? Well, you roll a dice when you generate them, and you can then basically use this instead of rolling a dice later on. So similar to fate dice,
yep.
You can use them on an advance roll, a battle shock test, a charge roll, a damage roll, a hit roll, a saving roll, or a wound roll. If it's charge roll, of course, you can just use one, and then you have to roll the other. So potentially very powerful, but of course we're getting drip-fed these, and you have to actually have units die, sounding like Votan, to actually get them, which is one of the biggest drawbacks.
So this is it start the back round or start the turn you game as well? Turn, okay.
Yeah.
Start the sister's turn or?
Each turn.
Each turn, okay, right. So this is fate dice done better, and I'm into it, and I'll explain why.
Yeah.
So first of all, if no units die, you still get 10 miracle dice. Start of every turn. That's
cute.
Right? So that's good, because if we look at Votan, you only get any abilities if your stuff dies.
That's true.
This kind of circumvents that. Now, giving you additional fate dice when your units die is also not terrible for me personally. Sisters, narratively about martyrdom, so it kind of narratively makes sense. Sisters also can MSU. They're relatively cheap. So if you do lose a unit of 5 cheap guys, girls, cool, I gain a miracle dice. It's not the end of the world because my assets aren't ridiculously expensive. And then the fact that you can only use it once per phase, per active, like this is fate dice done well.
Yep.
And I read this ability when it first came out and was like, I actually really like this. I think it's really good. Narrative,
absolutely.
It fits.
Very flavorful,
I'm a big fan.
Right? So that's miracle dice. That is for all sisters detachments. Now, in this case, we have the Hallowed Martyrs detachment, and this is basically like the old Martyr Lady detachment. Not an old lady that's martyred, it's the detachment that's old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old
blood of the
lady.
We're all about martyring old ladies here.
It's like my fucking mum. Carry on.
The Blood of Martyrs. Each time an Adeptus Sororitas model from your army makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if that model's unit is below its starting strength, and add 1 to the wound roll as well if that model's unit is below half strength. For the purposes of this ability, if a unit has a starting strength of 1, it's considered to be below starting strength while it has lost 1 or more wounds. So it's interesting. Obviously, it's never good to have an ability that requires you to take damage first, but there are a few things that make this much more usable. You just have to be below starting strength, so lose 1 sister, you're good. If you're a vehicle or something, just lose 1 wound, and you're good. So that makes it much more compelling. Obviously, it gets better, +1 to wound if you're below half, but it's not mandatory to actually have this ability to do something. So
it's not the worst attachment rule in the world.
No.
It's narrative, and I kind of like it.
Yep.
One thing that I will say for this ability, which for me is a positive personally, when you're generating miracle dice, this gives a reason to use a 1. Okay, so currently with miracle dice, in the old version of miracle dice, the only time that you would get 1s. So in the old version of miracle dice, 2s were kind of the most useless. You get 1, you'd be like, cool, I can use this for leadership. Exactly. I'm good. I'm going to pass my leadership check. So leadership's changed, as we all know. It's now 6+ or 7+, and you have to roll over, which now makes that 1 useless for leadership.
Correct.
There's no reason to keep it anymore. But if you do have the Blood of Martyrs as the ability, and you're going, I've got these 5 saves to make on my tank, my castigator, or even my unit of retributors, roll 1 pass, roll 1 pass, roll 1 pass, roll 1 pass. I now know I can only take a maximum of 1 wound. I'm going to sub my 1 in. I'm going to kill the Sister Superior, or I'm going to take a wound on my tank.
Yeah.
Guess what? I've now got +1 to hit.
Exactly.
So it actually does give a reason to use and keep those 1s for miracle dice, which I kind of like though. Yeah. So that's where I see that it can be a benefit. You can also now see where with the Admech Rad cohort, I'll be like, I'm sisters. Cool, I'll take a mortal wound.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Better everywhere.
I love it.
Yeah.
+1 hit on your whole army. Oh, yeah. Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
So again, it's an okay detachment ability. It definitely has play though. Let's take a look at the stratagems. This is Divine Intervention, Liam.
It is. Look how this. Oh my god.
That's why you get this one. It's
Any
good.
phase, a sister's character unit from your army that was just destroyed, you can use the stratagem on that unit even though it was just destroyed. You discard 1 to 3 miracle dice. Okay. At the end of the phase, set the last destroyed model from your unit back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed and not within engagement range of any enemy models. That model is set back up with a number of wounds remaining equal to the number of miracle dice you discarded. Restrictions: you cannot select Saint Celestine for the target of the stratagem. You cannot select the same character as the target of the stratagem more than once per battle.
This is great.
You reckon?
Yes, and it's better than it was before because you can actually use it on named characters that are not Celestine, such as Morven Val. You know, you compare it to, what was the other faction we had? Oh, Necrons, actually. On a 4+, they come back to life. This is guaranteed. Guaranteed. Now, discarding 1 to 3 miracle dice, often you're not going to really get any more value from discarding 2 or 3. So you might as well just do 1. They're going to do one more thing, and then they're going to die. But it could be a big thing. I highly rate this. Highly rate this. I'm going to get that phrase. Highly.
Highly.
I highly rate it. There we go. That's much easier. Anyways,
yeah, I mean, it's
you don't
okay.
Like it?
I don't like. So we've already talked about the fact that miracle dice are drip fed in. I don't like the fact that I have to discard miracle dice to do this. I think miracle dice in Sisters. I don't want to jump ahead. When we look at the data sheets, I feel like miracle dice for Sisters are going to be really important and very, very clutch. So the fact that I have to discard a resource that to me is going to be very important to do this stings a little bit. That being said, you are right. The idea that you can bring back the Triumph or you can bring back Morven Val with this ability is good. And you don't have to roll for it. You're guaranteed to bring it back for 1 CP. You need a minimum spend of 1 CP and 1 miracle dice, though.
But it could be any miracle dice. Could be the one you just talked about.
There's other stratagems and other codexes that you pay a CP. Like, so the Necrons used to be on a 4+. Now they just come back.
Oh, right.
Right?
I'm sure Chats said that.
So this is what I'm saying. There's a few stratagems that already exist where they don't have to spend another resource to get that particular unit back. From a narrative perspective, using a miracle to bring the character back, cool, I'm all for that. But you also have to spend that CP. So you're double resource spending to do something that someone else can do for just CP.
That's true. That's true.
So I don't disagree that it's not a bad stratagem, but I like one of the reasons why I'm loving this series that we're doing is because we're comparing and contrasting to other stratagems in other books.
Right. So it's maybe a good stratagem, but it's not a just stratagem.
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll give you that one.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Light of the Emperor is a 1 command point stratagem. Use this in your command, or in the command phase, so interesting. You select 1 Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army that has below starting strength. For the purposes of this stratagem, if a starting strength of 1, then it's considered to be below starting strength while it is injured. I'm really still surprised that they didn't also standardize that verbiage, you know, because you see it throughout all these books. Effect: until the end of the turn, your unit can ignore any or all modifiers to its characteristic and/or to any roll or test made for it, excluding modifiers to saving throws. We talked about this yesterday. Very powerful ability. There's only a few things in the game that have this, one of them being, of course, Trajan, that gives it to his unit. Very, 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 very strong. This is fantastic. Probably only diminished by the fact that this is best suited to a big, scary Death Star style unit, which Sisters don't really do, by and large. But the ability in a vacuum is awesome.
Yeah. In a vacuum,
that's the balancing thing,
it's
right?
not a bad stratagem at all for 1 CP. Ignoring any or all modifiers to all characteristics. So let's not forget this as well, right? Or any test. So although it doesn't ignore AP, because that would be silly, it ignores Battle Shock modifiers. It ignores the Chaos Knight's ability to make you Battle Shock at -1. It ignores everything with the exception of AP. For 1 CP, that's really good.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
I'm into it.
I like it. Holy Rage for 1 CP. Fight phase. Sisters unit from your army that has not been selected to fight yet this phase, and then the effect is until the end of the phase, each model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. This CP is clutch.
This is amazing.
Sisters need this stratagem in this book at the moment. As we've already discussed on repeated occasions so far, the strength that they have in their codex across their weapons isn't great on the whole. Like we said earlier, right? Paragon Warsuits have the best strength of any weapon basically that isn't one shot with their maces that are only AP -1. This is going to be clutch for Sisters. Yes, the downside being it's just the fight phase, but still.
Nah, that's great.
If you want to take multiple units of Paragon Warsuits, this stratagem is a must because you can only put Morpheus and Val in 1 unit, and she gives them reroll hits and reroll wound rolls. But I can also see this stacking with that reroll. Plus 1 a wound with reroll wounds and Morpheus and Val is incredibly important to Sisters right now.
Exactly. Make that hit count. I really like this for Zephyrim. I'm interested in.
It actually makes them tasty.
Yeah, they're getting +1 strength when they charge. They're getting just a bit to make them a bit so they can deal with higher toughness, and this makes it so they can truly deal with high toughness. For 1 CP, I like this. I believe this actually was a 2 CP strat in the last book, and it made me very, very sad. So this is awesome.
This Holy Rage for me, for Sisters, is a must-have strat.
Yeah.
Like, you need access to this. You need to keep access to this stratagem for me, personally.
Exactly.
I like it.
This next one I feel a bit torn on. This is Spirit of the Martyr. 2 command points in the fight phase. Just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, you select 1 Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of attacking units' attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed. Oh, sorry. No, I like this strat. If that model has not fought yet this phase, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after the attacking model's unit has finished its attacks and it is removed from play. So this is fight on death. It's 2 CP, which is expensive, but it's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed, but I feel like, okay, we're having some disagreements right now.
I know.
So, yeah, okay, so it's guaranteed, but it's with Sisters.
Yep.
So they're not hitting like a train. So they need it to be guaranteed because they're not hitting like a train.
You're only using this on units that actually do hit decently. So you're using this on Paragon Warsuits, you're using this on Repentia, you're using this on Sacrosants that actually are decent. They can either have high AP or they can have 2 damage hits. I think it is more niche because there's few units you're using it on, but I don't dislike it.
I would say it's very good for 1 CP.
Yeah.
Not broken. I think for 2 CP, it's a little spenny.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah. That's fair.
But we could, whilst they die, rejoice the fallen, Adrian,
yes.
for 1 CP. Your opponent's shooting phase, just after the enemy unit has resolved its attacks. 1 Sororitas unit from your army that had 1 or more of its models destroyed as a result of the attacking unit's attacks. Again, stuff's got to die for this to go off.
Yeah.
Your unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, but it must target that enemy unit when it's doing so, and can only do so if that enemy unit is eligible target. Interesting. Why is this one interesting? So it's 1 CP.
Yeah.
You kill one of my models, I get to shoot at you.
Yeah.
Right? Your unit can shoot as if it were a shooting phase, but it must target. Guess what? No restriction that tells me I can only do it once per turn. So I can Overwatch with the unit too.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah.
It's... I feel conflicted about this one. Because...
Considering that, in my personal opinion, Retributors are going to continue to be a mainstay of Sisters' armies,
Yeah.
I don't hate this stratagem at all.
Right.
And I'll explain. If I've got a unit of Retributors with a spare body inside said unit, for example, and I decide to use my 1 miracle dice that's a 1 to kill off that 1 model that hasn't got melty melters, and I've already passed the rest of my saves, and then I can spend 1 CP to fight my to shoot my Retributors at that unit, and then they move, and I could also shoot them out. Like, there's mileage in this for 1 CP, I think.
Maybe, but that's a very niche circumstance, which is why I'm skeptical, because the problem with this strat is it's the remaining models shoot.
Yeah.
And Retributors, as we discussed, we're talking about putting them like immolators in squads of 5.
Yeah.
You need to run a brick of 10 to make this strat even remotely interesting.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because of when it triggers. So you trigger in your opponent's shooting phase after your enemy has resolved its attack.
Correct. So after they're fully done shooting you.
So it's not that you go, hey, I'm shooting at you, and I go, cool, I'm spending 1 CP so I can shoot with my models after you. I know what's happened. So if I've got 1 model left, I'm not spending 1 CP. Cool, okay. I don't spend 1 CP.
I like that. That makes this stratagem playable. You know? I don't know. I like it better than shoot on a 4+ when you die, because that was scary. Obviously, half the time, every time, it doesn't work, right? So I'm curious. I'm nervous.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I think it's reasonable. It's average. It's okay. I can see me using it.
Yeah.
And so therefore, it's an okay stratagem. It doesn't necessarily make you go, oh my god, you can do what? And I don't look at it and go, that's trash. I'm never going to use it. Yep. So for that reason, I think it's a solid stratagem.
Yeah, I'm with you there. This last one, this is the one I feel also conflicted about.
Okay, interesting.
Suffering and Sacrifice. 1 command point. Start of the fight phase. You select 1 Adeptus Sororitas infantry unit or 1 walker unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy model within an engagement range of your unit selects its target, it must select your unit as a target of its attacks.
So it's heroic self-sacrifice from Blood Angels previously.
Yeah.
I'm forcing you to target this unit.
Yep. I'm becoming less and less conflicted, and more I don't like it.
Okay.
This in the past has been a clutch way to save a unit that's fragile, that needs to fight, and you put it on either a tanky character or a character that wants or is going to die and maybe fight on death. The weird thing for me is I almost wish you could put these wounds on a character in a unit to have them like be heroic. Like you have Junith in a squad, she's probably tougher than a lot of things in the squad. And she can actually tank the wounds and be like, no, allow me! But you can't do that. It has to be a separate squad or a lone character that's going to tank them. And then it's like, it becomes more and more niche. So what, you have Sacrosants next to a fragile unit somehow in combat together, and the Sacrosants are going to tank the units?
So here's where I think it becomes clutch, and it becomes a 2 CP spend rather than a 1 CP spend.
Yeah.
But I'll explain.
Tell me, convince me.
I have a unit of sisters on an objective, or I have a super important, delicate unit to me, like the Triumph, and you charge me.
Yeah.
Okay? I then 1 CP heroically intervene with another unit. I then spend another CP with the unit that I heroically intervene with and go, you can't target that one that you charged.
Yeah.
So you're going, I want to target, I want to take out the Triumph. I'm going, you can't now.
Yeah.
You're fighting Sacrosanct, so you're fighting Paragon Warseats. You cannot target the Triumph, which means in my next turn, I'm allowed to pull that thing out of combat and I can protect it. So there are moments with this particular stratagem tactically where I think this could come in clutch. It's not a stratagem you're going to necessarily look to use every single game that you play, and for that reason it's perhaps not one of the best ones in the book, or one of the best ones we've seen so far, because you're probably not going to want to use this every single time you play, but I definitely can see moments where this could become incredibly important to you as a Sisters player, to allow you to protect. I think most of that is going to perhaps circle around things like heroically intervening and then spending it, which now makes that a 2 CP spend. No, heroic intervention is 2 CP, right?
Oh, it's 2.
3 CP spend. So it's incredibly expensive to do it.
No.
It's incredibly expensive to do it. But it could be clutch.
You had me going for a second there.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it could be used situationally and with finesse, which I think is something that Sisters will do. I think we'll have to look at data sheets. I think someone like maybe Celestine can heroic for 0.
Yeah.
And she kind of comes back to her old role of like, don't move within 6. I'm going to tickle you with fiery swords in your bum.
I'm not trying to make it sound great.
No,
but I'm also
I know.
trying to make sure it doesn't sound trash.
Well, we're thinking, right? We're thinking this is a faction that we're very interested in, and they have the makings of something interesting. So I think we're really trying to think through how it's not clearly unusable. We haven't done Death Guard yet. A lot of the AdMech stuff clearly unusable. But there's a lot of strats in here where you have to really think through it. You got to look for certain situations, and you have to be thoughtful. So again,
from a narrative perspective, I guess I quite like it from a narrative perspective, because if you're going to use this stratagem, what they're then going to attack, they're probably going to murder. So you are literally sacrificing a unit.
But that's why I think my version is still narrative. Like the character in the unit that you normally can't target, that should be the Sister's superpower is you actually have to target them. They want to die. So for me, that would fit the narrative better and probably be a better ability. But it is what it is. Enhancements.
Okay, that becomes interesting then.
Yeah.
When you're being targeted or charged by a unit that has precision.
Yes.
So if we take our circumstance from Saturday morning, I don't know if this is something that can exist or happens with Sisters, but if we take our circumstance from Saturday morning, where my MOE, charge your unit and decapitated 2 characters.
Yeah.
If there is a circumstance where you can go, this infantry unit here, you can only target this one, so you can't target this one, and you can't decapitate. I'm just saying there is some play to it.
Yeah.
But
No,
it's
for
not
sure.
the best.
No, for sure. There's play. It's very niche.
Enhancements then, sir. Saintly example. I'm grabbing the first one because that one's like big text, right? Adeptus Oratus model. When the bearer is destroyed, you gain an additional D3 miracle
Speaking
dice.
of people that want to die, saintly example.
I mean, it's not a terrible enhancement.
It's not
because
terrible.
You're gaining, let's face it, on the whole, a lot of Sisters units are going to die anyway. And this one's giving you additional miracle dice. Here's why I don't like it as an enhancement.
Okay.
When a unit dies, what do you get?
What?
You get 1 miracle dice.
Yeah.
What happens if you use this enhancement? You roll a 1 or a 2?
You get another one.
You get 1 miracle dice.
Well, I think this is on top.
Oh, it's additional. Okay, so you get 1 more miracle dice.
Yeah. I think, so points kind of factor, not really. To me, this will make it in if the other ones aren't auto takes.
Yeah.
You know? Although I will say this, Sisters are an army that actually does have cheap units. For many armies, it's like, put in the enhancements, you got space, there's not really anything to put in these slots. Sisters is an army you actually will have things you can put in these slots. So let's come back to the same example. No, but I'm with you. I don't love it.
Talking about that last stratagem as well, Melody's in chat as well. Hey Melody, if you don't know Melody, she's one of the moderators for Titans.
Yeah.
Did incredible work this weekend with the mod team, with Willow and with Arada and a couple of the other people.
Yep.
Incredible work. You guys were amazing this weekend, so thank you. She says, I'm spending that 1 CP to +1 a wound every single turn. I get it.
Yep.
I think you just get better mileage out of that.
That's 100%. What it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Thanks. The Blade of St. Eleanor. This is a Adeptus Sororitas model. Obviously, add 1 to the attack strength and, damage characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. If they have lost 1 or more wounds pretty hard to do. Add 2 to the attack, strength, and damage characteristic. Oh, it's so tempting. It's really hard to do one wound to a character on purpose without just dying.
This is where, again, potentially Miracle Dice could come in clutch, where you can then slow roll. I now know I'm only going to take 1 wound, put that 1 in place.
But how are you putting wounds on them?
I'm just kind of...
You can't choose to put wounds on a character, Liam.
So I get the whole...
How?
Well, I know. I get the whole narrative of sisters and martyrdom. I get it. I do. I understand GW.
Yeah.
But when so many of the rules focus around you taking damage, you being below starting strength, you being below half strength, then I'm like, you've lent too hard into this. Like, you're in a place now where I have to be purposely hurting my units to get any benefits.
Exactly.
And as +1 strength, +1 damage, +1 attack on most of the unnamed characters isn't going to blow you away. And even +2 isn't really... +2 damage is cute. I like that.
Yeah.
+1 strength, +1 attack on a sister.
Oh, yeah. The other thing is, and I'm sure Sisters players have run into this when they start to make lists, is... Rewind. Before 10th edition, I was very curious to see 3 factions, the way they handle characters. Death Guard, Genestealer Cults, Sisters. These are 3 factions that have a lot of support characters that could really benefit from attaching to squads.
Yep.
Then we saw Assassination was built into the game, and suddenly this became, instead of being a superpower, being a huge detriment. And we've seen how these armies have to be very, very cautious with their characters. And that's the same thing here. We talked time and time again about how things that buff units, things that buff your army are going to be generally stronger than things that buff a single model. So I'm hard-pressed to put something like a Canoness, like a Smash Canoness, instead of, frankly, the amazing support characters that this army has. So it's like, it's tough. I know Melody was talking about maybe a Canoness, but I think was also talking about a different enhancement here. So
and if you do,
we'll
if you double down on both, guess what? You're giving up Assassinate.
It's so many Assassinate points.
Yeah.
Jesse made his first list, and Bridger was like, lol, you just automatically give up 20
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
Assassinate points. So, could be so good, but given the context, I don't know. Litanies of Faith, Liam.
Litanies of Faith. You can be the big chunk. I see what you did there.
Dang
I'm
it.
with you. Adeptus Sororitas model only at the end of your command phase. If the bearer is on the battlefield, you can reroll 1 miracle dice from your miracle dice pool and return it to your dice pool with the new result you rolled. When doing so, if the bearer has lost 1 or more wounds, the bearer has lost 1 or more wounds, or is leading a unit that is below half strength, you can reroll up to 3 miracle dice in this way instead.
This is chef's kiss, because even if you don't have the stupid second half that's hard to proc, just rerolling these dice, you don't have many of them, amazing. This is an auto take for me.
Yeah, I think having the ability to once per... hang on, when is it? At the end of your command phase. So every command phase, you get to reroll 5 miracle dice a game if your character stays alive.
Great.
That's worth it alone.
Yeah.
If you get to a point where you are able to reroll 3, you just get tons of mileage out of this one then.
So good.
It becomes really good. Absolutely.
Again, we need to figure out a way to wound our characters. Melody, let us know.
Yeah. Sisters suddenly move into this weird realm of self-harming.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like a whole, flagellation thing. Kind of
a little bit, yeah.
Mantle of Ophelia, Canoness or Palatine only. Each time an attack is allocated to the bearer, change the damage characteristic of that attack to 1.
Well, that's good.
That's good.
That one's good.
I like that one.
Yeah.
And you can see now why I'm extra sad about that stratagem. Imagine a Canoness that's like, no! I'll take the martyrdom, and she's really good at taking damage and tanking for a squad. That could be cool, fun, flavorful, and benefit them in having them take this damage. It would be so cool if that strat did that.
Because you could then pair it with this and go, cool, you've hit me with your 3 damage weapons. You've wounded me 4 times.
Yeah.
I'm taking just 4 damage.
It's
Which probably is bad for sisters. That probably kills them.
It'll actually
I'm
still
taking
kill
just 2 damage because,
Yeah, it's
like a... that one.
Let's not go overboard here.
Yeah, okay.
So...
I like that one a lot, actually.
Cool.
That's a very good enhancement on the whole. It's just adding a touch of durability into a unit or a model that isn't that durable.
Yeah.
It's not busted goods. If you put that on something like a shield captain Alaris Terminator armor, that becomes busted.
Correct.
After 7 stupid number of wounds. On a Palatine or a Canoness, not so busted.
You can get away with it.
I'm into it. I like it.
So these are weird enhancements. I think we're very torn about it. I think for me, if I'm looking at ones I'm taking every game, I'm definitely taking Litanies of Faith. I honestly probably would also take Saintly Example. It kind of depends on my build. But this is a justification to have a missile unit or missile character. And there are some in there where you're like, cool, I'm going to put this on a unit that's going to die. I'd rather they not die, but they're going to die, and just accept that this is, you're going to give away the assassination, but you're going to get your constellation prize and more miracle dice. So these are the, like, I think I take these in every list, and I probably fit one of these in points willing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that the blade is the one I'm least compelled to take right now, if I'm honest with you. I think that's probably the one, if I had to pick 3 out of the 4, which we're trying to do now because you can only take maximum 3 in your army, that's the one I'm probably normally putting on less. I would need to see some of the weapon profiles of a Canoness and a Palatine, etc. But I think the others just offer you more mileage, if I'm honest with you.
I agree.
The Litanies of Faith is quite good. Like I said, if you just get to reroll 5 a turn, depending on its points cost, it's 15, 20 points, worth it, totally worth it. The Saintly Example, not bad. There's just, like I've already said, right, I'm conscious, I've seen, Melody's put a few comments in chat already about this kind of stuff. I'm conscious of the fact that they almost, for me, have gone too hard into the narrative of sisters need to sacrifice themselves for shit to happen. So Bridget talks about this a little bit with Votan. Anything happens, the only time anything happens is when my stuff dies is a bad mechanic. Now, they did a better job with Miracle Dice, in my personal opinion, because you do get 10 anyway. So that you're just going to get Miracle Dice for being sisters and miracles happen. But so many of their abilities and stratagems are just flat better when things are dying. And I guess that kind of can offset the fact that things are dying because you then get stronger, so you don't feel the loss so much. But I often feel like, as well, there's a lot of stuff that, for me personally, there's a lot of stuff that seems to lead into your below starting strength. If you've played sisters in the past, with the exception of very few units, and I'm thinking maybe sacrosancts and stuff like that, they fall over if they are targeted by a reasonable amount of firepower. Not an obscene amount of firepower, a reasonable amount of firepower. So everything that's like, if you're below starting strength, I'm like, well, if my opponent's targeted this unit, it's probably dead.
Yeah, exactly. This is definitely the Martyred Lady's detachment. We'll get other detachments that do other things.
So to add a caveat, chat, right? We look at these stratagems, we look at these enhancements. When the Sisters book comes out, for me personally, you'll probably be able to forget them. Bloody Rose will come out, everyone will be playing Bloody Rose again.
Which makes me sad, but I think it's very fixable with new stuff. I think it is a bit of a miss. Like the old Martyred Lady detachment actually did see some play for a while. There was a moment where it was very interesting because of the durability of Sacrosancts. Frankly, because of some of the other tools that they gave that kind of benefited the narrative. At the time, they had a 1 CP strat to give a unit objective secured. Very, very powerful ability that kind of fed into the narrative of like, let's be honest, 9th edition, you put a unit on an objective, they're going to die. So it was following through with the narrative, but it was in a way that really helped you play the game. So it's a bit of a miss for that style of detachment, but there's more coming. I think there's play.
So I love the army rule.
Army rule's cool.
The army rule's really cool, and I'll be interested to see what they do with other detachments. But let's say, for sake of argument, before we look at the data sheets, which we're going to talk about in just a moment, let's say Bloody Rose comes out and its detachment rules, you get +1 to win on the charge.
It's good.
Do you ever use this detachment then? I don't think you do. I don't think you do. I mean, I'm spitballing a random rule that we've not seen before. But if they gave Bloody Rose Old Blood Angels +1 to win on the charge, for example, which I think could be narrative for Bloody Rose.
Frankly, I would take New Blood Angels. +1 strength, +1 attack.
Of course you would.
That would be
probably still better than this.
Definitely better than this, for sure.
Yeah, and then if you think about the narrative behind Bloody Rose and what they're probably going to do with enhancements and stratagems, lots more stuff to improve and increase your melee damage output. I just don't see you see this one. I don't see you using this one at all.
No, I'm hard pressed.
Part of that chat comes into the data sheets that exist currently within the Sisters book. Now, I don't feel like we need to see many of these, if any of these, really.
Correct. Yeah.
But how do we explain the data sheets for Sisters, Adrian and B?
There are a lot of slightly underwhelming units. They got a little bit screwed by unit size. A lot of them fit like box size. So for example, Battle Sisters are locked to squads of 10, or at least minimum squads of 10, which is generally not the way you want to play them. So that's a problem. It's a problem for some of the other units. And that, for me, that also influences a lot of the units that I think are interesting. So Seraphim have a move, shoot, move, and they come in squads of 5.
Seraphim are very good, I think.
They're awesome.
Yep.
Zephyrim did definitely take a hit, but despite that are still interesting because they can actually fight in melee, they have movement. Celestine makes me a little sad. She only has 5 attacks with her main profile. They are devastating wounds, which you kind of already had before. So that's cute.
I don't hate Celestine, but she's no longer the auto take she was before.
Right, yeah, exactly. And then, frankly, the the Sisters data sheets suffer from the same problem that I think the Orcs suffer from, which is that they look really good if you put a lot of support characters on, which either A, you can't, or B, that's a lot of assassinate points. There's a lot of interesting combos, so like Sacrosanct, I think one of the more interesting units. Funny enough, I think you can take Sacrosancts in units of 5, even though the box does come with 5.
Yeah, come with 5.
That's why. And they can benefit from a number of different abilities, right? If you have Junith, they're -1 to hit, and then they also get -1 to wound from themselves. But if you put an Image of Fire, they get +1 save. By the way, they're not a 2+ save anymore. Why?
Does it really hurt to put a 2+ save on a toughness 3?
No, it doesn't.
1 wound sister?
And that's my question, and I'd be curious to Sisters players, is how much is it worth investing? Like, okay, even if the Sacrosancts are now -1 to hit, -1 to wound, am I just putting all these points into a unit that's just going to die anyways? Toughness 3, -1 to wound? I don't know.
I think if it was me, I'm looking at MSU and Zephyrim and Seraphim because I think they're really, really good.
For sure.
I like Flagellants, Archo-Flagellants at the moment.
They're cute.
I'm not terribly against Penitent Engines and stuff because they get the dual Buzzsaws of Strength 10 with Twin Linked, which offers some kind of potential anti-tank there. I'm not against the Castigator. I like an Immolator or 2.
Cool.
I think the Immolators are slightly overpriced for what they are, but I think putting Retributors in them or using them to split up Battle Sisters is a strong mechanic, and I quite like that. I'm still taking Retributors and multi-melters at the moment, and if you saw the Guard list that I played on Tuesday, I max as many melters as I possibly can now, because they're only wounding on 5s,
you really
granted, but they're free.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, they don't cost any points, they're free, so you take as many of them as you possibly can. And when one does go through, when one does wound, at -4 d6 damage, it can be absolutely devastating. Not forgetting, of course, you can use Miracle Dice with them.
The Miracle Dice are so clutch. It's just so tough. Like, Retributors are 130, the Immolator's 130, so now we're paying 260 for kind of a missile.
It's a lot.
But I'm curious. I like Exorcists at 140. I would run 1 or 2. They have the big solid shots that are indirect, which, as we all discussed, is super strong. And funny enough, the Castigator coming up from the top rope, 150 points for basically a Predator with a good amount of guns.
So
I like Castigator, unfortunately.
I think they need to be dropped to 20 points to be a solid choice. 150, I think, is too much.
Now, is this only because Fire Prisms are 125?
Well, no, but if you let's look at that
Castigator.
But let's look at 125-point Fire Prism with Fly versus 150-point Castigator and what the weapons do. Which one wins that fight?
Oh, 100%. But I think the Fire Prism needs to go up to like 160, 170, 180.
And I would still then drop the Castigator by 10 points at least. Honestly.
10 points?
I think it's too much.
I could do best I can do is 130. The Immolator, I think, needs to drop down by 20 points or so.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I know it does a lot, James, but it's still a transport, only holds 5, and it's just a lot of points.
Hot take as well, my personal opinion, and I'm not sure how many people agree with me on this one, but I genuinely believe this. The Triumph is an auto take.
All right, let's talk about that.
So the Triumph has 6 abilities. Maybe this is the one that we do put up on the screen.
Yeah,
the Triumph has 6 abilities, and for me, 2 of them are so important to what Sisters want to do right now. Now, it suffers slightly from its movement, but you can stick it in a Battle Sister squad to give it another 10 ablative wounds.
Which is hilarious.
Which is quite tasty. And I'm hoping there's a way of subbing in another character that can give you some more protective buffs, or I don't know. But the Triumph is, for me personally, an auto take. And the reason being is these 6 abilities now, these 6 relics that the Triumph carries, okay? And there's 2 of them that are on the left-hand side that I think you can't get away with on this one. 2 on the left-hand side. Yeah, okay, go left a bit more if you can.
I'm trying.
Up. You broke it.
What's it floating away?
Click it. There you go.
I'm drowning.
Okay, good. Okay. So I think it's the Fiery Heart. If I remember right, it's the Fiery Heart, the Simulacarium. Okay, so while a friendly Sororitas unit is within 6 inches of the model, if that unit is destroyed, the Miracle Dice you gain as a result is automatically a 6.
That's pretty good.
So you stick this in the middle, you put your units with it. If they die, you get a flat 6 Miracle Dice. That's very, very good. Okay. Simulacarium, while a friendly Sisters units within 6 inches of this model, the unit can perform any number of acts of faith per phase instead of only 1.
Yeah.
Any number. You put Retributors near these now, suddenly they're a bit more compelling.
Exactly.
Okay? There's some other cool abilities that are also useful. So Sisters within 6 inches, add 1 to the attack character's rapid fire weapons, i.e. Battle Sisters that are guarding. It's okay, it's not great. It's first rank, second rank fire for guard, but for 1 unit only. Sisters within 6 inches have the Feel No Pain 6+ ability. Durability is a problem for them, so it is good, but it is only 6. And then this one is also one that I quite like. Sisters within 6 inches have lethal hits on melee weapons. Now this makes Sacrosancts more compelling, or things like Sacrosanct's more compelling, because you can do this with lethal hits.
Yeah.
And lethal hits with an army that lacks strength everywhere
Is essential.
is important.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
If we go down a little more to what units it can join, what's interesting is, you need to be on the right page.
God, I am.
Not on OBS, that one there. Yeah, good. It can only join battle. So this is where I wish it.
Sacrosancts, man. That would be so dope.
The narrative man on me is Sacrosancts with their shields and their pikes protecting the triumph.
It would be so cool.
That's what for me, if they'd have been allowed to join Sacrosanct unit, cool, perfect.
I would be on board for this as like an auto take at that point.
Yeah.
As it is,
what's the points of it? Do we know?
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to check. Let's see. Points. What's the point of it, Liam? That's what we're here
What's the point of it?
That's the point. Triumph, using this nice app.
It is a nice app.
Triumph 150. Okay. Look, we've seen crazier things.
It's maybe a little bit too expensive.
It's a little pricey. You really want to play around it if you're going to be taking it. Which makes me slightly nervous because, as we've seen, castles don't work.
Continue on your personal device.
Oh,
Thanks for
seriously,
that. Yeah.
Remembering as well, if you go back up to her abilities, it's just Adeptus Sororitas units.
Correct.
It's not locked to infantry. You can use it with castigators. You can use castigators Miracle Dice within range of this.
I like that.
She just makes other units sing, the Triumph does.
Yeah.
So it is 150 points, it's a big footprint. I still think this has to go in, for me personally.
Yeah.
Because you get so much out of it.
I wouldn't say you're definitely wrong.
I'm also probably castling everything around this turn 1. So if my opponent gets first turn and does flatten units, I'm just getting 6s. I'm just getting 6s.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
6s are great.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We're going to jump back into chat very quickly because a few things have happened since we last spoke to chat before we move on to the next faction. Thank you, faction. And hello, Bridger. You're a legend. I love you. Right. So we've only got the 4 to get through. Neil, thank you for the 10. Do you think with them going online there would be a chance for the Chaos Undivided? If not Codex, at least a supplement? No.
It doesn't feel likely. Like a truly Chaos Undivided
I
supplement?
don't think you get a Chaos Undivided supplement because that's just Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah. I think that's what they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Dark Packs is Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
So you can go Dark Packs now, and when it asks you to pick a god to devote to, you can just go Chaos Undivided for every single unit in your army. There you go. It's your Chaos Undivided.
Yeah, I agree.
So Neil, thank you for the 10. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to get a separate supplement that's specific for Chaos Undivided. I think that's just basically going to be most of the factions. Because the other thing is the specific god-based factions for everything bar Slanesh are just going to be in the World Eaters, the Thousand Suns, and the Death Guard books. You're just not going to get them in the Chaos Space Marine Codex. Chaos Space Marines is Chaos Undivided. But thank you so much for the donation, man, you're a hero. Steady Break, thank you for the 5. Narratively, what are the top 5 factions narratively? Chaos
Ooh.
Tyranids, Necrons, kinda. So far matching the narrative. Genes to the Cult, yes. Also Custodes, isn't that okay? So for me, Chaos Space Marines is a very narrative faction. Dark Packs is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
You spill blood, you get more powerful.
Totally.
I agree. Very strong.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
Narrative, yeah.
No, but isn't it just who's the most powerful in the lore?
It says, yeah, but I mean, no, he says the top 5, narratively, what are the top 5 factions? So which rules?
The most narrative.
So which rules match the faction narratively?
Okay.
So Chaos Space Marines are incredibly narrative, I think, for what they do.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Yeah.
They make sacrifices and they get better.
Yeah.
I think Gene Stiller Cult's obviously up there. The way that they have all the planning, but also one thing that they didn't completely capture before, but they capture now, is the unending tide of like this entire subterranean like society that's been living underground for many generations. So I put GSC up there.
Yeah. I don't disagree with Necrons necessarily. They're pretty narrative. They're incredibly durable.
Yeah.
They bring models back quite a lot. There's lots of ways of bringing models back.
I like that it feels like they have this ancient nobility.
Yeah.
Again, which before it was like, whatever.
And Gauss weaponry having lethal hits is almost back to original Necrons years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
Where if you rolled, I think it was a 6 against a vehicle, you did a penetrating hit or a glancing hit, whatever it was, back in the old days of like 7th and before.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that. I think they're quite narrative.
That's good. Dark Angels. For me, Dark Angels have always been like the perfect like Catholic guilt army. They love to get battle shocked. They love to feel like they're like they are the dark horse of the thing. So they're like, oh, we're getting battle shocked and now we're getting stronger. So I'm going to put that out there.
Okay.
I'm going to put it out there, Liam.
Okay.
Dark Angels.
I think it's
You don't like it.
maybe slightly better choices narratively.
Nah.
I actually love Thousand Suns narratively. We haven't covered the book yet.
Okay.
But narratively, I'm a big fan of Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
Kabbalistic rituals, giving them access to stronger abilities because they're manipulating the warp.
Yeah.
And then their current detachment rules allowing them to manipulate psychic weaponry to do certain things depending on their opponent.
Yeah,
I'm a
totally.
big fan of Thousand Suns from a narrative perspective at the moment.
Yep.
And they're quite strong as well, actually,
Yeah.
in general. I think the Sisters Miracle Dice system is incredible and very narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Eldar Fate Dice is narrative as just the army mechanic, but too strong right now.
Yeah.
The detachment rule kind of lets it down for me a little bit. What else have we got? Votan, grudge tokens on Votan is narrative, but it's just a bad mechanic for the game.
It's not narrative in the right way.
Yeah,
to be honest.
exactly.
Imperial Knights, I love. We talked about the fact that, in my opinion, the previous Knight book was actually just Codex middle management, where you
Yeah.
would have these a couple big knights being like, okay, now this is what you guys are all going to do, and it wasn't about this one-on-one squireship. And this is something that even when we were playtesting the books, that I think they kind of failed in doing, where the Chaos Knight book was supposed to be about these hounds, these hordes of dogs, and the Chaos Knights are like their handlers. They don't really care about them. But to be honest, the regular Knight book kind of felt like that, where it was like they're just managing and they don't care about these little
Yeah.
guys. But now with the Squire system, it's really like, this is my buddy. We're going to help each other. We're going to get through this like quest together. So I really like the Imperial Knights book for that.
Yeah, and I am a huge fan of Tyranids from a narrative perspective. Shadow in the Warp is perfect.
I like Shadow.
And Hyper Adaptions.
It's okay.
It's narrative.
Yeah.
Narratively.
I just don't feel like it's adaptive enough.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. You pick it, and it makes you good at one thing in their army. And the rest of your army actually can't adapt to the thing that they're supposed to be going
Yeah,
against.
okay, I'll give you that one.
So
Okay.
we can pull that one off, and I'll pull Dark Angels off. How about that?
I love pulling things off.
I'll rescind it.
Sunberry, thank you for the 5. Sadly, Retributors are locked to 5 models, supposedly.
No, what?
Superior and 4 heavy guns. They get 2 Amorium Cherubs who recycle Miracle Dice, not get extra shots. So they
Right.
can't take ablative wounds in Retributors anymore.
Yeah.
That makes me sad.
I guess that it makes me sad, but I get it. The box is 5.
Sad panda.
Oh.
Sad panda for that one. And thank you so much, Martin of the Easterman variety.
Ooh,
Thank you for
uh-oh.
the 10. Hey guys, not sure if you're near to Dark Angels yet, but please
Yeah.
look at how to make the most Dark Angels characters, the most of Dark Angels characters with the best Space Marine General or Dark Angels unit combinations.
Totally.
Also, I really want a non-competitive Knight Valiant Dark Angels list for giggles.
Ooh.
I mean, non-competitive
Knight
with a
Valiant.
Knight Valiant and Dark Angels. I'm not sure. I think you might be lying a little bit there, Mr. Eastman. I think that might not be entirely true.
Yeah.
Right?
This is maybe to play a casual game against Custodies.
But he says, Dark Angels are a bunch of nerds.
They
I
are.
love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, George, thank you so much for joining us as a Jarl tier.
Ooh.
Shadow is narratively cool and mechanically bad. Yeah. Narratively cool, I agree with you. Mechanically, maybe not the greatest, but narratively very cool.
I like it in both senses. It's the adaptation I feel awkward about. But
Next!
let's do it.
We're racing through, Adrian. We're racing
We
through.
are. Look at us.
Proud of us.
I know, right? So that was Sisters. Now it's time for the Misters. Just kidding. It's Chaos Knights.
So this shouldn't be a too long a book. Chaos Knights, we saw them on Tuesday. If you're interested into how Chaos Knights work, check out the game that we played, me and Bridger, on Tuesday on the Titans channel. It is locked to
Titans.
members. You will have to be a member of Tabletop Titans to watch that video. Any membership tier gets you access to the
Any
video?
membership tier,
Any tier. So
you'll
you
get
can-
access to our huge vault. A huge vault.
It is a huge vault, yeah. And we
Yes.
played Chaos Knights. It's the first time I've played against them in 10th edition. They were interesting.
I was, I think, very generous to Bridger because I was really excited to play Chaos Knights, and I said, you know what? I would love to have you and Liam on a members night, so you get to play them first.
Playing with big stompy robots looked like Bridger in his happy place.
Yeah,
He really enjoyed
He's
it.
been so excited for the Imperial Knights book. I said, you know what, you try this one too, and it'll be cool because we can get some insight. So definitely check out the game for some insight. Let's take a look. Chaos Knights. This is the army-wide ability, Harbingers of Dread, same name as before. If your army faction is Chaos Knights, each model from your army with this ability gains a bonus depending on which Dread abilities are active for your army. See below. Once a Dread ability is active for your army, that ability applies until the end of the battle. So this is a progressive table just like before. However, it's much shorter and you no longer have the branching talent tree, which was very fun but kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. So in battle round 1 onwards, you get Despair, which is an aura. While an enemy unit is within 12 inches of this model, each time that enemy unit takes a battle shock or a leadership test, subtract 1 from that test. This is excellent. It's much more excellent than before because an army with quote-unquote good leadership is sitting at 7 An army with great leadership is sitting at 6. So because of the sort of bell curve of leadership, if you are able to move that one notch to the left or right, you're actually getting a big chunk of percentage change.
100%.
So this is a great ability. I love it. Then from battle round 3 onwards, in the second half of the game, you are getting Doom and Darkness. Each time this model makes an attack, if the target is battle shocked, add 1 to the wound roll. Each time an attack targets this model, if the attacking model is battle shocked, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So you are killier against things that are battle shocked, and things that are battle shocked are less killy against you. I love the first one. This one I'm a little bit more torn about. There are lots of ways to make battle shock. Force your opponent to take battle shock tests. You can put them at minuses and stuff like that. But I always get nervous about people having to be battle shocked to get a benefit.
The hardest part about Battle Round 3 onwards essentially is tracking who's got what and where. Okay? Which is probably fun with Battle Shock anyway. GW, if you're watching, please make sure you release a bunch of tokens that show us different things, because there's suppressing fire all over the place now, there's Battle Shock all over the place now, there's tons and tons of things. Battle Shock is, the amount of times I've tried to play a stratagem on a Battle Shock unit, forgetting that I can't, is unbelievable, and I play this a lot. So people are going to struggle to track it. So remembering, and Bridget forgot this a few times, that a Battle Shock unit is -1 to hit against. I think we basically forgot Doom and Darkness for the whole game, right?
Would have been good against Guard.
It would have been good against Guard. So me being -1 to hit for my whole army, which is typically Ballistic Skill 4+, is fucking painful.
It's very scary.
And him getting +1 a wound, which he didn't need, but getting +1 a wound is painful. These are great abilities on the whole, and I like the fact that this just isn't just in place from the start if you fail Battle Shock.
Yeah.
You only get this from Battle Round 3 onwards.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, quite narrative. And I think if you, against certain armies, against Custodes, the first part of this isn't going to be a massive problem, and therefore the second half of this might not come into play so much.
Exactly.
Against an army like Guard, there's a ton of stuff you could, like, people like leadership in general. We're even talking Necrons without characters, a leadership 7 base.
Yeah.
Like, there's a hell of a lot of play in this, and it could really make your army sing.
Yeah. I think they have normalized leadership a bit more. You know, many armies are just sitting around 7, so that's good. Of course, we have the super heavy walker rule, which exists in the Nightbook as well. Each time a model with this ability makes a normal, advance, or fall back move, it can move over models that are not Titanic and terrain features that are 4 or less in height, as if they were not there. Cool, makes sense.
I love the addition to terrain in that piece.
I love that they're starting to talk about terrain and how it actually should be built. You know, we're building a bunch of terrain right now, so I'm asking all the questions. This rule, very simple. This is basically allowing you to take Chaos Knights as allies. If you're a Chaos faction, you can have 1 big knight or 3 small knights. It's cool. I think this is what a lot of factions are going to use, especially ones that are maybe a little bit poopy, like Death Guard.
Yeah, I feel like Death Guard are going to probably want to make use of Chaos Knights right now to give them some sort of play at tournaments at least.
Exactly.
Because I don't know if, I specifically don't know if Thousand Sons, in fact, Thousand Sons of Chaos Space Marines don't need these at all. I'm going to go as far as to say the World Eaters, I'm a World Eaters player, I could quite comfortably putting a long-range shooting knight in my army right now because I have none of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
The Death Guard definitely need these. Not forgetting, of course, you don't get that army rule or the detachment rule if you do this as a Dreadblade.
Correct.
Okay?
So you're just using it for stats.
So the Traitorous Lance detachment rule is forged in Terror, which is an aura ability in the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase. If an enemy unit that is below its starting strength is within 12 inches of Chaos Knights model from your army, the enemy unit must take a Battle Shock test. For the purpose of the ability, if the unit has a starting strength of 1, it's considered to be below half starting strength if that's 1 or more wounds. So this is quite synergistic with its main rule.
Now we're
Chaos
talking.
Knight players only have to take a single wound off of each model, and if they're within 12 inches, you're taking that Battle Shock at -1.
Yep.
That's a big deal, actually. This makes that first rule really sing.
Exactly. I think this is a detachment where I'm actually curious to see what the other detachments are, because I think it'll be hard not to take this one. Because you always have those army abilities, now you have this one, and they synergize so well. We've seen time and time again, Battle Shock in the Battle Shock phase is obviously good. It's good for your opponent to fail that, but it's not nearly as impactful as when it happens during a phase, or this is your opponent's command phase. But it's not during the Battle Shock step, so they can't auto-pass it.
In the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase.
Oh, it is. So they could auto-pass it. Still powerful, still good.
But they can only auto-pass 1. If you are
Correct,
attacking an army that is leadership 7, that you're now pushing to leadership 8 because of your first ability, and you're forcing multiple Battle Shock tests across the board,
So you just need injury.
trust me, from Tuesday's game, Guard failed a lot of battle shock tests.
No.
I could have auto-passed one. There's a couple of things. Auto-passing is super tidy and it's really good. And I did it on one occasion on one model simply because it got me primary points, so I had to do it.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? It means a couple of things. It means I'm only auto-passing one unit and the other units are then suffering the penalty of being battle shocked. But secondly, I'm spending CP. And we've said this so many times so far on this series.
Yep.
CP is valuable currency in 10th edition. So if you're forcing me to spend that CP to auto-pass, that's still good, because that's a CP I can't spend on something else.
Exactly. Definitely agree.
Talking to CPs, they have got their own stratagems.
Oh, they do have the strategeries. That's a cool piece of art.
Enhancements instead. They did this one the other way around. That's nice.
Look at that. I want this army.
That's sick, yeah.
What?
Who are these guys?
Oh my god. Wow. Confirmed? Did we just confirm it? All right, we are going to jump to stratagems, so we're keeping it consistent between all the armies. What is it? Chaos and Xenos have one way, and then Imperial has another?
Yeah, I have to say as well, by the way, I read these Chaos Knight rules as an army faction just after I bought a bunch of Imperial Knights and almost instantly regretted my decision and wanted to build Chaos Knights instead.
Because they're so cool!
Because I think that mechanic's fun, and I think it's interesting, and I like it.
I'm super excited.
Very narrative.
I'm going to be building up 2 Traitorous Tyrants.
Okay.
This is the Dreadhound strat. These all have a lot of words, so there's no one's getting out of it. 1 command point at the start of your shooting phase or the start of the fight phase. You can select 2 or more War Dog units from your army and 1 enemy unit. That's an eligible target for each of those selected War Dog units. Cool. So shooting or fight, 2 units. Until the end of the phase, the selected War Dog units can only target that enemy unit, but all weapons equipped by those War Dogs have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. In addition, if they're battle shocked until the end of the phase, and they get crits on 5s, which will, in this case, stack. So you're getting sustained hits on 5s. And if you have any other abilities like lethal or whatever, that'll also trigger on 5s. This is good. I like it. I like that it is already good on the baseline, a benefit for 2 units, 1 command point. And it's good if they're not battle shocked. If they are battle shocked, then it gets even better. This is a great strat.
Yeah, it's a really good strat.
Yeah.
I like it. I also like the fact that it has an interaction. I like a lot of the abilities that have interactions with the army rules, the detachment rules. I am a fan of those on the whole. This one's a nice one because it just requires, you want your opponent, if you're an Imperial, if a Chaos Knights player, you want your opponent to be battle shocked. This just gives you an extra benefit. But even if you're not battle shocked, 1 CP for sustained hits on 2 War Dogs is good.
It's pretty good.
So it's solid no matter what.
Yeah.
It just gets better if you're battle shocked. Okay?
Absolutely.
Then we've got this fucking abomination.
I'm so glad you're reading this one.
This, I gave you that first one on purpose because I wanted to rant about this fucking nonsense. Okay, I say nonsense. Bridger used this stratagem on Tuesday to touch me in my dark places. Terror Shades, okay, 1 CP in any phase just after an enemy unit fails a battle shock test.
Okay.
You target 1 Chaos Knights unit from your army that is within 12 inches of that enemy unit. And they're pretty quick, so that's not necessarily impossible. And if you're within 12 inches, don't forget, you're forcing me to take battle shock if I'm below starting strength. And I'm doing that at -1. All these things are now starting to stack into this nice, pretty package. Okay, roll 6d6, Adrian, and for each 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, and this model regains up to 1 lost wound.
Cool, I love it. It's strong, it's narrative. I don't know if anyone plays World of Warcraft here, because you're nerds, but I play Warlock and Life Siphon, where just like your life is my life. And it's so cool that this does this now. This was already a powerful strat before, where it's like, oh, you take a leadership test, and every point you fail by, you take mortal wounds, whatever. But this is cool because it also regenerates your very tough, hard to kill models that your opponent has worked so hard to kill. This is awesome.
I just about, spoilers if you haven't watched Tuesday's game, it is for 2 minutes. I just about kept my Shadow Sword alive with 1 wound remaining, and I didn't know this fucking thing existed. I then failed my battle shock test, and I had to spend my auto pass on an infantry model to score some primary points to do my. And I did that.
No.
So because I failed it, he kept warning me about these birds, right? Yeah, and he kept doing that noise as well. He kept warning me about these birds, and I didn't really know what they did.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's birds. I'm a super heavy guard tank. I don't care about birds. And then he read this out to me. I was like, what? And he rolled 66, did that mortal wound. The Shadow Sword died, and he gained wounds back. Because essentially the bird sat on top of the night, came and pecked me.
Yep. They're demon birds. It's demon bird poop.
Not impressed, chat. Not impressed.
I love it. I love these strats. Disdain for the weak.
Oh, do you know what? I've decided, Adrian. I'm just going to do 2 knight armies.
Yeah, we forced you, huh?
Yeah,
We forced
Chaos
you.
and Imperial.
So cool.
Okay.
1 CP, disdain for the weak. In the fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. Yes, fight phase. This is the part where we be sad that we're not Imperial Knights. Target 1 Chaos Knights unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of those attacking units' attacks. Till the end of the phase, your model has a 6-up Feel No Pain rule, and of course they get a 5-up Feel No Pain against attacks made by battle-shocked models.
And he says, it's your fault for discounting the birds. Yeah,
Exactly.
do you know what? I know you're sad because you've seen the Imperial equivalent, but I still think this is really good.
In a vacuum, it's good.
Yes.
Like, if you don't compare, which you never should because it'll make you sad if you're playing Chaos, it's a good ability. A 6-up Feel No Pain for 1 CP on a giant model, awesome. I'm a little sad that this one gets better with Battle Shock because, frankly, that unit already kind of sucks. They can't use strats.
The fight phase, I think, is maybe where the Imperial Knights one should have gone as well. Just because you get the invulnerable save against ranged attacks, you don't get the invulnerable save against fight. So giving you a bit more durability, a bit more protection in the fight phase is actually clutch. It's very important.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's a CP to get what Imperial Knights get kind of for free.
Exactly. On their whole army.
But what Imperial Knights don't get for free is get you the Battle Shock everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
There's other benefits there as well, right? So if you Battle Shock everywhere and you go and tie things up with Imperial Knight, with Chaos Knights, your opponent is going to think twice about falling back because of Desperate Breakout. So,
That's true.
Yeah,
no, I don't like. So I like this army. I think it's a strong army. Just don't compare because it's cool. A long leash.
A long leash. One abhorrent model from your army. Up to 3 War Dog models from your army. I think the Abhorrent is a Questoris class.
Correct.
Rightly.
Yeah.
Until the start of your next command phase, those War Dog models count as being within range of any aura abilities the Abhorrent model has. This is really good for 1 CP, Adrian.
It's good. I can't remember what auras they have that you would want.
I don't know what they are. I assume they're not terrible. But the idea that you don't have to be in aura range anymore to get a benefit from an aura is
good.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly. I like that.
So Adrian's going to look up the Abhorrent class models. In the meantime, I'm going to read Diabolic Bulwark. I'm not going to bore you with reading this one out, chat. It's Rotate Iron Shields. Okay, so you spend 1 CP, you get +1 to invulnerable save against range attacks. It's really, really good. Again, we saw Bridger use this on Tuesday. In the first shooting phase, I unloaded everything I had into him, and then I shot at him. And he spent this 1 CP, and he had a 4-up invulnerable save, and I had to kill him with a fucking Chimera.
Right.
Because he still had some wounds left. It's good. On knights who are already now more durable and more tough than they probably have ever been before, this is incredibly good for 1 CP.
Exactly.
You rotate Iron Shields.
I like it.
So you've looked at your Abhorrent classes?
I have, yeah. So if you're the Despoiler, aka Shooting Knight, you can get hit rolls of 1. So cute. If it's a Rampager, it's the same thing for melee. If you're the other one, it's really dumb. It gives you +1 to your Battle Shock rolls. In case you get scared. You're like, oh, I'm scared myself.
I'm worried in my giant suit of armor.
Like, what?
But reroll 1s on 3 units, no matter where they're on the battlefield.
It's good.
It's okay
It's
for
good.
a 1 CP.
It's good.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have Knights of Shade.
Oh,
this one.
they're throwing shade. Let's go. This one's awesome.
So these last 2 stratagems that we're talking about, Knights of Shade and Diabolic Bulwark, are basically what we're going to spend most of our CP on as Chaos Knight players.
Yeah, this is where we're seeing the benefit of basically getting rid of all the Knight households and rolling it all in, because this, of course, was one of the households before. 1 CP Knights of Shade in your movement phase or your charge phase. You can select up to 2 War Dog models from your army or 1 Titanic Chaos Knights model. Until the end of the phase, the selected model can move horizontally through models and terrain features as if they were not there. This is awesome. You're going to do this all day, every day. It is so crazy powerful, and it negates the biggest weakness of Knights. They can see everything, but they can't go everywhere. Well, guess what? Now they can.
This is so good. You can hide one of your big knights right tucked in, right behind a giant piece of terrain if you do have that kind of terrain on the table, without any concern about being stuck and having to move out and round and losing all your movement. Because you just basically, the way this is how it has to work in my mind, Adrian.
Yeah.
But I like to think he just bursts through the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I like to think.
Yeah.
Rather than, like Dark Phantom, some Chaos Knights can move through solid walls without hindrance.
Yeah, they're like ghosts.
No.
They're like, bloop.
I have a problem with that narratively. But it's a very good stratagem, right? We're going to see people use this loads because it's very important.
Yeah.
You can't move block a knight. Can't do it.
You can't.
Because that.
They'll walk over you or...
That means it can phase through another Imperial Knight.
Yeah.
But it can. You can't block it.
It's
Can't stop
awesome.
Okay, so they have some enhancements to some things. Now, enhancements for knights are arguably more important than enhancements for other armies.
Correct.
Not necessarily because they're strength or power, but because of how the new point system works. So there's going to be frequent occurrences, I reckon, with knight players where you're going to have 20, 30, 40, 50 to 100 points to spare because of how you've chosen to put together your knight army. And so with the Imperial Knights specifically, you're very lucky because you have access to things like Agents of the Imperium, you can ally in assassins, etc. Chaos don't quite have that kind of play because apparently, as we've discovered repeatedly over the last few weeks, GW hates Chaos.
True.
They just want it to be an Imperial versus Xenos game. Anyway, so we have some enhancements that Chaos Knights can
Yes, we do.
So let's pay attention to these because we're probably going to be using at least one, if not two or three, every single time. And we have the Lord of Dread.
The Lord of Dread.
Which is a Chaos Knight model only, of course, and at the start of your fight phase, you can select one enemy unit with an engagement range of the bearer. That enemy unit must take a battle shock test.
Snaps. I love it. This is amazing. I love it. It's fantastic.
Now, when we think about that stratagem for the Feel No Pain, this is where this enhancement becomes incredibly useful.
Exactly.
So you charge in Angron, potentially, the Chaos Knight, Lord of the Dread, you take a battle shock test, you're -1. Okay, Angron fails battle shock. Cool. I've got a 5-up Feel No Pain against everything you do to me in combat.
And it's great because you can use it offensively and defensively, right? You can go offensive and use those other strats where you're getting like the pluses to wound and stuff like that. It's cool. It's awesome. You can take people off objectives without having to kill them. This is a great ability.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, I'm almost like, how do you not include this? Oh God. Aura of Terror.
Oh my God.
Jesus. Chaos Knights model only if you control an objective. Oh, this is easy. This is basically sticky objective. But it also, I'm going to be very mature about this because we're on your channel, it taints the objective. And what that means is, it's better, what?
Well, why are you being mature on my channel? It's the wrong way around.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be mature because you're already gonna ruin it. So there you go. In addition, while an objective marker is tainted and under your control, and the Despair Dread ability is active from your army, that objective marker has the Despair Dread ability as if it was a Chaos Knights model from your army. So subtract 1 from battle shock tests and leadership tests taken for enemy units within 12 of it. Look, we will talk about Death Guard when we get to Death Guard. This is a cooler version of their infect an objective because it's 12 inches range and it's something that can actually be relevant from phase to phase due to abilities that we just talked about. So this is cool. I like it. Definitely in contention for an auto include.
Yeah.
All right.
It's good. I think even the first part of it alone makes it the auto take for me.
Yes.
Because you want to maximize all of your knights. You don't really want to have one forced at home standing there on an objective doing nothing.
Especially this version of the army, which feels like it is moving away from pure armigers.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Tell us about the panoply of the Cursed Knights.
Chaos Knight model only. Each time an attack is made against the bearer, subtract 1 from the armor penetration of that attack. Chaos Knights have armor of contempt.
Permanently.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Armor of contempt for a Chaos Knight without spending any CP. Auto take.
Tyrants have an armor save of 2+.
They do.
It's pretty good.
Tyrants of Armor of Contempt is very good.
Super spicy. I'm super into that. The last enhancement for Chaos Knights, notice they only have 4 compared to the Imperial versions. The Trader's Mark, Chaos Knights model only. The Doom and Darkness abilities active for the bearer from the first round onwards instead of from the third. Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
What? You don't like that?
I mean, it's okay. I feel like from the first battle round onwards, it's not really going to make a difference. You're really only gaining it from the second because the Doom and Despair requires you to be within 12. No, it doesn't actually, does it? It's
They have to be.
detachment within 12.
It's against battle shock units and it's for battle shock units.
But you take -1 leadership for battle shock within 12, right? Still?
No, you still have that part as well.
Okay.
I'm into it.
Okay, it's not terrible. I guess, yeah, okay.
It's the second turn, and it's also the bottom of the first turn if you're going second, right?
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm into it.
So what we're saying is all 4 of them are good.
They're all 4 good.
Yeah. Which one do you drop?
Oh God. The one that we just talked about.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you're right. I think that's what you're going to take.
Yeah, it's definitely the worst of the 3, but it is good.
With you. The Lord of Dread is amazing. Forcing a battle shock test, you want the army to be battle shocked as well. If something allows you to force a battle shock test, you should probably try and squeeze it into your list with Chaos Knights. You want to be forcing multiple battle shock tests multiple times because even if a faction has good leadership, of course, the more times you force them to take that test, the likelihood of them failing it just increases.
That's maths.
That's math. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Now, datasheet wise, we can go
So we had this chat a little bit with Bridger on Tuesday. Datasheet wise, they have the same weapons as their Imperial cousins. So in that regards, they're good weapons. The rapid fire battle cannon is amazing, apart from the fact that it lacks a little bit of AP. The thermal cannon is very, very good. We saw the laser destructor, which their Imperial cousins don't have, which is decent. We saw that the hand, which is good. I like the fact Chaos Knights are very, very different to Imperial Knights because they have 5 different versions of War Dogs as opposed to the 2 that the Imperial Knights get access to. Clearly, they don't get the named cousin, the named character that the Imperial Knights do.
Yeah.
But also, on the flip side, Chaos Knights only get the 1 type of knight that can take the weapons that the 5 types of Imperial Knights can take, but you do get access to the Desecrator and the Abominant. Abominant's a psychic knight. That's super interesting. With Volkite, which Bridger wasn't sold on, but I still love it. And then you have the Tyrants, which are the now 2-up armor save, big boys that can take things like Valiant weapons. The data sheets in just the weapon profiles and the toughness are solid because they're the same as Imperial Knights. On the whole, having access to a Psychic Knight with the Abominant who does 2 psychic abilities is very, very good. So that's also a positive. And then having access to the Desecrator, who is just a slightly different profile because he has that Laser Destroyer. I really like the Laser Destroyer, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The issue is the Bondsman abilities that Imperial Knights have access to are just flat better than the auras that we've just heard about from Chaos Knights. So their abilities on their data sheets are reroll 1s to hit aura for melee, reroll 1s to hit aura for range, or +1 to your leadership for battle shock. That last one, cool, who cares? The other 2, not bad.
Not bad, not bad.
But they're still auras.
Yeah, exactly. So because they're auras, they're going to be less strong. Obviously, they have to because they're going to go on multiple units. But frankly, that's not how this army plays.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how they want you to play is more dogs. Again, this is the theory behind the book. So it's a bit weird. One other thing to note is, although we still have 5 War Dog classes, we have less than we did before. Because before in the previous Chaos Knights book, you could customize them way too much, like more than you actually possibly could, or you should. So much so that actually one of the sheets was completely invalid because you had 2 identical sheets, one with the Terror Shades, the birds, and one without. And the only difference was one had bird, and the other one I think could take a melta gun on top. So you'd always take the bird one, it's just better, and you could basically make this type of knight using this profile. So I'm glad they fixed that, but what it does mean is you are locked to these certain archetypes, like the Brigand is now double shooty, no melee profile. And vice versa. But it's cute. The Stalkers are cool. They're going to get +1 AP when they're shooting against someone that's by themselves, so if they're not within 6 of another unit. They get spooked. They get scared. But it's cool. They're still strong. They're solid. Again, you're going to be sad if you compare them to the Imperial Knights equivalents, but it is a cool, fun, and I think good army that I'm very excited to play.
So Art of War places these quite lowly comparatively, and I get it when you compare them to their Imperial cousins.
Yep.
But I'm actually going to say something now that's controversial. We've told you all the way through this series so far. Go look at what they say. They're the experts. I disagree with them.
Oh, okay.
I actually think Chaos Knights are very, very, very good. Now, I wouldn't place them next to Imperial.
3 varies?
3 varies, yeah. I wouldn't place them next to Imperial. I wouldn't think that they're as good as them, but they aren't. I don't think they're as low as Art of War placed them. The battle shock mechanic, granted, is more situational depending on the faction that they're facing, so perhaps less impactful against Custodes and more impactful against something like Guard, but frankly that's the way it should be. So I don't have a problem with that from a narrative perspective. But what makes Imperial Knights solid isn't just their rules that they have that Chaos don't. It's also their base data sheets, which Chaos Knights have access to. It's also the fact that towering exists, which does still exist for Chaos Knights. I think they're a good faction. I like them. And I would rate them high B, maybe even low A.
Oh, whoa.
In terms of how strong. I think they're a good faction.
Oh, dang.
And having played against them, it was a ton of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was wildly frustrating at times, but for fun reasons. Like I wasn't feeling like I was just getting my pants pulled down and I was just full of feels bad. There's nothing I could do. It was just a hard fight against giant, tough, stompy robots that were also terrifying. So I loved them. I really like Chaos Knights, and it was very, very hard for me to pick between the two, between Chaos and Imperial.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Chaos Knights, and I think if you are thinking, the other things I love about Knights in general is I think they're a great entry point for players to come and play big games of 40k.
Exactly.
Lower model count, like a lot less rules to learn. I'm a big fan of Imperial Knights in general.
Cool. So fun. Not before, I'm going to run to the restroom.
Well, I'm going to have to say a big thank you to John
McCardle.
McCardle,
We know that guy.
who came in and gifted 1 member. No, I'm joking. He gifted 15 membership.
Thank you, John. Let's get some. I was gonna say emperors. What do you have?
Do you know the worst thing? No.
Poos? Can we get some poo emojis for John?
Poos in chat, yeah.
Poos in chat.
The worst thing is he fucking apologised
What?
for not being present.
Oh my God. How
And
dare
Bridger
you.
told him that he didn't need to apologise. You're wrong, Bridger. He did need to apologise. 'Cause he messaged me on Discord and said, "Oh, I can't wait for you to go out there because I've been waiting to hang out," and then he hasn't hung out all week. So,
Wow.
you know, honestly.
What's up, John? Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate.
But thank you so much for the 50, John. You're amazing. I'm going to jump into the super chattons once you're
gonna let
off
you-
to the bathroom.
You're gonna
I think
banter.
I'll grab George for a thank you for becoming a Jarl tier.
George.
I don't care if you take the batteries out and turn it on mute. No, I'm joking. You probably should do that. Okay. Thank you so much, Connor, for the 5. Our Chaos Vindicator is overcosted at 210 points per model. Should I just run 2 instead of Las Havocs or Annihilators? Also, can CSM not take HKMs anymore? Hunter Killer Missiles? I don't know. I don't think they can, actually, which is a problem because they're all free now and everyone loves the Imperial Knights version. Where have I put my phone, chat? This is a problem. I can't look for the data sheet with my phone on me. Here it is. I got it. We're there. We found it. So let's have a look at this Vindicator. I haven't actually spent much time paying any attention to the Vindicator right now for Chaos Space Marine, for anything actually for that matter. But we can find out the Vindicator right now. I love the search feature on this, by the way. It's very, very good. Chaos Vindicator. So its range weapons is the Demolisher Cannon. D6 plus 3 blast. Just hitting on 3, strength 14, minus 3, D6 damage. It's solid. I don't like D6 because it's too swingy on the whole, but in this edition I feel like it's going to be important. Its Siege Shield means that when making range attacks with Demolisher Cannon, this model can target enemies within engagement range of it. In addition, when making range attacks, this model does not suffer the penalty for hit rolls for being within engagement range. So it is essentially a Liam Rust Demolisher, which for me personally was one of the best. It's one of the best tanks in the guard book because of that rule, because it can fire its blast weapon in combat and it doesn't suffer the minus for firing whilst it's in engagement range. Solid. 210 points is a lot though. It's got a 2-up save now, 11 wounds, toughness 11, so it's pretty tanky too. Okay, these aren't bad. Yeah, these aren't bad at all. They don't get Hunter Killer Missiles, but they do get Havoc launchers instead. I don't know how good the Havoc launcher is actually. Let's have a quick look at that just in case the Havoc launcher is absolute pants. So D6, strength 5, 1 damage, blast shot, 6 on 3. So the Havoc launcher is in fact terrible. I'd rather have Hunter Killer Missiles for 1 shot per game. But there you go. They're not terrible. I think they're quite good. I'm a fan of Last Cannon Havocs right now. I think 4 Last Cannon shots in a Havoc squad with D6 plus 1 damage at strength 12 is probably better overall than the Vindicator. But the Vindicator, toughness 11, 11 wounds, and a 2-up save is actually a solid, compelling choice. That's not too bad at all. I like them. I probably would agree with you that I think 210 points is probably too much, if I'm honest with you, for a Vindicator. 180? I feel like it's okay. I go back to the same thing, and I know the big problem here is how undercosted one unit is compared to the rest, rather than the actual points of everything else. But if you're charging 125 points for a Fire Prism, 210 points for a Vindicator is maybe too much. I'll be interested to see what Adrian thinks in just a moment. He's just come back to get his mic on. And we're talking about Chaos Vindicators, Adrian, basically. Come on, hurry up. I need your thoughts on this one quickly. Is it all you did was just the batteries, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Mic check. Hey, oh.
Yeah, good. We win? So he wants to know whether a Vindicator is worth it at 210 points when he could instead take Havocs and stuff like that. I've just had a look at it. D6 plus 3 blast, strength 14, AP minus 3, D6 damage. Can fire in combat. Doesn't suffer the minus for firing in combat as long as no other units are in combat with it. And is a 2-up save now at toughness 11 with 11 wounds.
Yeah.
But is 210 points. What do you think?
I don't love it. We were talking about the Imperial one the other day because someone was asking. 210 points is too much. Well, I'll say this though. It's too much compared to what most tanks like that cost. So that's maybe a position of privilege where it's like, cool, that is too much, but is it the best of the options that we have, right? You can do packs with this thing, so you can give it sustained hits and all that stuff. So that's cute. Between that and Havocs are going to run you like 130, maybe.
I don't know actually.
It's more durable. Isn't it only 24-inch range?
Yeah, because it's Demolisher Cannon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Demolisher Cannon. It's like, I'm really torn on that actually.
Yeah, It's not bad, but like I said,
it's close to bad.
And I know No, I don't think it's that bad because I think the Demolisher Liam and Russ is one of the better, more compelling choices of Liam and Russ. And the reasons why I think that is because it can fire in combat, doesn't have the minus.
But doesn't it also have like 3 heavy bolters?
It does also have 3 heavy bolters, yeah. With the Vindicator, it doesn't have that.
This is the only. It's one gun for 200 points.
Yeah. And the Liam and Russ is only like 15 points more, has more wounds because it's 13 wounds instead of 11 wounds.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, it just feels.
I think it needs a slight points drop.
It does.
20, 30 points off is probably more compelling. 180 points, I think they're worth it.
180, I would do it for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you anyway for the 5, you're a hero. Mark, thank you for the 5. Build Imperial Knights and spray them silly string when you want to play Chaos Knights. Great idea. I'm in.
Perfect.
I use that $5 to buy silly string, and we're going to do that.
Yes.
Eddie, thank you for the 5. Hi all, I'm looking to start a Yandan Wraith army. Is the combat patrol a good place to start? This is a hard one to answer. Right?
Yeah.
I'll explain. Hang on a minute.
Do tell. Hang on.
I got a message from John that says, "There you go, you fucker," as he dropped another 50 gifted members.
Oh my God, John. Hey, guess what? We hit 100 members.
You weren't here all fucking week, John, right? So because you weren't here all week, I said at the start of the stream, because memberships have been a bit lower this week in general, for one stream only, I'll turn on the £100 gifted voucher, because I was pretty comfortable we probably wouldn't get there, because we haven't all week, and you've not been here. So you say, there you go, you fucker, but you've just cost me 100 quid, you bastards. But thank you, John. You're a legend. John's a hero of all of the communities out there. And he gets super uncomfortable when I call him out for being amazing and tell him that we love him and that he's incredible. And
he hates it.
And I keep talking about his name and saying thank you, and he's like, no, shush.
John. How handsome he is.
And how
good he smells.
Yeah. I could just listen to his voice all night as I go to sleep. But he doesn't like it. He doesn't like when we do that. But, tough. But thank you, John. You're a hero. I love you dearly. I don't know what else to say apart from that.
Sounds great.
So the combat patrol box for Eldar is a great combat patrol box, to be clear.
What's the current one?
The current combat patrol box, you have a Wraith Lords,
right?
6 Wind Riders, 10 Guardians, and a Farseer.
That's a pretty sweet box.
It's a great box.
Yeah.
If you're going a Yandan, however, do you want the bikes and do you want the Guardians?
You want the old box.
Yeah, you do want the old box. You want the old...
Start collecting.
Start collecting box.
Yeah.
So, short answer, it's a great box, perhaps not great for a Yandan, because the Yandan you want Wraith Guard, you want Wraith Blades, you want Hemlock Wraith Fighter, you want Wraith Lords. That's not to say that a Yandan don't use Wind Riders and the Yandan don't use Guardians, because narratively they do use both.
Yeah.
And actually, Guardians, I think, because of the Fate Dice mechanic, is definitely something you want at least one unit of, which that box has. A Farseer on foot, well, a Yandan does make use of lots of Seers to guide all of the Wraith constructs that march to war, so you do want the Farseer. And 2 units of Wind Riders isn't bad. It isn't bad. Wind Riders are just great. They're fast, they're maneuverable. So I don't think it's a terrible box for your Elder army. It depends on how hard you want to lean into Wraiths. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense. Anyway, thank you so much for the 5, you're a legend. Carl, thank you for the 2. Adrian, sort Liam out. Sort out Liam some emojis he's lacking. Basically, people keep going in there now and doing, like, what's it called? Semicolon.
ASCII?
Emperor. I'm like, I don't have that. I don't have those emojis.
Yeah, we'll get them sorted.
My emoji game is shit compared to Titans.
Yeah, man.
Quite frankly.
We go hard.
Yeah, I need to do better emojis. Maybe you can help me with that.
Totally.
Dalton, thank you for the 5. Should I go to the Alpine GT next week with unnerfed Aldari or go for underdog Votan Hearthguard spam? Also, greetings from the battering rams.
Hey.
It depends. How much do you care about having friends?
Yeah.
If you go Votan, you're probably going to have quite a hard time in the current game.
For sure.
Because it's Votan, right? And they're not in the greatest place. You're probably going to lose more than you win, I would guess, overall. And but you're probably going to learn the game really well. You're going to have to play hard. If you go Eldar, I want to be clear about this as well with Eldar, because we made these comments yesterday and we got a little bit of feedback where people were, they don't need nerfing. Eldar in the hands of an average, and you know how good a player you are, right? So this isn't on me, this is on you. Eldar in the hands of a poor to average player will still do okay, because they have some great tools and they kick out some pretty good damage, but they still have, they still have the same fragility they had before, and so in the hands of an average player, they could potentially crumble to certain other armies. In the hands of an incredible player, and Dothar, I don't know who you are, you could be number 3 in the ITC last year, for all I know. In the hands of an incredible player, they will probably just win everything right now.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're an average to medium player, or you consider yourself a poor to average player, you are going to rock up with Eldar, and people are going to huff and puff, and they're going to probably say very nasty things about you behind your back because you've bought Eldar, and the internet is melting about how they're OP broken. My point is they're OP broken in the hands of a hyper-competitive player.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, you're also going to go up against other Eldari that are equally broken. So, and that in and of itself could be an interaction that you're okay with or not okay with, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to decide for yourself
that's kind of on you.
what you're okay with.
So let me know. Let us know what you do. And whatever you do,
Curious.
next time when you've been to the event, come back and tell us how you got on with whichever army it is, because we have gone Rotan bottom, Eldar top. So if you take either of them and you go top or bottom with the other ones, let me know.
Well,
Let me know what you think. But I'm super interested. Right, what's the next faction?
Oh.
I have to load up Nightbot, by the way, because I've got to do this fucking giveaway now.
Thanks, John.
Okay, so how this giveaway works. We used to do this all the time, and then I got made poor very quickly, so I had to turn it off, and everybody understood. But sometimes I turn this back on if I need to try and give membership numbers a boost.
Totally.
How does this work? Open the YouTube app on Liam's iPad. What do I need to do that? I'm in the YouTube. Oh, hang on. Yes, it's me. Oh, look at this. This is magic.
Magic.
Okay, cool. So how this works is there'll be a point in time. Probably start this in the next. How many people got watching? 600 people watching. I'll probably start this in the next 5 minutes. Okay. There'll be a point in time where I'll start the giveaway. I've got to build it on this app first, right?
Yeah.
What will then happen is when I give you the yes, the giveaway started, all you're going to have to do after I say yes, the giveaway started, is just put a comment in chat.
Cool.
And if you are a member of the channel, it will automatically enter you into the giveaway if you put a comment in chat. After those 15 minutes have passed, so pretty much half past the hour, I will then press roll it, and it will pick one of you members who has made a comment in chat to win the voucher. Then you just DM me on Discord. I find out what country you're in. I log into Games Workshop of that country. I buy the voucher. I send it to your email directly.
That's awesome.
And you have what is the equivalent to a £100 voucher. So US, it's like 120, 130 bucks, for example. But you get the equivalent in your home currency, so you can just log in the GW and use it yourself. If you're in the UK, you can ask me instead for an Element Games voucher for £100, and I'll have to do that when I get home. But that means that you can use it on the Element website, which is typically 10 to 15% off. So it goes even further. Okay. Cool.
So you have to be a member to win.
You have to be a member to win. That's the rules.
That's the rules. You didn't make them, but you did make them.
I did make them.
Awesome. Exciting stuff. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We have the next army, and it is the nerds. Thousand Suns. It's going to be awesome. Look at all these people in chat.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Look at all these people becoming members now because they want to
Good.
be part of this giveaway.
You should.
They didn't care before, but now they can get something. They're in.
You should do it.
We have some eligible users coming in.
Come on, Melody needs some firstborn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've just seen your name already entered the giveaway, Melody. You're there, right?
Yes.
We have some people. It started from Doom Bunny, and now people are coming in. Right, cool. Okay,
Awesome.
beautiful. Right,
Welcome.
Thousand Suns.
The Cabal of the Sorcerers. Liam, that's a lot of words.
I'm not going to bore you with the detail here. This is an army that I bought in 9th edition,
Yeah.
and I didn't play because I hated the psychic phase. And then I wanted to bring these out. So I got invited, I was very, very lucky. I got invited by GW to Warhammer Fest to play 10th edition behind the scenes against one of the design studio. And they said, what army are you going to bring? You're going to bring your Eldar, you're going to bring the World Eaters? And I said, no, I'm going to bring my Thousand Suns. And GW said, you don't normally play Thousand Suns because I do, in fact, watch the content. I was like, I know, because the rules are fucking stupid in the previous edition. So if I can bring Thousand Suns to one night and actually play them, based on you telling me that this is simplified, not simple, with these new data cards, you have achieved your goal. And I took Thousand Suns. And for me personally, they achieved their goal. Did I make it hyper-optimized? Did I do every trick it could do in the combinations that it could do it? Absolutely not. And I missed the things that Art of War say make it A tier. But I had fun with the army. So they get a Cabal of Sorcerers, Kabbalistic Ritual kind of ability, right? So you basically generate Cabal points at the end of your command phase. That's important. End of your command phase, right? And I'll explain why that's important in just a moment. At the end of your Cabal phase, you generate Kabbalistic Ritual points. And you generate points depending on how many types of Psykers you have on the table. So if it's an Aspiring Sorcerer inside a unit of Terminators or a unit of Rubric Marines, you generate 1. If it's a normal Sorcerer, you generate 2. If it's Arrow Man, you generate 3. If it's Magnus, you generate 4. You add them all together, you have a total.
Cool.
I typically end up with 14 to 16 Cabal points if my whole army is alive and on the tabletop. Important to note, you only generate them if they're on the tabletop. So if you hold Terminators and Deep Strike Reserve, you're not generating points. You can then spend those Cabal points on the things listed below, and you can spend them in whichever phase it says that you can spend them in. Then at the start of your next command phase, it resets back to 0. You do your command phase, you do your scoring, you then generate points again. So there is a specific Kabbalistic ritual that if we scroll down, we'll say in any phase. Where is it? There it goes. Up, top right.
There's one here.
Above Doom Bolt, above Doom Bolt.
I'm going. Oh, no, we're on OBS.
Above Doom Bolt.
It's there.
Yeah. Echoes from the Warp, right? This is the one that's important for when you generate and when you discard Kabbalistic rituals. Use this ritual at the start of any phase. Once this phase, you can select the Psychic unit for a target of a stratagem for 0 CP, even if you already used that stratagem in this phase. Now, I don't know how this works with the command phase, because it says at the start of command phase you discarded Cabal points.
Yeah.
So do you spend this, then discard, or do you discard, then you can't spend this? So this is the only time you might not be using the Cabal phase. Anyway, here's the 5 rituals you can use. So for 2 Cabal points, you get to reroll a saving throw for the Psyker. For 5 Cabal points, you get to move the unit again in your shooting phase. For 6, you can use a stratagem for 0 CP. For 7, you can do Doom Bolt, which does mortal wounds to your enemy. And for 9, you just flat remove their armor save.
It's pretty good.
And these will all tell you that they are in range of a Psyker unit from your army, then you can do this thing.
Beautiful.
Okay? Amazing ability. I love it. It's cool. It's narrative. As your Psykers die, you have less power from the warp, and you can do less of these. It's a cool army ability.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's accurate. I
Yeah.
like it. Excellent. And then the rerolling one failed save is actually an aura, so it's cute.
Yeah, it is. Kindred Sorcery is our detachment rule that we get for Thousand Suns. This one is something that I kept getting wrong, and it's still good. It's just less good than I thought it was.
Oh, okay.
So basically, at the start of your command phase, or in your command phase, you pick one of the 3 below. You basically get lethal hits, sustained hits, or devastating wounds,
Nice.
but they only apply to psychic weapons.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now there is some cool synergy that you can do with this with stratagems, which we'll go into in just a moment. But these just apply to psychic weapons. For example, Infernal Bolt Guns, which are on your Rubric Marines, are not psychic weapons. The Mutileth Vortex Beast doesn't have any psychic weapons. Okay, Magnus, everything's psychic weapons, but typically you're going to look at the melee weapons or some of the psychic abilities that your Sparring Sorcerers, Exalted Sorcerers have access to, and then these apply to those models only. What I love about this is it makes your Sorcerers really powerful and super killy and really important, and then your Rubric Marines, your suits full of dust, are just kind of there as ablative wounds and bodyguards with some good bolt guns. They're not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's the Sorcerers that shine in this army, which is exactly what you should want from Thousand Suns.
Exactly. Fantastic. That was a great job.
I love it.
Wow.
I love this army rule, and I love the detachment
It's
rule.
really cool. Let's take a look at the stratagems. We've got, first off, Psychic Dominion. It's a 1 CP strat. You can use this in any phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. You pick 1,000 Suns unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of the attacking unit's attacks. What does it do? Well, until the end of the phase, all attacks made against your unit with the psychic weapons have the hazardous ability, and all models in your unit have the Feel No Pain 4+ against psychic attacks. It's very interesting. There are some units like librarians that give a Feel No Pain against psychic attacks, but it's tough because you're paying for a unit that gives an ability. You're paying for an ability that it's not always relevant. This being on demand is pretty spicy. I like it. The hazardous thing is cute, but not the big reason. The big thing is the Feel No Pain 4+ against psychic attacks. Now remember, as we just looked, psychic is just a keyword that you can have on weapons. So it's not necessarily a protection against mortal wounds. It's any of these weapons that have that keyword, you're getting a 4+ against.
Yeah, this is situationally more important depending on your opponent. So against Votan, this basically doesn't really make a difference. They've got one little Psyker. Against Necrons, this doesn't matter at all. Grey Knights charge you with Nemesis Force weapons. This is then a big deal.
It's so strong against them. You have a Feel No Pain against basically their entire army.
Really, really good.
Oh, it's good.
So I like it. Devastating Sorcery. This is incredibly powerful because you can stack this with something else. Okay, in your shooting phase, you select a 1,000 Suns Psychic unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack with a psychic weapon, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll.
Oh, that's really good.
It's real good.
That's really good.
So we're going to start to build a combination now, which is how I prove that Thousand Suns players are going to lose lots of friends in 10th edition. So we've already looked at that detachment ability. You can pick lethal hits, sustained hits, or devastating wounds. I'm going to pick devastating wounds, Adrian.
Naturally, of course.
Pick devastating
Always,
wounds, okay? Then I'm going to use 1 CP for devastating sorcery, so I can reroll hits and wound rolls with psychic weapons, because I want to fish for those devastating wounds.
Amazing.
Now immediately, what I can also do is I could just put this on Magnus's ranged weapons anyway.
Yeah.
That's already good. We'll look at him in just a moment. But let's keep reading the stratagems, because there might be something else that stacks with this quite nicely.
Ooh, should we talk about ensorcelled infusion?
We should, yes. So you pick okay, and here's the one I'm stacking it with, right?
So
now
good.
let's just take, for example, a unit of 10 Scarab Occult Terminators with Storm Bolters,
Yeah.
and I'm going to put this CP. It's going to cost me 2 CP,
Perfect.
and it's going to cost me my Devastating Wounds ability that I have on my detachment ability, okay? And I select this in my shooting phase. I select a Psycho unit from my army that has not been selected to shoot yet this phase, and I use this effect until the end of the phase. All Infernal Bolt Pistols, Infernal Bolt Guns, Inferno Combi Bolters, and Inferno Combi Weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Psychic ability and a strength characteristic of 5.
Oh,
so
wow.
my combi bolters, sorry, not storm bolters, that all of my Scarab Occult Terminators do in rapid fire range that are 4 shots each, are now strength 5. They're psychic weapons. I can reroll all hits, I can reroll all wounds, and I've got devastating wounds with no cap on the number of mortal wounds that I can do.
Amazing.
So I pick up all of my dice and roll them to wound. I pick up everything that's not a 6 and roll them again.
Yep, exactly.
Mad.
Everything, and I love the extra strength because it means that you're not purely looking for the 6s. It means even if you're rolling regular wounds, it's still going to make them more effective, which is nice. Because sometimes you do fall into a trap of like, if it's not a 6, I don't care. But this is still going to be quite effective. They lost some AP with their bolters, but it is still decent AP. So it's just a, no pun intended, a devastating combination.
Yeah, and here's another way that this could in fact be compelling as well. If you don't want the feels bad of it just being mortal wounds, you could, for example, pick sustained hits, which means that your combi bolters are now exploding on 6s. Whilst you reroll to hit fishing for those 6s, you end up with and I've done this trick now, you end up with an obscene number of hits, and then what you do is you spend your 9 Cabal points to point at that Land Raider and say, guess what? You've got no armor save. So it doesn't matter about mortal wounds, because I'm going straight through your armor anyway.
So good!
It's so good.
I love it.
This ability, combined with the detachment ability, basically means that Storm Bolters on a 10-man Breaker Terminators can rip through almost anything in the game for 2 CP.
100%.
Amazing.
So good.
So good.
Destined by Fate, this is 1 CP strat. It's a utility strat. You can use it in any phase when a saving throw is failed for a 1,000 Sun Psyker model from your army. You target that Psyker model and you change the damage characteristic of that attack to a 0. Now, it's very niche, but it is still strong because, as we'll see, Magnus is awesome. He's very powerful. He's finally, I think, going to make it into most, if not all, lists probably. So the time that you get that crazy big damage through, you just zero it out.
Yeah, there's some weapons in the game. If we look at the Shadow Sword, you know, if I don't manage to hit you with devastating wounds and I fail my saving throw and I can then spend 1 CP to make your 12 damage go to 0, that's a big deal.
Yep.
So this is a good stratagem for 1 CP, but it is situational. You are correct.
Yep.
Importantly, if we look at this interaction as well, doesn't work against devastating wounds necessarily.
Right.
I think we need GW to clarify this, because devastating wounds is just doing your damage as mortal wounds, but devastating wounds also removes the take armor saving throw step.
So that's the problem. So you can reduce damage of a weapon down to 0 and hence do 0 mortal wounds, but this one specifically you have to fail a saving throw. And I don't think you actually take the saving throw, but we could use some clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next up, let's take a look. We have a frozen thing.
That's because you're on the OBS again, are you?
No, it's just lagging.
Oh, it's just lagging. Sorcerous Might,
Sorcerous
1 CP. Your shooting phase, you target a Psychic unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, add 9 inches to the range of Psychic weapons equipped by your unit. I mean, we can start stacking even more CP on top of if we've got access to them.
And of course, are they rapid fire still?
Yeah, combi bolts rapid fire.
Cool. So you're extending your rapid fire range by an additional 4.5 inches.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just a utility. This army has always suffered from being a 24-inch range army.
Yep.
And so being able to threaten your opponent in range, and we'll talk about enhancements and what that means for some mobility that you might have, but being able to threaten them beyond 24 is essential, because otherwise that's still one of the main ways you would be able to fight this army, is hang just outside range until it's too late for them.
There's a couple of other little benefits you can get from this. They are limited, they are little, so you might not think they're worth the 1 CP, but Magnus has got tons of range psychic weapons. But even if you put this on a sorcerer in a unit who has a warp smite, which is anti-infantry 2+ devastating wounds with 2 shots, that's an 18-inch ability that now can be a 27-inch ability. It's cool. It's cool for 1 CP.
Amazing.
2 CP for Warp Sight, however. In your shooting phase, a 1,000 Sun Psychic unit from your army and 1 enemy unit that is visible to that unit until the end of the phase. Each time a friendly 1,000 Sun Psyker model makes an attack with a psychic weapon that targets that enemy unit, it gains the Ignores Cover and Indirect ability. Those Terminators that you've just made psychic weapons for 1 CP can also fire out of line of sight and ignore cover.
The Psyker needs to see the unit.
So the psychic. So I have a unit of rubrics in the open. I look at a unit across the tabletop from me. I spend 1 CP. Guess what? My Terminators in the ruin can now shoot out of line of sight.
Oh, it's just A friendly.
Each time a friendly 1,000 psychic model.
Your whole army has indirect no cover.
Yeah. You use 1 CP to make one of your psychics a spotter. Every other psychic weapon can fire out line of sight.
That's so cool.
It's really good.
Oh my god.
6 solid strats.
All solid. All very shooting based, as you can see. This is a absolutely devastating shooting army. Oh man. Now I want to play Thousand Suns.
Right, chat, I'm starting the giveaway in 6 minutes at 1/2 the hour. I was supposed to start it at 1/4. I missed it. At 1/2 the hour, I'm going to start the giveaway timer, which means at 1/4 the hour, I'm going to draw the giveaway timer.
Sounds fantastic.
Okay? Cool, so enhancements. We've got the Lord of Forbidden Law, Adrian. So a psycho model only from your army. The bearer can be selected to use a ritual, even if another psycho from your army has already been selected to use that ritual this phase.
Excuse me? Wait a minute. Oh yeah, did you talk about Doombolt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doombolt's mad good.
Let's talk about Doombolt.
Tons of mortal wounds.
Yep.
7 Cabal points. If you roll a 1, it's D3 mortal wounds. If you roll a 2 to a 4, I think it is, it's D3 mortal wounds or something like that. And if you roll more, it's D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. It gets spicy very, very quickly.
Does not, you need line of sight, but it does not, like, it gets around lone operative, it gets around pretty much all of the targeting requirements that we normally have, because it is not a shooting attack. So, double Doombolt here, pretty spicy.
When we say not a shooting attack, I will add a caveat. There is a ton of argument on social media and in places like Reddit about whether it is or not a shooting attack.
Ooh.
And some people vote yes and some people vote no. Some TOs say they'll treat it as a ranged attack so it doesn't get around lone operative.
Yeah.
Some people say it does get around lone operative. For me personally, rules as written right now, it does get around lone operative, which is what makes it insane.
Yeah.
I'd expect a clarification from GW at some point.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. On the right here, we have the classic Umbrellific Crystal, formerly the Dark Crystal, formerly something else. Anyways, Thousand Suns model only. Once per battle, in your command phase, you can remove the bearer's unit from the battlefield. If you do, in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, set that unit back up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away horizontally from all enemy models.
Uppy downy.
Uppy downy. This is in the same turn, so it's a little bit. It's only ever so slightly less flexible, but you are picking them up and immediately basically putting them down.
Still good. Uppy downy, still good.
It's great. And again, this is a relatively slow army. And so being able to have this threat throughout the entire game is very strong. You could pop in 9 away, you could extend your range by 6 or 9 inches.
Yeah.
This is great. I feel like you're going to take this every single time.
Yeah, I agree with you. We then have Arcane Vortex, 1,000 Suns model only. Add 1 to the strength and damage characteristics of weapons, psychic weapons equipped by the bearer.
That's cool. Well, come on now. If this bearer, as if I was like, oh no, if the whole unit doesn't get +1 damage, I don't want it.
+1 strength and damage, it's okay.
So what's this guy that does mortals on 2 pluses?
That's the aspiring sorcerer inside the unit of rubrics. It's not a character, so you can't give it this enhancement.
Oh, okay.
We'd have to
the
look
characters
at what
don't have that.
sorcerers can do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look on my phone right now because the giveaway sat there right now.
It's like they're trying to be reasonable or something.
Yeah, God damn them.
That's fair. That's fair.
So, I mean, it's okay. I need to look at what they can do. It doesn't seem bad, but then you have the Athenian Scrolls, a model in your army, in your command phase. If the bearer's on the battlefield and is not battle shocked, it generates you 1 additional Cabal point this phase. Yeah. 1 additional could be clutch.
It's cute.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of less bothered by the Scrolls and the Vortex, and I'm more bothered by the other two, the Crystal and the double Kabbalistic Ritual, Lord of Forbidden Law. I want those top 2. That's what
100%. I totally agree.
Yeah.
These are 2 take every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well,
so data sheet wise, right? So we've just seen what they can do. Pretty solid on the whole. Let's look at a couple of data sheets on purpose. I want to look at Magnus, I want to look at Araman, and I want to look at the Mutilated Vortex Beast, right?
Oh, yes.
So Rubrics and Terminators are really good. Their infernal weapons have kept -1 on their AP, which is clutch because AP has been reduced everywhere. They kept some AP. They do have warp smites in the unit and stuff like that. They're a good unit overall. And they get to do, like, Rubrics have to do crazy things. Like, Rubrics always reroll 1s to wound, and if the enemy that they're targeting is with a ranged and objective marker, they reroll all wounds. So they have lieutenants without having to pay for lieutenants. But this man here, Araman, for me, Araman is an auto take in every Thousand Suns list.
Yes.
Right? And there's 2 versions of Araman. There's Araman and Araman on Disc of Zinch. I don't know if it actually changes what you can do. No, I think you can do the same things no matter what.
I'm surprised they kept that as an option.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's... What?
So let's push in on here because I think you're going to want this one even if you're putting him in Rubric Marines because once he becomes free, off he goes. So he's got some cool abilities. He's got a 3 damage melee weapon, a D6 ranged attack that's psychic. So he's good. While he's leading a unit you +1 to the wound roll.
It's so important. We've talked about these armies that struggle into high toughness things. This is an army that famously actually does suffer into that. So giving +1 to wound on a whole bucket load of bolters is great.
Now he can only join Rubric Marines.
Yeah.
But if you have 10 Rubric Marines, so I have been putting him in some other interesting builds. I have put Araman in 10-man Rubric Marines, all with Flamers.
Oh,
D6 auto hitting strength 4 Flamers. They get +1 to wound.
Yeah.
You can make them psychic weapons for strength 5 Flamers with +1 to wound. That suddenly means you're wounding toughness 9 on a 4+. That makes a massive difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's really cool. But then he has this other ability, which is quite frankly fucking crazy, and one of the reasons why I think he's an auto cleave. Arch Sorcerer of Tzeentch. Once per battle, you can select this model to use a Kabbalistic ritual for 0 Cabal points. If you do, the other rules for using rituals still apply. 0 Cabal points.
That's amazing.
So there's one for 9, which reduces and removes all armor. 0 Cabal points.
It's so good.
So you can use this on him to remove the armor from another unit.
Yep.
You can then take the other enhancement that allows you to do a Kabbalistic ritual twice on a second sorcerer.
Exactly.
And for 9 Cabal points, you can remove the armor from 2 units.
Oh. Or for 7, you can Doombolt twice.
You can Doombolt twice.
This
exactly.
is so strong. On top
really
of an
good.
already strong buff.
Really, 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 really good.
I agree. I think he's an auto take for sure.
Yeah, he's an auto take, 100%.
He's awesome.
So let's keep going down.
Oh, his psychic stock is precision.
Precision Psychic, so he can snipe characters from 18 inches away. Not forgetting it's a psychic one, so for 1 CP you can give him +9 inches to that range as well.
That's
And he can
hilarious.
psychic snipe from 27 inches away.
Super fun.
He's cool. Right, let's keep going down. This is in a really weird order. I
The
don't know why
land
it
raid.
is.
Oh, yeah. I remember this being weird.
Yeah, it's super strange, the order for this for some reason. In the meantime, we've just gone past 14:30. Giveaway timer has started. You've got 15 minutes to just make a comment in chat. If you make a comment in chat and you're a member, you'll be automatically entered. You don't have to click a button. You don't have to put a specific word. You will just be automatically entered. Fun fact, the Exalted Sorcerer is a very compelling choice in Thousand Sons in general because he can also join Rubric Marines and he gives them sustained hits 1, which is very nice. So you don't need sustained hits on your psychic weapons if you've already got sustained hits 1, and then you press Devastating Wounds button because you're a psychic weapons.
That's amazing. You already have
Very,
it.
very good. Magnus,
To red.
my personal opinion right now, he's jumped for the Chaos Primarchs at least. He's jumped to the top of the tree.
I agree.
I'm a Wild Eaters player. He's jumped to the top of the tree.
Yeah.
14-inch fly, toughness 11, 2 up save, 16 wounds. He's just solid all round. Right, his range weapons, both psychic attacks. So if you're putting things like Devastating Wounds on, or if you're putting sustained hits on, it works for everything that Magnus has. Whatever detachment ability you pick, it works for everything that Magnus has. So the top one. Oh, why are we in Scarabocot Turbulators here? Adrian,
We're in. It's fine.
This
It's
is a whole
fine.
different.
Oh
Oh
no.
no, he's done it. Chat, he's broke it.
No.
He's broke it. Oh my god, look how fast chat's moving now.
Chat.
People will do anything for a £100 giveaway, honestly. Sluts, a lot of them.
God.
Where has he gone?
I don't know. I
Adrian?
jumped so far.
You jumped really far, didn't you, actually?
So far.
Terminators.
Oh, Rubik's.
Vortex Beast, we'll get to that in a minute.
How did this happen?
Magnus, here he is. Here he goes.
how do we
Okay,
do
so
this?
Gaze of Magnus at the top. 3d3,
Yes.
Devastating Wound, Psychic, hitting on 2, Strength 9, -2, 3 damage.
3 damage.
Not forgetting, when he shoots, for 1 CP, reroll all hits and wounds.
And it's already devastating by default.
Yep.
This is nuts.
Yep. So you can give him
So
sustained hits as your detachment ability, spend 1 CP, exploding 6s to hit on 3d3 attacks, hitting on 2s at strength 9, -2, flat 3 damage with reroll wounds to fish for those mortals. He's terrifyingly good here.
Awesome.
He's still got the Firestorm ability. If you've still got hordes in front of you, D6 +3 blast psychic attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 5 -1, 2 damage. Amazing. His blade is incredible. Devastating wounds again on his blade. Strength 7 attacks, sorry. Strength 16, -3, flat 3
So
damage.
fun.
He's so good.
Wow.
He's so good. Okay, he gets to pick one of these abilities below him, right?
Yep.
Each time an attack is made against a Psyker, subtract 1 for the damage characteristic. So he becomes a Dreadnought, old Dreadnought, right? Or, at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you can select an enemy within 24 inches invisible to Psyker. At the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models have hazardous. So you just give them hazardous.
Cute.
Oh, I'm kicking out tons and tons and tons of shots. Cool,
Yeah.
you're hazardous, I don't
Exactly.
care. Or you can go for Time Flux, and while a friendly 1,000 Suns unit within 6 inches of Psyker, add 2 to the move characteristics of models in that unit. Your 1,000 Suns become
Wild.
far. They're all good abilities. The problem I have here
Yeah.
is picking one.
yeah, exactly. It's so good.
So good. And then we have
On top of
one of
this.
the most bonkers things I think I've seen so far, which I
Yeah.
pulled up when I did play GW at Warhammer Fest, and they went, oh, That's a problem. Look at his 1 to 6 wounds remaining, Adrian. What happens to him?
He gets -1 to hit.
He gets -1 to hit. Now let's read Lord of the Planet of Sorcerers, which is a 6-inch aura, which impacts himself because he is in fact a Thousand Sun Psyker. And while a Thousand Sun Psyker is within 6 inches of that model, each time it makes a psychic attack, all of his attacks are psychic attacks, you add 1 to the hit roll and add 1 to the wound roll.
Wild.
So he suffers -1 to hit if he's wounded, but he gives himself +1 to hit. So guess what, chat? He still hits on 2s.
He's got long hair and he don't care.
He doesn't care.
Man.
That he.
So good.
Oh my god.
Guy's amazing. By the way, he has the 4+ invuln still, but he also gained a 2+ save.
He gained a 2+ save.
Oh, we just jumped again.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good.
So good.
Okay. Can we find the last model I want to talk about very, very quickly in this book, which is the Mutileth Vortex Beast,
yes.
which currently you take 2 or 3 every single time.
Yep.
So he's got his Warp Vortex, which is a 3 different range profile, which is super nice. And last cannon that beats a last cannon at strength 18, AP -4, D6 +6 damage. Or you can do a blast weapon, or you can do a torrent weapon. Just all great, all good. Okay. His Mutileth claws and his maw, they're not so good. His claws aren't bad at 5 attack, strength 9, -2, 4 damage. But it's this mutating vortex aura that he does and the immaterial flare aura that he does. Okay. This is the 2 things that make him amazing. The first one, basically at the end of your movement phase, you move within 6 inches of enemy models and you do things. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why do you
It's lost. We can't stop. Nope,
stop
it's too late. You have to accept it.
Stop clicking the mouse wheel down, you clown. Okay, there we go, right. So you roll some dice. Basically, you just do it by being within range.
Yep.
On a 1, nothing happens. 2 to 3 mortal wounds, 4 to 5 D3 mortal wounds, or a 6 D6 mortal wounds. And then you must take a battle shock test just for being in range.
Love the battle
you
shock
don't have to take
test.
mortal wounds.
Right.
Just be in range, take battle shock test.
That's how you do it, Admech.
Then you have the immaterial flare, and if a Thousand Sun Psyker is within 6 inches, you can double the range of Kabbalistic rituals, double the range of Doombolt.
The only balancing factor of Doombolt is the fact that you have limited range. 18-inch range normally, now it goes to 36. Oh, I see you on the backboard. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's from any Psyker, keep in mind, which is another reason to run 2 to 3 of these in your lists, so that no matter where you are, no matter who you are.
All your Kabbalistic rituals are double range. Amazing.
Yep.
These things are incredible.
This is a very, very strong unit and a very strong book.
Thousand Suns are going to be very impressive.
Yep.
They're just going to be good.
Definitely upper A tier for sure. Very
Upper 80,
strong.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are not far from Eldari, if I'm honest with you. Eldari do kind of sit in a bracket all by themselves. Thousand Suns are close behind.
Yeah.
They are close behind. If we see Eldari take a nerf bat, which, let's be honest, I think we probably all agree that they probably are going to get a nerf bat. Whether you guys think they need one or not, they're probably going to get one. At that point, I feel like Thousand Suns move to the top of the tree.
Yeah, I can see that.
In my
being the
opinion.
case. Yeah.
Okay?
They're
Cool.
so strong.
Right. Oh my God. This has fucking exploded. How many of these more factions do we want to get done today? I can't remember.
We've actually kind of hit our minimum.
Have we hit our minimum? We hit the 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's 5. We just did 5.
What's the 6th one? Demons.
Demons. So up to you.
Okay. Let's think about it because my throat's getting sore. We've probably got less of a end stop tomorrow because although I've got a flight, we don't have a game to get ready for.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
probably kill it here then because
Yeah, I think so.
we're going to do the giveaway as well. It'll be a nice way to finish the stream.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. So Big Daddy John came in,
Hey.
flopped his dick out and dropped 250 members on the table, which is amazing. So amazing, in fact, I don't think the fan funding part's picked it up. Has it picked it up?
John McCard?
Yeah, it hasn't picked it up on fan funding, but I saw it happen, right?
Yeah.
I saw it happen. We did that one, we did that one, we did that one. What about going for, thank you Dolthar for the 5, what about going for Eldari and playing the true mortal wounds? You can do that if you want to. Like, that's not, like, you're hamstringing yourself there, so I don't feel like anyone's going to have a massive problem with that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, go for it. Like, if you want to play it that way, you just talk to your opponent first. If you're going to play something different to what the rules are intended, talk to your opponent first. Because the thing is, you may come across an opponent who also has devastating wounds all over the place. You don't want to be playing it 2 different ways between you and your opponent. And I would typically expect an opponent at the moment in a new edition to disagree to house rule something at an event, right? If you're wondering what he means, chat, his true mortal wounds, his idea for solving the mortal wound problem with devastating wounds was only an unmodified initial roll of a 6, not a re-rolled version, is what triggers devastating wounds. And it's the only way you can get it. You can't do it with re-rolls, you can't do it with fate dice, you can only do it with a natural roll of a 6. I'm not against it as a concept, but if you're playing people who you don't know, please be careful about house ruling stuff right at the start of 10th edition.
Could be weird.
just make sure you chat to your opponent and see what he says. Of course, if you're gonna do it to yourself but not to your opponent, I'm sure they'll tell you to crack on because you're just making your army worse.
Right.
But hey, we'll see. So, thank you, Jason Kator, for becoming a Hesir, AJ Jerub for becoming a Skald, Jabtros for becoming a Hesir, Fugs for becoming it's one of your guys.
What's up,
Hey,
Fugs?
Fugs for becoming a Jarl. What a legend. Ryan O'Connor for becoming a Hesir, Karandras for becoming a Jarl, John Cleve becoming a Skald, Ginger Steve for gifting a membership, Chris Walker for becoming a Hesir, Thickish Manatee for becoming a Hesir, Ken Ford for becoming a Skald. Thank you so much. We said this yesterday, I'll say it again very, very quickly. The Hesir tier is our bottom level, entry level, which just gives you access to Discord.
Totally.
And we wanted to keep that barrier to entry really, really low. What we're really, truly hoping is that you use the Discord, you enjoy the Discord, and you choose to upgrade to Skald tier or above for just because you like what we do and you want to support us. Hesir tier doesn't really make us anything. Like, once we've paid taxes and YouTube's taken its cut, it doesn't make us anything at all. It just puts off trolls. So if you do enjoy it, think about upgrading to Skald tier. If you're feeling extra flush, you can do what Fugs has done and come in as a Jarl tier. That gets you access to our Jarl only giveaway. And the one that we're running at the moment, as far as I'm aware, is being drawn tomorrow during stream.
Oh!
So that's a giveaway that we do every single month. And like the £100 voucher, what I do is I log into the Games Workshop website, I order a Combat Patrol box of your choice if you win the giveaway, and I ship it direct to your house.
Amazing.
It's cool, right? Yeah. We do all the things for all the people. Anyway, then we have John. Thank you for the 10 euros from John. It's weird seeing that. He's abroad right now.
Appreciate it.
Had Angron charge Magnus, 9 attacks, wounded with 8. He made 6 saves of the 8. CP rerolled 1 to a save, and then spent another CP to reduce the damage to 0. And Magnus puck slapped Angron.
Oh,
gross.
God.
Yeah,
that sounds like that duel.
Magnus is the top.
Yeah,
He's top
for
dog
sure.
right now.
Oh, easily.
Because of what he has access to in terms of stratagems,
Yeah.
because of what his detachment abilities do, Magnus is top dog
Yeah.
by a very long way right now. Angron is good. Like, I quite like him, and I enjoy him in World Eaters, and of course we'll talk about World Eaters tomorrow. But Magnus is just incredible comparatively. And Mortarion, for me, just kind of sucks a bit.
He kind of sucks.
He's okay.
He kind of sucks.
But he sits in an army that sucks.
Yeah.
Which makes him suck more.
Yeah.
Right? Dave, thank you for the 2, who says bombardment.
Bombardment. That's the thing with you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't believe you don't watch my content. Adrian.
Bombardment.
You make me sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what have we covered today? We've done Thousand Sons. We've done
Sisters.
Chaos Knight Sisters.
We did.
Other things and stuff.
You made me forget all the factions.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's on me.
That's it. I had it. It was there.
Yeah. Admech.
Admech. We did Grey Knights.
Grey Knights.
That's
okay.
5.
Yeah. So I mean, that 5 actually is quite interesting, right? Because that 5 for me shows the disparity in rules writing.
Correct.
Look
exactly.
at Admech. You look at Thousand Sons.
Yep.
They are leagues apart.
Yeah.
Leagues apart.
It's not
I think
even close.
We go thousands of what we've done today. Thousand Sons sit really, really high up. Grey Knights for me still are not far behind. I get what Art War are saying, and I think that they're nowhere near as good as Thousand Sons, but they are behind Thousand Sons. Chaos Knights probably with Grey Knights sit there as kind of a similar level, I reckon. Just below them, we then have the Sisters, and then at the right hard bottom we have Admech. And
Yeah.
I want to be positive about what they're doing with 10th edition, despite the fact that I know a lot of people out there going, 10th edition sucks. Oh, have you played it? No. All right, brilliant. So it's a little personal gripe of mine.
Yeah, I can tell.
But I want to be positive, but when things like Death Guard and Admech exist,
Yeah.
I struggle.
It's tough.
It's just not a compelling army to play for me right now, and I want to play Admech. I have the army at home.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah, it's not that you want things to be completely super powerful for your army. It's like you want them to play the basics of the game and feel like they can participate in a way that's flavorful to them. So it is a big bummer when it doesn't work out.
But one of the problems I have as well is that I've read certain rules and I've read certain abilities where I've gone, I 100% can see narratively where they're going with this, and it makes sense to me from a narrative perspective. And good job, because I personally am a person who wants to see more narrative representation of rules on the tabletop, because that's the kind of hobby that I enjoy. I'm not hyper competitive. I don't need everything to be super optimized. I don't want to necessarily stack tons and tons and tons of things on top of each other. I just want my army to perform the way that I think it should narratively. And that's also quite hard for GW, because I can have this view of how narrative it should work, and they can have a different view of how narratively it should work. So I guess that is a challenge. But I read some of these rules and I go, cool, I see what they're doing right there. I get it. And then I read other rules and I think, who wrote this? Like, this wasn't one of your people at Games Workshop, surely.
Surely.
Who wrote this? Who on earth thought that this was a competent rule set?
I don't know. I thought it was much more. I think I thought there was going to be much more discussion between the different members and the designers and stuff like that. And so I'm not sure how you could end up with a couple of these total outliers on both ends of the scale, frankly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them are in this middle category. There's an A and a B category, but there's just a couple at the very tippity top and in the very bottom that are problems.
Yeah.
For sure. Big problems.
The bottom for me at the moment is Death Guard and Admech, and slightly above them sits Votan right now.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I personally think at the moment, my honest opinion is that Death Guard and Admech in the current version of the game with other factions that exist right now, and this doesn't necessarily have to be Eldar or Knights, for example. This could be any other faction to some extent. They are borderline unplayable, and I don't care having a faction that's bottom tier and having a faction that's top tier. That is always going to be the case. It's unavoidable. You will always have a faction top. You will always have a faction bottom.
Yep.
What I care about is when one of them is either so unplayable you might as well never take it, or one of them is so incredibly powerful that opponents don't want to play you.
Yep.
That's when those extremes are too extreme. Okay? And I think we have that right now. And I'll hold my hands up and say I'm not massively surprised. It's the biggest influx of new rules we've ever had.
Correct.
Whole new edition, whole new core rule set, whole new set of indexes that aren't just core data sheets now. They have stratagems, they have enhancements, they have detachment rules, they have army rules. This is very different to 8th edition because this is a complete reset with loads of extra rules. And have they overstretched?
Yeah.
Maybe they have.
Sure.
Maybe they have. But would they have been highly criticised if they just stripped out all of the flavour and just given us the data sheets? Yeah, probably they would have been.
Definitely.
So sometimes I do feel like GW are on a lose-lose.
Yeah.
But that's, they're a victim of their own success. Chroma Cypher, thank you for upgrading to Jarl. Ben, thank you for the 350. I've ordered my Ghost Valiant for my Knights, good man. John, thank you for the 10. 2 Death Guard armies played each other and both lost.
So
Also,
good.
Euros and Monopoly money. Talk about that, right? Everyone, it's giveaway time. If you haven't commented now, you're too late.
It's time.
You're too late.
It's
You're
happening.
Too late. You're too late.
Oh my God.
Hang on. Did it just just reset all the users? That's a problem. Apparently, it's not giveaway time. We'll do it. We'll have to do it at the end of the stream.
Oh no, Leo!
It'll just reset everybody.
No.
Why did it do that? Okay, you've got till now to the end of the stream. We finish at 3. You've got to the 3 o'clock Pacific time, which is 11 o'clock UK time.
15 minutes.
You've got to the end of the stream. That'll be. I won't even make you do a loose fact. We'll draw the giveaway instead.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Yeah, you have to come up with a fact.
Yeah, I don't have to come up with a fact.
You don't have to come up with a fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be clear here.
Statistically, you've got 1 in 600 chance of winning giveaway, if you remember.
Yeah.
Fucking Nightbot. I just hurt my leg as well on your table. Look. Nightbot's an arse. But yeah, we've seen almost all the factions now. Okay, we've got 6 to go.
Yep.
Okay, we've got World Eaters, Death Guards, Chaos Space Marines, Tyranids, Space Marines, and another that escapes me right now. Is that it?
You say demons?
And demons. Cool.
Demons.
So we've seen a huge chunk of the armies that are out right now. I find that having gone through this week with you so far, I'm finding that I'm looking at a lot of these rules and I'm just wondering why. Is it good that there's a stratagem that exists, or an enhancement that exists, or an ability in general that exists across 4 different books that are slightly different across those 4 different books? Is that good from a flavour perspective, so that we don't just think everyone's got copy and paste? Or is it bad because actually that one's worse than that one and that one's much better than that one?
Yeah.
Like, which way do we sit on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, so on one hand, it's bad because part of the whole ethos of 10th edition is that if there's an ability that gets used over and over and over and over and over again, it's a keyword or it's a core stratagem or something. We don't have to keep reprinting it. So from that perspective, I don't like it. On the other hand, the same ability is not equivalent across different armies.
Yeah.
So it gives them the potential to do slight tweaks, make things cost a little bit more or less. The difficulty then, of course, is they often can't cost less. A 1 CP strat is 1 CP strat. Does it cost 2 CP? Does it cost 1 CP? There's only basically 2 options at this point. So stratagems that are very, very similar and they're just better or worse for one faction, then that begins to feel bad again, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very wary of it, and I'm also wary of giving us the capability to directly compare things, because that is just a recipe for salt and disaster. Because I think people will compare anything, even if they shouldn't. And the moment you give them actually equivalent things, they're definitely going to compare and they're going to be upset. So
Yeah.
they have to be very careful with that.
I just find that I feel like for some factions, when they look at a stratagem they have access to that has perhaps more qualifying factors or is a higher CP cost or whatever, and they compare that to another faction stratagem which has a lower CP cost or doesn't have quite so many like kind of prerequisites to be able to use it, that's going to create a bit of a situation where that first player is going to go, well, why does mine cost 2 CP? And sometimes, I guess sometimes that's because the units that you can then play it on potentially has more of an impact.
Yeah.
But you do create that moment where you go, hang on, G Pseudocult for 2 CP, pick 2 units, and they both get +1 to wound as long as they're battle line. The sisters get 2 CP and 1 unit gets +1 to wound in melee.
It's 1 CP, but yeah.
Was it 1 CP?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird, and it feels really bad. So I'm okay with it to an extent, but I think they pushed it a little too far, and there's some clearly obvious mistakes, which is a lot of rules to go through. As we said, it's going to end up taking us about 12, 13 hours to do the whole thing, but that's what they're supposed to be doing. This is what they're supposed to be checking. So, yeah, it really sucks. Honestly.
Yeah, I feel like we were playtesters. We were both playtesters previously for 9th edition 40k.
Yeah, 9th edition.
For 9th edition. And they removed playtesters based on the leaking that was going on, right? And at the time that they did it, I was like, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I have spoken to Games Workshop on a number of occasions to do with the leaks that are going on, and I have categorically stated to them, that if it was me, I would, short term at least, shut down the preview program, right? Do I want them to shut down the preview program?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
It helps my business and it helps my livelihood, but I understood them removing playtesters because of the leaking issues so much that I've even said they should consider what they're doing with the preview program to try and solve some of these problems, okay? So that's how much I understood what they told me when they told me that was what was going on. Yeah. Clearly, we now know, because of the leaking, it probably wasn't playtesters. There's a lot of stuff that's continued to leak that previewers don't have access to, that previewers haven't seen, and we can probably surmise that it comes from somewhere internally within GW. My concern when they did drop playtesters was what was going to happen to the rule set and how were they going to fix problems and issues.
Exactly.
And I fully accept as well, as another caveat to what I'm about to say, I fully accept that when you do drop a brand new rule set and 27 new indexes that all have data sheets and all have detachment rules and all have armor rules, there are going to be gaps and there are going to be issues and there are going to be problems that arise and they're going to need an FAQ. I had no problems with that either, but some of the issues that we have discovered so far in this edition are so glaringly obvious that I'm like, did you play test this at all? Did you literally write the rule and your boss said to you, did you play test this? Yep, definitely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're selling a £150 box set with physical product, including a physical rule book, and then you're selling physical data cards. We have the World Eaters one here because I brought them with me, but I've got all 27 sets of data cards at home, including Death Watch, which has now already been edited, despite the fact that the Death Watch one has already been printed. That's bad.
It is. I don't understand why. I don't know. It's the teeniest, tiniest fraction amount of money to hire a bigger playtest team, even just internally, And it's just like, before, was the playtesting perfect? No. But it was more eyeballs. And it was more people who are out in the actual world, playing actual games, not only on stream, but also at tournaments and things like that. And you need that mindset. So I understand why they did what they did, but I think definitely 10th edition is suffering from it right now. And so there's things that they should have caught, just period, because they were just obviously wrong. And there's a lot of things that are a little bit less obvious, but would have also been easily caught if you gave that to playtesters. So
as a caveat, I don't know if they came back to me. Okay, I'm going to ask you this question because I've said this before on stream. I'm just basically killing time now, chat. So you've got the full 15 minutes for your giveaway. Games Workshop comes back to you next week. Says, hey, Adrian and the Titans team. We're actually going to open up playtesting again. Are you interested? What's your answer?
Well, I'm really bad at saying no. Always have been, because it was really, really difficult. And honestly, I wish we could have given better feedback even at the time. You've got your full-time job, you're doing all this stuff. They give you this book. You have not much context, and you have to figure out all the stuff, and it's a ton of information to ingest at once, and it does go very quickly. So all this to say, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's even more work to really do a cohesive job.
It's hard. PlayStation's hard.
It's really difficult. I'd probably still do it, even if I shouldn't, because it is a ton of work.
I think I'd say no now.
You'd say no?
Yeah.
So you're stronger than I am.
I think I'd say no.
Yeah.
I've talked to chat about this before. There's a couple of reasons why I think I would say no. I'm going to add, I think I would say no. When they're dangling that little carrot in front of my nose, and you're like, hang on, what do you mean I get to, because this is the truth of it, what do you mean I get to see the rules a year in advance?
Right, yeah.
I mean...
Like, you care about this game.
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
That said, sometimes I hated seeing the rules a year in advance, especially as a channel who makes battle report content.
Yeah.
Like, that can make life really hard.
Yep.
I dread to think on how many streams one of us said something and the other one just kicked the other one under the table, like, oh, don't say that yet. That's not a thing right now. That's not a thing we can do right now.
I remember the day that I looked at the Knights book at the time, and we had literally a Knights game that same exact day, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be really, really hard. Yeah. It was really difficult to parse out the two things, you know?
Yeah. It's hard enough with the review. It's hard enough with the review stuff. It's hard enough with review content to not say things.
It's so much.
Especially with the way, 10th edition, I'll be open and honest with everybody. I've dropped the ball a couple of times during 10th edition. Where I've said something, and someone's gone, and I'm like, what do you mean it's not? That's definitely out.
Right.
It's not, because they've moved the date or whatever.
For sure.
So it's difficult. But the other thing, so two of the reasons why I don't want to play test. One of them is linked to the fact that I see the rules a year in advance. That's because it makes content slightly harder because it's a year in advance. But also, being a previewer already kind of ruins the new and shiny experience for you that you get with everybody else. Yeah. It's even worse when you're a playtester because you see it so far in advance. And I know first world problems, chat. I know you're going to go, boo, oh no, so sorry for you that you get all this free product and it ruins your new product experience when we all get to see it for the first possible time. I get it, and it's not that much of a complaint, but I do want some of that excitement back a little bit as well, because this is still my hobby at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
But the other thing is exactly what you said. It is to do this properly, to just not miss any of the problems. It's so much work, and I don't know if it was the same for you, but they didn't give us big time frames.
No.
Hey, here's a whole new codex. We want feedback on the whole thing within 2 weeks. Like, that's the timelines we were given.
Yeah.
That's madness.
And while right now there's a lot of new information, at least they had all the information. They have all the new rules. One thing that's going to be more difficult as they test, and as frankly as we were testing, is, cool, this book comes out in a year. What's the mission pack look like? What's the other strong armies at the time? Like, you know the current meta, how do you project the possible future meta based off of other changes and FAQs at the time? So that is not only a lot more work on top of that to try to figure that out, it's also largely impossible because you have no idea what's going to happen between then and now. So it's very difficult. At least right now with this initial launch, they know all the information. They have all the info, theoretically. But that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see moving forward, which is why theoretically the idea is like we have the keywords now and they just use these keywords moving forwards. But obviously some of them, like Devastating Wounds, are already causing combination problems.
You've got 2 minutes, chat. You need to be a member and put a comment in the chat, and you'll get entered into the giveaway for a £100 voucher or equivalent currency depending on your country. So dollars if you're in America or euros if you're in Europe, etc. 2 minutes though. You have to be a member, have to put a comment in chat, £100 voucher. If you are a member at Jarl tier, go and check out the council section in Discord. There's another giveaway running right now as well. And tomorrow, during the stream, at some point later in the stream, it will draw the giveaway winner at random of all of the Jarls who have become a Jarl, gone into Discord, and clicked enter giveaway button. What that means is I'll send you a combat patrol box of your choice directed to your front door, no matter which country you're in, from Games Workshop. Look at that.
So exciting. And of course, since we're coming up close on the end of the stream, definitely tune in tonight on Titans. We're going to be playing a fun matchup. Mr. Liam Dempsey is going to be showing up again with the saltiest of factions, the Eldari. It's not really a thing, Drukari. Anyways, the Eldari against the Imperial Knights, which we haven't played on Titans yet. So Bridger is, of course, going to be taking the big boys again. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Tune in tonight for more Warhammer. If you are not already tired of our faces, you should tune in just about 3 hours.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. Like Eldar versus Knights, we considered not doing it. Because potential salt fest right now, we considered not doing it. But I actually think it's going to be super fun. I think they're two of the stronger factions in the edition. Bridger's so excited about Big Stompy Knights that can't be a bad thing. I've always loved Eldar, honest, so that can't be a bad thing. So I'm actually really excited for it. I think we're going to have a load of fun. We had tons of fun on Tuesday. Of course, in the meantime, there is an absolute bucket load of content on the Titans channel right now. We did the 10 days of 10th edition Titans tournament this last weekend, 7 games of Warhammer.
It was 18 games over 10 days, and then we did seven games over this last weekend. Over 27 hours of content just during that one weekend. So definitely tune in and check it out. We kind of learned the edition and tried to play around with some competitive play.
Ed says there's currently 182 people in the Yarls giveaway.
Okay, don't reset it.
Yeah,
be very dainty.
See how careful
with the
I'm
big
being
sausage
right now.
fingers.
Okay, there's a roll it button at the bottom.
Yep.
Where's it gone?
Thank you, Taco Boy 3000. 2 poops for the road. Thank you. I'm so scared.
The roll it button's not there.
Oh no.
It's underneath this little. This is bad for mobile.
Yeah.
Okay, I found the button. We've got it, Adrian.
Okay, we did it. We did it. I'm
We're
so
there.
scared.
Thank you for the 2 poops. Yeah, you're a hero for NIDS. Our scheme has lots of competitors, including LVO winners. None of our NIDS are winning games. 30 plus, poor anti-armor, shooting and indirect is blowing us away. Any thoughts? Balance missing? Yeah, there is balance missing, 100%.
Yeah,
There is
definitely.
balance missing, absolutely.
NIDS definitely needs some help for sure.
Sin Lord, thank you for joining the channel at Skull Tier. You're an absolute hero. Hopefully that'll get you into the giveaway. Are you ready? Are you ready for this, Adrian?
I'm ready for this. Let's do this. I'm so excited to see who's
I've
gonna
never
win.
been so delicate with my phone in all my life.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who donated today. Thank you for everybody who's become a member. Thank you for everybody who super chatted. A massive, massive shout out to John McCardle for 100 members in one fucking stream.
Legend.
Honestly, you just see a fucking doctor or something. It's not natural. You guys are incredible. We will finish this series tomorrow. Again, we'll be live 11:30 Pacific Standard Time. So that is 7:30 in the UK. This became a massive series. I didn't think it would be. I'm enjoying it.
It's been fun. Yeah.
It's good talking to you about it, actually. It's good to get another person's point of view. And then after that show, I get ready to leave the US. I fly home tomorrow night. I get home on Saturday in the UK. And next week, I'll be returning to my normal programming. I'm going to press roll it.
Roll it. Deleted.
And Tim Chaser
Tim Chaser.
has become the winner of the giveaway. Tim Chaser is amazing. Tim Chaser is also an Acer.
Oh.
It's our highest level of membership
Oh,
tier.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. What a legend. Tim, you have got yourself a £100 giveaway, you legend.
Let's get some poops in chat for
Thank you.
Tim.
Shits in the chat, yeah. Thank you so much. I might get to a point where I turn this back on again permanently.
It's fun.
I used to have it on all the time. 100 members was a £100 giveaway. It means that often the 100 members doesn't make me much money because of the giveaway.
Correct, yeah.
But, you know, after YouTube's cut and tax, etc., of course. But thank you so much to everybody who took part in it today. You guys are all incredible. I hope you join us tomorrow for the final part of this, part 4 of this particular stream. But more importantly, I hope you join us tonight on Titans for our incredible game of Warhammer 40k. Massive thank you, Adrian.
My pleasure.
You're a legend.
Thanks for having me on.
That's it. You ready?
Let's do this.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.